I should say that, right? Hawkeye, how on earth did you condescend to be a Shichibukai? A random knife is an Admiral level attack, it's really scary. Buggy's words sounded like a loudspeaker on Marineford Square again. Actually, he's a speakerphone bug, laughs. Hawkeye could not help but twitch the corners of his mouth when he heard this voice that was spreading everywhere and waiting for an echo. This guy has a speakerphone bug on him, right? Doflamingo, Bartholomew Kuma and Boa Hancock, who came from a distance, also saw the previous scene. At this moment, they were all shocked in their hearts. As Buggy said, how on earth did a man capable of slashing that horrific slash stoop to become a Shichibukai with them? With such terrifying strength, Marine Admiral is nothing more than that, right? Fufurofer. Doflamingo laughed sullenly. Didn't expect that a Buggy the Clown and a Mihawk the Hawkeye hide so deeply. Interesting, so interesting. At this time, Hawkeye's voice also sounded. I didn't hide it, it's just that I didn't meet anyone who could make me go all out. As soon as he said this, the corners of Doflamingo's eyes twitched. Can you show me some face, brother? After Hawkeye paused, the black sword in his hand pointed directly at Buggy and said with a fighting tone in his tone. Buggy the Clown, you managed to get my interest. Come on. Let me see what kind of strength you have when you were on the same boat as the red-haired Shanks. As for the guy with the red hair who broke a hand, he is no longer worthy of being my opponent. Hiss. As soon as Hawkeye's words came out, his voice spread throughout Marineford Square. The huge amount of information in his words made one's scalp tingle and gasp frantically. Hawkeye, who had just finished speaking here, twitched the corner of his mouth again. Boy, can even his words get through the megaphone? But it doesn't matter, as Buggy said, a new era is coming, and he may not be a Shichibukai for a long time. Now it is rare to meet a guy who can fight with all his strength. Let the world know what is the real #1 swordsman in the world today. Ha 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 ha. Facing Hawkeye's challenge, Buggy not only showed no timidity, but raised his forehead and laughed wildly. Mihawk, I'm afraid you are doomed to be disappointed today. My ability is born to be the nemesis of your swordsman. But it's useless to talk too much, let's have a good fight first. Just what I want. Although Hawkeye wondered why Buggy said that he was the nemesis of swordsmen, but no matter what he said, he had to hit him to know. Whoosh, the next moment, the eagle-eyed figure who was still 1 kilometer away was approaching Buggy in a few flashes, and the speed was so fast that Ultimate was like a black lightning, passing by Buggy in a few breaths. Chi chi chi. In the next second, under everyone's horrified eyes, Buggy, who was standing there as if he hadn't reacted at all, was cut into several pieces in an instant. Uncle Buggy. Luffy, who was just about to fight against Doflamingo, saw this scene and roared in shock. Not only him, but those who watched the live broadcast and those around who paid attention to this battle also subconsciously exclaimed. That's it. Buggy, the clown who was so arrogant before, wants to be crowned as Buggy, and this is the end? Is it a little too fast, or is Hawkeye just too scary? Some people haven't turned their heads yet. It's just that the eyes are straight, obviously shocked by this scene. However, the next moment, they discovered a strange scene. Because the body fragments of the clown Buggy, who had been chopped into several sections, didn't even have the slightest bit of blood, nor did they seem to fall, but were still suspended in midair. Immediately afterwards, Buggy's familiar voice spread through the loudspeaker again. Mihawk, do you think you hit me, or didn't you? What? Hawkeye stood tens of meters behind Buggy. Although he was puzzled, he didn't think he didn't cut someone, but now after Buggy's calm voice sounded, he was still surprised. You know, even if it is Logia's demon fruit power, it will still be seriously injured if it is cut by him. But Buggy looked okay. No, he doesn't seem to be okay now, it's just divided into several sections. Slashing is useless? Hawkeye quickly reacted. So this is the swordsman nemesis you mentioned? Then let me try again. Swish. Chi chi chi. The next moment, Hawkeye appeared in front of Buggy again, and slashed at Buggy again. This time he directly cut Buggy into silk threads. Hiss. Seeing this scene, the scalps of people watching the live broadcast all over the world felt numb. This is too scary, right? Can't see clearly at all. It's time to die, right? People are being pared into potato shreds. Useless. At this moment, Buggy's calm voice sounded again, especially at this time Buggy hadn't regrouped yet. It was the floating shreds of meat that were talking. Aren't Armament Haki and Ghost Aura useless? Hawkeye was really shocked this time, but he still didn't give up and started to frantically play the game of fruit match on Buggy. Swish swish swish. All of a sudden, streaks of cyan sword chi crisscrossed. Fortunately, all these sword chi flew towards the sky under Hawkeye's conscious control. And those layers of dark clouds above the sky have been cut into pieces of tofu, and there are even a lot of sunlight shining through the gaps. Useless, useless, useless. However, no matter how Buggy is cut, there is still no change, and there is even a hint of teasing and complacency in the voice. What? I can't kill him like this. What kind of monster is this guy? Hawkeye is too aggrieved. Encountering such a demon fruit power, this is a god, what can I do? Those who watched the battle around and watched the live broadcast saw Buggy, who was still able to talk after countless pieces were scuffed, had a sense of déjà vu of seeing something indescribable. His scalp went numb, and his complexion changed wildly. This time even Hawkeye's expression changed. Just now he used not only armament Haki, but even sheer ghost energy, but it still didn't work. It can be said that he has burst out such high intensity and intensive attacks in a short period of time, even he is a little tired. If it is really useful, it should have taken effect long ago. But at this moment, Buggy suddenly moved, and saw that the ball of floating meat suddenly condensed into a palm with a black glove, and the palm was lightly clenched into a fist. Unexpectedly, it hit Hawkeye. Buggy's voice sounded at the same time, "You've made so many tricks. That being the case, Hawkeye, you can also take my trick. Breaking evil and showing righteousness one day emission." Hawkeye and Buggy were so close, by the time Buggy's voice sounded, his attack had already landed on Hawkeye, who was caught off guard. Despite this, Hawkeye quickly blocked part of the attack with Black Sword Knight, and then quickly covered his body with armament Haki to resist. Boom. The next moment, under the horrified eyes of everyone, Hawkeye vomited blood and flew upside down hundreds of meters with a boom, directly smashing the high wall erected by Marine. Hiss. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but gasp. This scene made people watching the live broadcast hold their heads and exclaim, because at this moment Marineford has become a library. Quiet. Half-dead silence. Swish. In the next second, Buggy's body reorganized and he was unscathed. He put his hands in his pockets and looked forward. A calm voice sounded on the quiet Marineford battlefield. "Hawkeye, you're not bad. If you still want to fight, you can come here." Boom. After Buggy's words fell, the pile of rubble that collapsed hundreds of meters away suddenly exploded and was cut into countless pieces by the blue sword light. Immediately, Hawkeye got up in a panic, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stared at Buggy for a while, put away "Hey Daoyu" directly, then turned and walked away in another direction. At the same time his indifferent voice came. Can't fight at all. My means can't help you. Your ability is indeed the nemesis of swordsmen, you won this match. But next time we meet, I will ask for it back." Snort. "Get it back." Buggy chuckled, "In terms of pretending, I will not be weaker than others in my life." Immediately he continued. "An enemy defeated by me will never be regarded as an opponent by me. I will give you time to catch up until you are out of reach." Damn, this guy is so pretentious. When Hawkeye heard the words, his footsteps stopped. Although his face was expressionless, his teeth were about to gnaw into pieces. I really want to go back and beat this bully hard. But considering Buggy's outrageous fruit ability, it's really hard to get it back by forcing himself. Let's think about how to go back for a while. This time the Marine should not be picked up by anyone. It seems that we have to use the knight to row the boat. Not to mention how complicated Hawkeye's heart is, whether it's on the battlefield or watching live broadcasts all over the world. At this moment, everyone is loaded with Buggy. Wow. After the voice of Hawkeye turned and left at the moment, it caused an uproar again, and everyone was shocked. Has the world's #1 swordsman also lost? Is this the strength you want to show the world right now? King Clown Buggy. Ding. Congratulations on successfully changing the plot. The team you led intervened in the Summit War, and you forced Hawkeye back. After that, the Summit War will go completely unknown. Reward. Advanced Observation Haki, see the future. Huh. After mastering this newly acquired ability, Buggy couldn't help showing a wanton smile on his face. The reward this time is not insignificant. Let his observation Haki soar directly from elementary to advanced, and it is the most practical observation Haki that can predict the future. Especially when it's on the battlefield, it's really not too critical. If there is a high-level observation Haki of listening to the voice of all things, he is afraid that he will be directly criticized. Fortunately, predicting the future is the most ideal observation Haki for Buggy. Now it can be said that his comprehensive strength has improved to a higher level. Except for physical fitness, all his standards are emperor level. Oh no, there is still bullying that I haven't learned yet. But Buggy isn't panicking. The Gildart's template plus chopped fruit he mastered has the power to crush everything awakened after fusion, which is enough for him to deal with any Emperor-level powerhouse. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to give the quasi-Admiral level Magellan and Stussy a second. Even in the face of the domineering Mr. Guy, even if Buggy can't beat him, he can still fight the opponent 50-50. In this regard, Buggy can only say that it is really cool to hang up. It's cool to be on and off for a while, and it's cool to be on and off all the time. It's only 42 chapters, and the strength has already reached the quasi-Emperor level. How can there be water behind this? Bah, how to write? Buggy took it easy. He still has a lot to do, and he doesn't think that a legendary pirate like Lonely Red will be his subordinate. Now he can still use bat fruit to manipulate the other party. When the other party gets the address of the bat fruit, he will not be surprised that the other party will turn around and leave. This is why he must come to rescue Ace after his soul wears Buggy. Because in this way he can inherit Roger's legacy, and be able to get Jabba, Bullet, Duolingo and Sunbell on his ship and become a member of his power. He even thought about taking advantage of the fact that Rayleigh didn't come to rescue Ace in the future, trying to make the other party feel guilty, and then join his forces. But this kind of thing can't be rushed, you have to figure it out slowly. In this case, even if Redfield leaves afterwards, the cadres under him include Jabba, Bullet and Duolingo, 3 Admiral level and even Emperor level seedlings. In addition, there is another, San Juan Wolf, whose strength he has not fully figured out. It can be said that the future can be expected. After Crocodile, Mr. 1, and Rob Lucci, the second echelon, have mastered hockey and grown up, his 4 Emperors group will definitely be the top force in New World. After this Summit War, he is ready to go to New World to open up his own world. And the best goal is to inherit Whitebeard's territory. Various thoughts flashed through his mind, and Buggy's smile became more wanton. And his smile, paired with the clown's makeup, gives people a sense of wanton and endless arrogance under the camera of the live broadcast all over the world. Especially since Buggy just defeated Hawkeye. The impact of this feeling is even stronger. All the kings of the underground world who watched the live broadcast felt palpitations. At the same time, those supernovas who watched the live broadcast at Sabodi Archipelago, like Rayleigh, all looked very dignified. It was hard for them to imagine that Hawkeye, who easily suppressed Luffy, Ivankov, Haishia Jinbei, and even Crocodile, lost to that man. To be precise, he lost to his fruit ability. Judging from the previous battles, every attack of Hawkeye can be said to have caused fatal injuries to Buggy. Whenever an attack worked, Buggy would have been too dead. So it's not so much that Hawkeye lost to Buggy, but rather to his ability. The swordsman's nemesis can only be said to be worthy of the name. But if you lose, you lose. Even if Hawkeye has the ability to lose to Buggy, it is also part of Buggy's strength. Therefore, it can be said that today's Buggy definitely has the same strength as Marine Admiral. ZZZ. Obviously, Marine Admiral also thought so, so after kicking Pony and Duolingo, Kizaru came behind Buggy, who seemed to be immersed in the victory over Hawkeye, and kicked him on the head. At the same time, Kizaru's pouting and obscene voice sounded. Speed is weight, have you ever been kicked by the speed of light? Kizaru's voice was naturally transmitted from the amplified telephone bug into the live broadcast screen very clearly. The corners of the mouths of those supernovas watching this scene in the Sabodi Archipelago twitched. The horror of being kicked by Kizaru as a supernova a week or 2 ago is still in my heart, and now I see this man kicking again. They also want to see it this time. How does that Buggy face Kizaru, who is known for his speed? This sudden change made even Hawkeye, who was not far away, stop and look back. Immediately afterwards, Buggy imitated Kizaru in a strange tone and said, "You're going to kick me from the right cheek? It's Marine Admiral, it's scary." At the same time as he finished speaking, Buggy only slightly turned his face to the right, and avoided Kizaru's kick by a palm. Hearing Buggy's words, Kizaru was startled. He didn't expect the other party's knowledge ability to be so strong, thinking that this time he no longer pretended to speak, but quietly kicked Buggy's back in the air. This time Buggy turned his back to him, and he didn't believe that the other party could still find out. Just the next moment, Buggy's voice with his back to Kizaru sounded again. "You want to kick me in the back again this time? Is there no sound at all now? Kizaru Admiral is really scary without giving me any hints about this, Junior. But, is it really good that you are so close to me? Kizaru Admiral, have you ever tasted being torn apart?" While speaking, Buggy turned sideways and easily avoided Kizaru's kick again. predict future. Seeing this, Kizaru's pupils shrank, and he exclaimed, but before he could make a move, he saw a protective cover that resembled platinum light around Buggy's body, and Kizaru, who was half of his body inside the protective cover, was immediately caught. Split into countless pieces. Chi chi chi. The next moment, under the horrified eyes of everyone, half of Kizaru's body disappeared directly, turned into square pieces and fell to the ground, and then turned into golden light spots and dissipated with a bang. Before everyone recovered from the shock, Kizaru, who had lost half of his body, pouted again and said, "Not only has he mastered such a terrifying fruit ability, but he also has the observation haki that can predict the future. Clown King Buggy, it's really scary. It hurt so much just now." While speaking, Kizaru already held up the Tiankongyun sword and slashed directly at Buggy. The knife was as fast as lightning. Scoff. Buggy was split in half from head to toe. "Who are you lying to?" Buggy, who was split in half, stared at Kizaru with the remaining half of his head and said, "I'm in so much pain right now, okay. Kizaru Admiral, why didn't you report the name of the move? I didn't even realize it. I'm going to be hacked to death by you." Marine Admiral Peluzalino, well deserved of its name, is horrible. Akainu. Whitebeard. Aokiji. Sengoku. Kizaru, you bastard, can you stop playing? Hey. That guy is broadcasting live in the world, give Marine some face. Garp. Ha 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 ha, people watching the live broadcast from all over the world. Forget it, you play and make trouble as you please, and we watch it casually. After hearing Sengoku's roar, Kizaru said helplessly, "Marshal Sengoku, stop making sarcastic remarks. What is play? Do you know that this guy can even predict the future? My best swordsmanship is useless against him, how can I fight this? I figured out why that Hawkeye guy decisively gave up entanglement with this guy. The swordsman nemesis is worthy of the name. Today's young people are as strong as monsters, so scary." Sengoku. Sengoku expresses that he doesn't want to talk to Kizaru. But at this moment, another huge movement came from another battlefield. Boom. Caw caw caw. Bang bang bang. Ah. After a burst of landslides and ground cracks, the space was shattered, followed by Akainu's screams and Whitebeard gnashing his teeth and vomiting blood. Everyone turned their heads to look almost subconsciously. Akainu's fist burned a fist-sized blood hole in Whitebeard's abdomen. And Akainu was flattened by Whitebeard's punch, blood was sprayed from the mouth, teeth were broken, and the whole body screamed until he fell into the cracked ground and didn't stop. Hoo. At this time, Whitebeard used Kong Yunki to stabilize his body and kept panting, cold sweat kept flowing from his forehead, and blood was overflowing from the corner of his mouth. To be honest, anyone who changed someone would have already been killed by Akainu. As a Logia-capable Akainu, it is undoubtedly the most correct strategy to choose this strategy of playing Whitebeard with injuries. Now Whitebeard is full of hidden wounds, and the backstab by Akainu's subordinates before the start of the attack is even more wounds, and he can't stand such consumption at all. As long as Akainu comes again or twice, Whitebeard will definitely die. But now Akainu fell directly into the seawater of the crack. Chila. When Buggy just saw this scene, he saw Kizaru get rid of Duolingo and Margau's entanglement again, and directly turned into a golden light and rushed down the crack. Aokiji, who fought fiercely with Bullet in the distance, didn't have any reservations, and directly used his awakening ability. Ice Age. ZZZ. In just a few seconds, the ground within a radius of several kilometers, where there is water, is all frozen into ice. Even Hawkeye's extremely powerful Bullet was instantly frozen, not to mention Diamond Josie, who was weaker than him. It can be said that the two turned into two huge ice sculptures in the blink of an eye. Even the seawater in underground cracks hundreds of meters deep is the same. The cooperation between Aokiji and Kizaru can be said to be full of tacit understanding. Seeing this scene, Buggy felt a flash of appreciation in his heart. This is the real comrade in arms. In his previous life, Buggy saw a lot of people saying that only Akainu was contributing in the entire Summit War. He agreed, but it would be absurd to say that Akainu fell into the sea and Kizaru and Aokiji stood idly by. As a top combat force at the Admiral level, how bad can his knowledge be? Nothing more than there is no special observation haki. How could they not notice that Akainu fell into the sea? It was because they knew that Akainu was fine, so they didn't meddle in their own business. Powerhouses of their level will not easily intervene in the opponent's battle, unless it is really necessary, or the comrades are really invincible. Like this moment, after Akainu literally fell into the sea, The tacit understanding between Kizaru and Aokiji is enough to prove this point. Even after Aokiji betrayed Marine, Buggy thought it might be a good show between him and Akainu. As for whether it is true, I am afraid we will have to wait until 2025 to find out. At the same time, under the crack, Kizaru directly smashed the ice with the 8-foot Chong Guyu, and then lifted Akainu, whose bones were broken and covered in blood. This time, due to Buggy's intervention, Whitebeard and Akainu fought earlier, so Whitebeard didn't waste too much energy. So Akainu was beaten more miserably at the moment. But these injuries are not a problem at all for Logia fruit-capable users. If it continues to be exhausted like this at a durable level, Akainu will still use energy to kill Whitebeard, but his own fate will not be too good. At this time, Akainu lost strength only because he had just been fished out of the sea. Thank you, Paluzalino. Akainu let out a long breath and waved his hands. You and I join forces to kill Whitebeard first? Kizaru doesn't have that wretched look at the moment. His eyes are fierce, showing the true courage of an admiral level. No. Akainu shook his head without hesitation, and said with a look of fatigue in his eyes. That guy Buggy the Clown got the equipment out of nowhere and is broadcasting to the world. If the two of us Admiral join forces to attack Whitebeard, Marine's reputation will plummet. Also, do you think that guy would let that happen? Don't forget, Redfield and Jabba haven't made a move yet. Do you really want Senior Garp and Marshal Sengoku to do it yourself? Marshal Sengoku is lucky to say, as long as Garp doesn't betray the water, I'm very lucky. Kizaru disagreed with his idea and said, why can't the two of them make a move? The current situation is completely different from our expected results, and it can even be said that it has reached a bad point. It has become a real fair war. Don't forget, the redhead is still trying to find a way to get here. It's impossible for Kaido to really go to war with redheads in an all-out way. If redhead gets rid of Kaido and comes to Marineford again, we Marine will definitely lose. At this moment, if you are still pedantic, what prestige is there? A quick decision is the best decision. Akainu sighed, then gritted his teeth and said. I also know this, so if this is the case, the execution will be carried out in advance. I will take this opportunity to let Whitebeard show his flaws and take him down in one fell swoop. Kizaru was silent for 2 seconds and said, Sakazuki, you still want to use this kind of injury for injury style of play. You and I both know that Whitebeard is just hanging his breath. You just need to consume him slowly, and he can't consume you at all. Akainu stared at Kizaru and said, Perusalino, you also said just now that the battle must be resolved quickly. If we don't have this awareness, how can we wipe out the era of great pirates? Chila. After Kizaru sighed, his figure turned into light and disappeared in place. At the same time, his words rang in Akainu's ears. Sakazuki, I will not fight for the marshal. Perusalino. Akainu's eyes were fixed, and he looked up at the sky. After a few seconds of silence, he roared and rose into the sky with billowing magma. Whitebeard, die. Meanwhile, Akainu had just taken to the sky when he saw Ivankov pull out the 10 fingernails that had been lodged in Whitebeard's body. Immediately afterwards, Akainu felt a chill in his heart. Whitebeard, who was in a dying state, suddenly opened his eyes, and a powerful black and white conqueror's haki suddenly burst out from his body, and then quickly swept the entire Marineford square like a storm. Boom. Almost at the same time, Whitebeard's beard and hair were all stretched out, and his body shot up. In the blink of an eye, he came to Akainu, who was in high spirits above the sky, and smashed Akainu's face with a fist wrapped in black and white lightning. Magma brat, who are you calling to die? Boom. Caw caw caw. The sky shatters, Marineford rips apart again. Whoosh. Akainu flew upside down and hit the ground below with a bang, sinking into a large pit of nearly 100 meters, and the ground was cracked inch by inch. Kizaru, who had just flown to Buggy, saw this scene and was horrified. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could Whitebeard suddenly recover to the peak of his combat power? He. Buggy held his forehead, raised his head and laughed wildly. Nothing is impossible, go berserk, let me see how strong Whitebeard is at the peak. Plop plop plop. In the next moment, each of the Marine colonels, and even the officers at the rear admiral level, all passed out with white eyes. Whitebeard at the peak of his combat power is terrifying. From now on, let the world know what it means to be the pinnacle of Whitebeard. This is Buggy's plot. Emporio Ivankov, Paramecia hormone fruit. On the execution platform, Sengoku gritted his teeth and said, what a clown Buggy, what a plan to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Hearing Sengoku's words, Garp, who was sitting cross-legged on one side, scratched his head in confusion and said, "Sengoku, what do you mean by that? Why did that kid kill 3 birds with 1 stone?" Paramecia hormone fruit has an ability called stimulation hormone. This ability can make people excited instantly, allowing them to have the power to recover to the peak in a short time, or the power to go berserk. But the side effects are extremely serious. With Whitebeard's current physical condition, after using this ability, he will surely die. "What? Hiss!" Garp exclaimed, and Ace, who was kneeling between the two of them, couldn't help but gasped. In this way, Whitebeard can burst into combat power, hold down at least one Admiral, gain Whitebeard's gratitude, and send Whitebeard away directly. In this way, the position of 4 emperors is not vacant. In this way, Buggy not only did not offend the Whitebeard pirates, but also got their favor. Although with the exception of a few members of the Whitebeard pirates, most people can see that Whitebeard's visit here is actually dead. But the effect of Whitebeard in his twilight years coming to die is completely different from that of Whitebeard at his peak. Just look at Whitebeard at this moment, it is completely different from before, and now he is almost beating Akainu. If Kizaru hadn't discovered it in time and immediately joined Akainu to help Akainu, Akainu would not have been killed by Whitebeard. At least it was inevitable that he would be too disabled to fight. Boom boom boom. At this moment, Whitebeard can even step on the moonwalk, make waves in the air, and chase Akainu in the sky. Fortunately, Kizaru was on the side to assist in the defense, which allowed the two of them to defend Whitebeard's heaven-defying attack power. But even so, Kizaru and Akainu were shocked by the power of shock fruit so that the corners of their mouths were bleeding. Go back to a few minutes ago. Somewhere in Marineford, a group of people were watching the battle through a huge water mirror. There is no doubt that this group is the Blackbeard party who have just arrived from Impel Down. Seeing that both Whitebeard and Akainu were injured, Blackbeard suddenly showed a mouthful of rotten teeth and smiled sinisterly. "Thief, ha 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 ha. Everything is in plan. My ideal double fruit ability is about to come true. Dad, even if you were once the strongest in the world, so what? Look at your messed up look now. Why not die peacefully? Thief, ha ha ha, but if you just die so peacefully, I really have no way to complete the plan. Thanks to Brother Ace. Thief, ha 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 ha." At this time, there were a few more members standing behind Blackbeard than before. Apart from the original 5 and the newly joined Shiryu of the Rain, there were also a few more members who were the most vicious criminals in Eternal Hell. One of them is Katrine Demai, who is known as Xuanyue Hunter, Zone Dog Fruit Phantom Beast 9 Tails Demon Fox form. The second one is Basque Chote, known as Big Wine, a Paramecia wine fruit capable person. The third one is Avaro Pizarro, who is known as the Evil Government King, and the Paramecia Island fruit ability user. The original San Juan wolf of the giant race was taken away by Buggy. However, Blackbeard recruited another giant family. What's interesting is that this giant family is an ability user who ate the mini-fruit, known as the insidious giant, Barbarossa Caballo. At this time, several people also smiled when they heard Blackbeard's laughter. Apparently Blackbeard informed them of their next plans after recruiting them. But at this moment, Shiryu of the Rain suddenly said, "Wait a minute, Captain, look over there." Blackbeard looked in the direction of Shiryu's finger, and saw Buggy sprinting towards Ivankov, who was fighting Bartholomew Kuma on the other side with one hand, and came to Whitebeard with his collar. Seeing this, Blackbeard gritted his teeth and said, "It's Buggy the Clown. What's this guy thinking?" On one side, Lafitte, known as the Devil Sheriff, suddenly said, "Didn't he become emperor on the top before? Could it be that he also set his sights on Whitebeard and wanted to kill Whitebeard at this time? Hey, it's really possible." Blackbeard's eyes lit up and he laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha, it's just right to have this idiot do this for us. We don't even have to do anything, it's awesome. Look at him doing it. Hey, why doesn't he do it? What is that Ivankov doing?" Seeing behind him, Blackbeard was also a little puzzled. At this time, in their team, Poisonous Q, known as Shinigami, suddenly said after eating the diseased fruit, "I smell a strong life force suddenly pouring into Whitebeard. No, he is treating Whitebeard." What? Blackbeard was startled, but before they could make a move, Ivankov had already withdrawn 10 fingernails. Then there was the scene they saw before. Whitebeard is suddenly back to the top, and Conqueror's hockey is in full swing. Most of the Marine field officers around him, and some rear admirals were stunned by this powerful Conquerors. Then, Whitebeard flew up and punched Akainu flying. Immediately afterwards, Kizaru, who was about to pester Buggy, immediately abandoned Buggy and flew towards Whitebeard, fighting with Akainu 1 against 2 in the sky. This sudden turn of events made Blackbeard look stupid. Ha 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 ha. It wasn't until in the water mirror that the clown Buggy's brow supporting laughter brought him back to reality. Buggy the clown. Blackbeard was so angry that his complexion was as black as the bottom of a pot, and his rotten teeth were about to be crushed. At this time, Shiryu gave him a knife. "Captain, shall we board?" Blackbeard growled. "Would you like me to decide?" "Shiryu, I am the captain." "Shiryu of the Rain. If you don't go now, you won't have a chance later. Teach, you will regret it." The rest of the Blackbeard pirates, Blackbeard. One thing to say, Blackbeard felt that he was suffocated by Buggy this wave. Why does this man get ahead of him in everything? He suddenly felt as if he had been living under his shadow. The people watching the live broadcast all over the world, after seeing this scene happen, their mentality is not much better than that of Blackbeard. There is one thing to say, more people watching the live broadcast are actually ordinary people. For ordinary people, pirates are evil, and Marines are righteous. Even though there are not a few scum and scum in Marine, it is undeniable that Marine is still the only existence in this rotten world that can give ordinary people a little comfort. Now seeing the resurrection of the dying big pirate, one Marine Admiral was even beaten by the opponent, and 2 Marine Admirals were needed to withstand the opponent's offensive. This made many civilians fearful, screaming with their heads in their hands. Especially when the C position of the live broadcast screen fell on the hot man again, everyone saw that the Clown King Buggy, who first defeated Hawkeye and then opened with Kizaru 55, was covering his face with one hand and laughing wildly. Make them feel even more desperate. There is a sense of déjà vu that the world is about to be destroyed. There is still a Marine Admiral level big pirate left alone. Such a terrifying guy, is it really okay to let him stay here? Moreover, the current scene can be said to have been caused by this man alone. To some extent, his scheme is more terrifying than his strength. Even if ordinary people watching the live broadcast don't know the strategic combat power, they will still know simple pairs. As far as Marine high-end combat power is concerned, Whitebeard is now holding down 2 Marine Admirals with 1 against 2. The other Marine Admiral was held back by Whitebeard's first team captain, Marco, and third team captain, Diamond Jazzy. Several other vice admirals besieged a bullet and a Duolingo, but they still could not make effective progress for a long time. Especially among these vice admirals there are 2 people who are admirals' backups. A Momoshage, and a T-Dolphin. Although different people didn't know it, the insiders were shocked. They didn't expect that in Buggy's team, besides himself, Jabba and Redfield, there were 2 other almost admiral-level fighters. This pirate group is really scary, especially now that the 3 admirals can't get out. At this time, only Marshal Sengoku and the marine hero Garp remain in the high-end marine combat power. But on the pirate side, there are the Clown King Buggy, the lonely Red Redfield, and Copper Jabba, one of the crew members of One Piece. Which is better and which is better, you can tell at a glance. It's over, it's over. Can't beat it at all. Is the world going to be taken over by pirates? Damn world government, do something. Marine has really tried his best, and the 3 admirals are also working hard. Who else can save the world now? Damn pirates. Damn pirates. Marine must win. But things often backfire. The more you are afraid of something, the more you will come. In the live broadcast, the Clown King Buggy, who had been laughing wantonly, finally restrained his smile, and then, under the watchful eyes of countless people, he just strolled on the void and walked towards the execution platform step by step. It was as if the battlefield around him didn't exist at all to him. His white cloak is flying, his blue ponytail is fluttering, his hands are in his pockets, and he is blowing a whistle that makes people feel scalp numb, twisted nerve. Coupled with his smiling clown makeup at that time, it was in stark contrast with the blood-splattered battlefield below, which made people feel strange and terrifying for no reason. Seeing this scene, the morale of the pirate corps below was greatly boosted, while Marine's morale suddenly sank. Sengoku on the execution platform took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Garp." Even though Sengoku only called Garp by his name, as old comrades in arms, they already had a tacit understanding. Ah. Garp, who was sitting cross-legged next to Ace, sighed softly, his expression gradually turned fierce, and Ace, who was kneeling beside him, even had an extremely strange feeling. Looking at Garp's back, feeling the powerful aura that began to overflow from his body, even though Ace has been with Whitebeard for many years, he also feels a dry throat at this moment. Marine can't be humiliated. Caw caw caw. Garp clenched his fists, and within a meter or 2 of his body, he was surrounded by armament Hawkeye, as powerful as a flame. His white hair stood on end, as if there was endless power in each strand. He raised his eyes to look at Buggy, who was still walking towards the execution platform in a leisurely manner, and growled. "You're not enough alone to get past me, Buggy." Swish. Almost at the moment Garp roared out, his figure exploded a wave of air in the air, and his whole body rushed to within 10 meters in front of Buggy like lightning in the blink of an eye, and smashed his black fist towards Buggy's head. Whoosh. At this moment, Jabba, who was holding a double axe, was also surrounded by terror. Armament Hawkeye shot up with a double axe, and directly slashed at Garp with a terrifying armed axe, also roaring. "How could it be easy for you to succeed, cross-axe? Jabba. You can't." At this moment, Garp was extremely arrogant, with Hawkeye all over his body. He raised his hand and punched Jabba's giant axe without hesitation. Bang bang bang. The two fought against each other several times in the sky. Hawkeye was surging and the airwaves burst. The terrifying aftermath of the battle made everyone back away. Even though Jabba tried his best, he was still beaten by Garp. If this continues, he will be completely defeated in just a few moves. Armed God. In the next second, Jabba used all his strength, and the roar echoed, and the armament Hawkeye around him suddenly left the body with a boom, turning into an orange flame and rising up. The endless coercion emanating from the arrogance made all the Marines even feel horrified. Super armed color. Damn it, how can such a person exist? How do you fight like this? Trust Vice Admiral Garp. All the Marines felt a little desperate for a while. HMPH. Even a mere super armed color dares to fight like hell. Garp snorted coldly, and Hawkeye around him was also overflowing with money. In the blink of an eye, the black and red armed colors on his body suddenly erupted, and the whole person seemed to be shrouded in a huge arrogance. The power is even higher than Jabba. Garp, it's you. Come on, let me see how big the gap is between us. Tyranny. Jabba saw that Garp's armament Hawkeye was stronger than himself, not only did not panic, but instead grinned, with a fighting spirit, and roared and charged up again with the double axes. Jabba. Who do you think labor is? Garp yelled angrily, and a black and red lightning bolt was suddenly wrapped around his right fist, and he punched it down. The next moment, above the sky, the two collided. In an instant, the airwaves surged, and Hawkeye exploded. Clang. Whoosh boom. But this time, it lasted for less than 3 seconds. Jabba and his axe fell on the ground like a blue meteor, creating a huge crater with a diameter of hundreds of meters. Seeing this scene, Marines' morale was immediately boosted. Oh, Senior Garp made the move. So strong. Senior Garp's Conquerors is still so terrifying. The crew of the One Piece couldn't hold a single punch and was sent flying. Hero Garp is invincible. Wait, look, that man has also shot. The moment Jabba was thrown into the air, Redfield, who was still sitting cross-legged on the Moby Dick, suddenly disappeared, and the next time he reappeared, he was already in front of Garp. Hey, I said Buggy you boy, this is not the same as what I said at the beginning. What about letting me stop only one admiral? Having said that, Laidfield did not hesitate at all, his figure flashed, blasting waves of air in midair. He came to Garp in the blink of an eye, and immediately smashed Garp with the black and gold Conqueror's entangled fist. Ha 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 ha, Barry Locke, have you finally made a move? But you alone are not enough. You have been imprisoned for all these years, old man. I have not stopped practicing. You and that kid Jabba go together. Garp also showed no sign of weakness. He laughed and punched him. HMPH. Who do you look down on? Redfield sneered. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, before their fists collided, the two powerful conquerors had already collided with each other. The powerful powers shocked everyone in Marineford. Within a radius of 1 or 2 kilometers around them, both the Marine and the pirates were so shocked by the terrifying momentum that they rolled their eyes and passed out. At the same time, the people watching the battle saw Buggy stop and look up at the sky. Everyone raised their heads subconsciously. At a glance, the world is terrified. The sky is split. At this moment, the sky of Marineford seemed to be split by something. The dark clouds over the battle between Garp and Redfield split in two and stretched for several kilometers, and there were even beams of golden sunlight shining down from the middle, which was in stark contrast to the tragic battlefield below at this moment. Bang bang bang. Whoosh, the mighty conqueror's Hawkeye danced across the sky like bolts of lightning. The airwaves from Garp and Redfield's collision made no one dare to approach within 1 kilometer around, but anyone who approached would be blown away by the aftermath of the battle. All the people watching this live broadcast from all over the world were dumbfounded. They never thought that the old pirate man would be so strong. What everyone didn't expect was that while Garp faced that Redfield, he also had to meet the equally terrifying Jabba. Many people are shocked when they see this place. Whitebeard, who was fighting 1 against 2 in the distance, also noticed the situation here, and was also surprised. Then Whitebeard's wanton laughter echoed across the sky. Ku la 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 la. Garp, Redfield, Jabba, it seems that you monsters are not so obviously old. Hearing this, Kizaru pouted and said, Hey, you, a guy who is 1 against 2, has no reason to call others monsters, right? It's really scary. Akainu roared. Whitebeard, do you dare to lose your mind while fighting with us? Dark Hound. Although Whitebeard looked in the direction of Garp and Redfield, he didn't care about Akainu's sudden attack at all, and Kong Yunki just waved it casually with a shaking force in his hand. Boom. Click 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 click. The Dark Hound that Akainu turned into in a sneak attack earlier shattered completely in the blink of an eye. In fact, as long as Whitebeard's injury is not so serious, it is impossible for others to sneak attack him. Not to mention being attacked by his crotch-pull son Skuyad. Ace used Mara fruit to sneak attack him on the boat a few years ago, but none of them succeeded. At that time, Whitebeard's body was at least a little bit tough. Even when he was sleeping, Ace still couldn't make a successful attack. By comparing the two, it can be seen that Whitebeard's life has really come to an end. He himself understood this. Otherwise, how could he go to the top of the battlefield? Doesn't he know the overall strength gap between the Whitebeard pirates and naval headquarters? How can it be? Regardless of whether Ace can be rescued or not, he thinks he will do everything he can to give himself, Ace and the world a final explanation. This is also what Buggy clearly told about the situation he will face after using the hormonal fruit ability to heal, but he still made the choice without hesitation. After shattering Akainu's sneak attack, Whitebeard looked up at the sky, and Buggy, who was slowly walking towards the execution platform again, took a deep breath and shouted. Buggy. Ace, I leave it to you. We, the Whitebeard pirates, will remember your kindness. Buggy above the sky in front of him waved his hand casually without stopping. Whitebeard's roar made everyone stunned, especially members of the Whitebeard pirates. That Whitebeard, who was going to be strong all his life, would say such a thing. And Whitebeard's sons understood the meaning of their father's words. Others also reacted at this time. Why did Whitebeard speak so suddenly? That is, Whitebeard may not last long, father. In the distance, Marco, who was teaming up with Diamond Joes to deal with Aokiji, looked in the direction of Whitebeard with tears in his eyes, and he also had mixed feelings in his heart. Hey, Margao, do you still dare to lose your mind when fighting me? The next moment Aokiji appeared next to him and kicked him away, and Margao instantly turned into an ice sculpture. Ice time. Facing Diamond Josie, who rushed forward in the blink of an eye and attacked him with a diamond weapon, Aokiji let out a breath of cold air without dodging. Caw caw caw. Almost instantly, Diamond Chowzi also turned into an ice sculpture 5 to 6 meters high. In the blink of an eye, the captains of Whitebeard's first and third teams were temporarily suppressed by Aokiji. This is the price of daring to be distracted in the face of top combat power. Whoosh, and after Aokiji finished suppressing the two, he rushed towards Whitebeard without the slightest hesitation. And Kizaru also had a tacit understanding, and his figure suddenly turned into a golden streamer and rushed towards Buggy. Plus Akainu is fighting Whitebeard head-on. In this split second, the three admirals cooperated tacitly and exchanged combat positions. Only Kizaru is the fastest among them, so the only one who can stop Buggy is Kizaru. And Aokiji and Akainu plan to join forces to take over Whitebeard's last outburst. This is the tacit understanding between the three admirals. Marshal Sengoku can't be let go no matter what. Otherwise, their marine would really lose face today. Snort. Naturally, Whitebeard also understood this, and immediately snorted coldly as Kong Yun cut the white shock force flashing, and then slashed at Kizaru. Hum. Boom. Sheila. Almost when Kizaru's figure was about to disappear, his body was directly pierced by Kong Yunch, preventing Kizaru from flashing away. At the same time, the terrifying shock fruit power on the knife caused blood to overflow from the corner of his mouth. And Whitebeard didn't stop here. He raised his right hand high and already made a punching gesture. Akainu and Aokiji, who were bombarded at the same time, felt heart palpitations from the terrifying shock force above. You monster. Is this the might of the strongest man in the world? Akainu and Aokiji were very serious. Canine Tooth Red Lotus. Ice Age. At this moment, Akainu and Aokiji used their strongest moves almost at the same time. A flash of determination flashed in Whitebeard's eyes, and his raised right arm slammed down. Drink. At this moment, Akainu, Aokiji, and Whitebeard's attacks collided. Rumble. The sky and the earth trembled, and the space collapsed. Boom. Caw caw caw. The entire Marineford shook, and the naval headquarters building, which was already full of cracks, collapsed completely at this moment. Bang. In the next moment, the space was shattered, and the moves of Akainu and Aokiji were directly annihilated, and the two of them were sent flying thousands of meters at the same time, collapsing the outer wall of Marineford Square. Puff. Boom. Whitebeard spat out a mouthful of blood, pinched Kong Yunki and knelt down on one knee, but with a golden face, he raised his head and laughed. Ku la 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 la. I'm so happy, I'm so happy. However, at this moment, after Kizaru, who was pierced by Whitebeard with Kong Yunki, directly shot a laser from the air with a blank face, his voice came out at the same time. What a monster. With such a body, can you still perform this kind of move? It's so scary. I'll send you one last ride, Whitebeard. Nourishing. Whoosh, boom. In the next moment, the range of hundreds of meters where Whitebeard was located was engulfed by a terrifying laser explosion. Seeing this scene, Margao, Diamond Josie, and others who had just escaped from trouble yelled at the top of their lungs. Daddy. Buggy, above the void in front of him, turned his head slightly for a moment. And at this moment, Sengoku shouted abruptly in a deep voice. It's now, execution. As Sengoku's voice resounded in all directions, those pirates who were still fighting hard were taken aback for a moment. Marine was executed early. Thinking of this, they all roared angrily, while Marine was filled with excitement. Ace. Marine, you don't keep faith. What kind of faith do you talk about with pirates? Brother, come shoulder to shoulder with me. Whitebeard has been seriously injured, now let's see how you can save that guy. Ha ha ha. Now, kill these pirates for me. Damn it. Sengoku is so cunning at such a time. I don't know what's going on with Dad. It can be said that at this time, the Whitebeard pirates felt a sense of powerlessness. Especially seeing the place where Kizaru's laser exploded before, there is still black smoke billowing, and it is impossible to see what is going on with Whitebeard, which makes the pirates on Whitebeard's side even more worried. In fact, the people of the Whitebeard pirates also know it very well. If Whitebeard could really move, he would have rushed out of the explosion after hearing what Sengoku said just now, but if there is still no movement now, then it would be really bad luck up. But soon they remembered the hot man that Whitebeard entrusted before. Swish. At this moment, almost all the pirates cast their hopeful eyes on the man closest to the execution platform. Master Buggy. Uncle Buggy, you must save Ace. The Clown Emperor. Please. However, the first thing they saw at this moment was not Buggy, but the man shining with dazzling golden light above the sky. Not letting you get away, Buggy the Clown. 8-foot Chong Guyu. Shesh. Immediately, countless golden lasers bombarded Buggy from top to bottom. Seeing this scene, the expression of those pirates who originally had hopeful eyes changed suddenly. Kizaru, it's him again. All the pirates gritted their teeth. The two execution soldiers on the execution platform also raised their execution knives at this time, and they would be inserted into Ace's body in the next second, just like the execution of One Piece King Gore D. Roger 20 years ago. It's over, it's really over now. All the pirates felt hopeless at this moment. But at this moment, Buggy's unfazed, slightly playful voice still sounded in Marineford Square. Tisk, as expected of Kizaru. At this speed, I think you might as well call it Golden Flash. What is it called, Kizaru? Who gave you the nickname for pulling your hips like this? How dare you shoot laser light at me from a distance, Kizaru? It seems you still don't have a long memory. I said, useless. Hearing that Buggy was still in such a relaxed posture, everyone couldn't help but be puzzled. This rescue mission is about to fail, how can he still laugh? Decompose control. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw Buggy raising his right hand, opening his palm to the laser rain falling from the sky, and then a white golden light appeared in Buggy's palm, and then the light gradually expanded, and it melted in the blink of an eye. Make a huge barrier of hundreds of meters. Boom boom boom. Chi chi chi, and in the next second, all the hundreds of laser rays hit the platinum barrier, and then dissipated into countless golden light spots in an instant. Before everyone could react, Buggy made a move that horrified everyone. His right hand was still holding up the platinum barrier, and his left hand pointed at Sengoku and grinned. Kizaru, use your ability. Sengoku, feel the pain of your marine's golden glitter. 8-foot Chong Guyu. Whoosh. The next moment, everyone was shocked to see that there was a golden light between Buggy's fingers like Kizaru before, and then countless golden laser rays shot toward Sengoku like rain. What? Impossible. What kind of ability is this? Damn it. How could this be possible? Why is it impossible? Master Buggy used Akainu's ability before, have you forgotten? Ha 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 ha. Our Clown King, Master Buggy is invincible. The Clown King. This sudden scene shocked everyone, and the pirates' morale was once again boosted. Although Sengoku on the execution platform was shocked, he still sneered and said, Buggy, do you want to save people just with these lasers? Are you underestimating me, or are you too naive? While speaking, Sengoku jumped out of the execution platform with a bang, and then his body quickly became golden and bigger. In the blink of an eye, a golden Buddha with a height of more than 10 to 20 meters appeared in front of the execution platform and raised his palm to aim at it. The laser light shot from Buggy shouted, The Clown King. A joke. This is the holy land of justice, little boy with yellow hair, you can't save anyone in front of me. The impact of Buddha. Buzz. As Sengoku's angry roar fell, the golden Buddha that he transformed into shot out a shockwave from the palm, directly shattering the hundreds of laser beams. Oh oh oh. Seeing this, all the Marines raised their arms and cheered again. Sengoku's big golden Buddha also had a smile on his face. Ha 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 ha. But Buggy above the sky was laughing wildly with his face covered. With his clown makeup, it made people feel extremely arrogant. In the next second, Buggy smiled calmly and said, Can you stop Kizaru's laser? Can you stop me? I'm telling you right now, today I'm going to save Ace in front of you, Marshal Sengoku. Even if God came, he couldn't stop me, I said. Buzz buzz. Wow. In the next moment, Buggy's eyes with a restrained smile shot out a terrifying aura, and in the next moment, countless purple-black lightning bolts swept forward from Buggy's direction. This sudden scene made Sengoku, who had become cumbersome, too late to react. Wow. In just an instant, purple-black lightning swept across the execution platform for a distance of several hundred meters like a storm. Originally on the execution platform, the two execution soldiers who were just about to insert the knife into Ace's body directly fell to the ground with white eyes. Bang. Bang. The two long knives fell to the ground, but at this moment they were like two heavy hammers, smashing hard on the hearts of Sengoku and Marine. Above the sky, the man put his hands in his pockets. An incomparably haughty arrogance spread from him to all directions. Feeling this terrible aura, at this moment, they thought of the aura released by the world's strongest man before. Conqueror's Hawkeye, is this your courage to be king on the top? King Clown Buggy. At this moment, this title was completely imprinted in the hearts of everyone watching the live broadcast all over the world. Damn it. I even forgot that you also have this kind of power. Because the Buddha is too heavy, Sengoku has no way to use moonwalk in this state, and can only fall under the execution platform, which is why Buggy chooses to use Conquerors at this moment. HMPH. Even if you succeed this time, we have spare execution soldiers. Standing under the execution platform, Sengoku's huge golden Buddha body was shining brightly. He stared at Buggy in the sky and said, Buggy, you shu ting pass by me. Haha, I just want to experience the true power of Buddha Sengoku. Buggy laughed wildly, clenched his hands violently, and immediately a dazzling white gold light appeared on his fists, and he smashed toward Sengoku. Breaking the evil and showing the righteous one-day duo. Kyla immediately afterwards, two platinum beams of light split the void where they passed, creating cracks and rushing towards Sengoku. Snort. Sengoku snorted without fear, and pushed forward with his giant golden palm. Buddha shock. Boom. In the next instant, a huge shockwave rushed towards the two platinum beams of light shot out by Buggy. Boom. Scoff. It's just that under the shocked eyes of everyone, the terrifying shockwave sent by Sengoku hit the first white golden beam of light. It was only a moment of stalemate in midair and they exploded into countless star points of light. Call out bang. And in the next moment, the second platinum beam of light was not hindered by the shockwave, and directly hit the body of the golden Buddha, and then a huge explosion occurred. Crunch boom. Sengoku also didn't expect that Buggy's ability was superior to his phantom beast. After being hit by this blow, his huge body fell backwards and hit the wall below the execution platform. This blow immediately made Sengoku's blood surge. It was not suppressed by him forcibly. At the same time, Buggy narrowed his eyes and shouted, Bluno, it's now. Naturally, his voice spread throughout Marineford Square through the loudspeaker phone bug, making many people stunned. What does this mean? Squeak, but in the next moment, everyone understood. Even Ace looked at the void less than half a meter in front of him in disbelief, and suddenly opened a door of space. Immediately, under the shocked eyes of all the spectators around the world, a big man with a horned hairstyle appeared in the air. He stretched out his hands and dragged the shocked Ace into the air door without hesitation. Click. With the sound of a crisp door closing, the sky returned to its original state, and there was no one on the execution platform. Fire Fist Ace was rescued. After this scene happened, the entire Marineford was silent for a moment, and then there was a huge uproar. Ah! Ace was rescued, we succeeded. How could that be? What is that? Fire Fist Ace disappeared. Damn it. What a weird devil fruit ability that is. Did we fail? What should we do now? At this point, is there any point in fighting the war? The Clown King Buggy. All of us are played by him, this man is too scary. Look, the bow of the Moby Dick. Fire Fist Ace, they really saved him. Soon, some Marines who were close to the Moby Dick discovered that an air door opened on the bow of the Moby Dick, and Bluno walked out with Ace, and standing beside them was the villain San Juan who was watching the ship. Wolf. Seeing this scene, everyone is completely convinced that this is Buggy's real plan. First helped Whitebeard briefly regain his peak strength, allowing him to block 2 admirals by himself, and then let Redfield block Garp. Then he used himself as a bait to attract Sengoku's attention, and finally rescued Ace in one fell swoop. These plans are intertwined, making it impossible for Marine to resist. Sengoku was also frightened and angry at this time. Seeing the Moby Dick a few kilometers away, he couldn't help shouting angrily. Science Corps, stop hiding, destroy the Moby Dick, and bring back Fire Fist Ace. Don't you try to escape Marineford today. Buggy, aren't you very calculating? I see how you resist these pacifists. As long as the ship is destroyed, you can't go anywhere. Following Sengoku's roar, a dozen pacifists led by Senmomaru suddenly appeared on the left and right sides behind Marineford, and they were approaching the Moby Dick at this time. PX-1, destroy all the ships here, Zon Taomaru shouted while holding a huge axe. Beep beep. Following Zon Taowen's loud roar, the eyes of those pacifists flashed red, and lasers began to accumulate in their mouths. Seeing the dozens of pacifists with Kizaru lasers accumulated one by one, Marine suddenly felt that he was doing it again. Boom boom boom. Many pirates were caught off guard, causing serious injuries to these pacifists who opened the way. Fortunately, the targets of these pacifists are ships, otherwise, if the Marines double team, the Whitebeard pirates will definitely suffer heavy losses. However, it was Sengoku's order to let them destroy the ship that completely ruined the dozen or so pacifists. Destroying the ship? Not allowed. Mr. Buggy told me to keep an eye on the ship. At this moment, a thick and resonant voice resounded through Marineford. Everyone looked for the sound almost subconsciously, and then they saw that the giant, standing on the Moby Dick, was getting bigger at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, he has grown to 180 meters, which is half of a hill. Under the horrified eyes of everyone, San Juan's evil wolf raised his fists high, and then, buzzed, under Zon Taowen's horrified eyes, Juan's hill-like fists were covered with a layer of dark armament hockey. Seeing this scene, let alone Marine, even everyone in the Whitebeard pirates gasped wildly. It's a lie, isn't it? It's a giant. No, even the Devil Oz just now isn't that big. Damn it. What's going on with this guy? Wait. Look, this guy can use armament hockey on such a huge body. A monster. It's over. Those pacifists are completely over. Why did such a horrible guy become Buggy's subordinate? Damn it. Is this the man's subordinate? People watching the live broadcast from all over the world also held their heads and screamed. And those supernovas, all of them were so shocked that their complexions changed drastically. Even in New World, when the pirates of the Four Emperors Regiment watching the live broadcast saw that the San Juan wolf's huge body could still use the armed color, the faces of all the pirates turned pale. How does it feel to be hit with a punch by such a giant arm? This idea popped up in everyone's mind almost at the same time. But soon, they will know. Bad wolf consecutive normal punches. Because at this time Juan's thick and resonant voice sounded again. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, under everyone's horrified eyes, the dozen or so pacifist units were just about to open their mouths to destroy the pirate ship when they were directly smashed to the ground by huge fists that soared into the sky. Then, under Juan's continuous bombardment, all these pacifists were turned into a pile of scrap metal. When Juan took his fists away from the pacifists on the left and right sides again, there were only two huge pits with a diameter of more than 100 meters and a depth of tens of meters, and a pile of stumps and fragments inside. Mechanical parts. Seeing this scene, both the people present and the people watching the live broadcast gasped in horror. You call this a normal punch? Master Buggy, I protected the ship. At this time, Juan was as happy as a 180-meter child waving wildly in Buggy's direction. Juan, you did a good job, go back and give you another meal. Buggy gives a thumbs up. Long live Lord Buggy. Sure enough, follow Lord Buggy to have meat to eat, Juan shouted excitedly. Good guy, I bought you off with an extra meal? Say it earlier. Why didn't you say it earlier? Come to our marines sooner. Do you want to eat anything? Sengoku didn't expect such a monster to exist in Impel Down. Based on his knowledge and perception, the giant before was definitely a very simple guy. Why is such a guy locked up in Impel Down? Willing to work as long as there is meat to eat. What about Marine's unprocrastinating Admiral seedling? At this moment, Sengoku's heart ached so badly that he couldn't breathe. Although the appearance of the San Juan wolf was surprising, it didn't have a big impact, because he didn't come towards the inner square of Marineford. So Kizaru, who just got rid of Whitebeard, decides to teach Buggy a lesson while he's enjoying himself. Almost in the next moment, Kizaru had already arrived at the time when Buggy was confronting Sengoku, and if he was kicked with all his strength with the sparkling fruit laser, he would definitely be seriously injured. Tisk. Is this the speed of sparkling fruit? Mr. Golden Flash, who is about to attack from behind, is so ruthless. Is he trying to kick me to death? It's as strong as a monster. While Buggy, who was confronting Sengoku, tilted his head slightly while speaking, he dodged Kizaru's sneak attack, then looked at Kizaru and pouted. A Marine Marshal, a Marine Admiral, who doesn't talk about martial arts, came to trick and attack me, a young man. It's really scary. Kizaru. At this time, he finally felt that he always spoke in this posture before, and it really felt very cheap. Sengoku is also helpless and shocked. Predict the future. Are you so proficient at this level of observation hockey? You are a monster. Sengoku's remark caused another uproar. Is it possible to predict the future? This level of observation hockey is only known to the world's top fighters like Sengoku Kizaru. In fact, many Marines have no access to this link at all. But even so, it does not prevent them from knowing how powerful this ability is. But if you think about being able to predict the enemy's future attacks in battle, how terrifying it must be. No wonder this man didn't panic in the face of Marshal Sengoku and Kizaru alone. How do you fight against such an enemy? As if he heard the voices of all Marines, Sengoku snorted coldly, released the fruit ability and rushed directly to Buggy and shouted. What about predicting the future? The level of knowledge is not always available. Besides, even if you can predict it, how can you open more Buggy? Vajra fist. Saying that, Sengoku burst into a loud drink and turned on the tyranny. In the next instant, a circle of golden and black lightning was wrapped around Sengoku's fist, and it smashed towards Buggy. I have to say, Sengoku was right. Especially at this time, Buggy's body is still weak, and Buggy has no way to dodge when this boxing fighter comes around. Glancing at Kizaru from the corner of the eye, Buggy sneered in his heart, since he can't hide, then he won't hide, just use your fist to run away with the bucket. With this in mind, Buggy also said coldly, then I'll learn from Marshal Sengoku's tricks. Breaking evil and showing righteousness Juishan emission. Drink. With Buggy's roar, the platinum light on his right fist merged with the purple emission, and hockey with magnificent glass color smashed towards Sengoku. Boom. Rumbling, two powerful strands of hockey exploded above the sky. Zero. In the next moment, all those who watched the live broadcast found that the sky had cracked open again. Whoosh! After only a few seconds of stagnation, Buggy's figure turned into a streamer and was blasted several kilometers away by the impact of Sengoku. Boom boom boom. Seeing Buggy plowing an arc-shaped ravine hundreds of meters long on the ground, everyone couldn't help but feel a burst of horror in their hearts, thinking that Sengoku is still Sengoku. The next moment, when the smoke and dust cleared, everyone saw Buggy was enveloped in a platinum ball of light. He didn't even have any clothes on, except for a little blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. Break. How can it be? All the Marines are extremely disappointed, so there is no way to seriously injure him. At this time, although Buggy's mouth was bleeding, he was still smiling. He slowly floated up, looked at Sengoku a few kilometers away, and then took out the amplified phone from his pocket. Worm, shouting to the top. Thank you, Marshal Sengoku, for sending me out of the encirclement. Brothers, thank Marshal Sengoku for me. Sengoku's ingenious plan secures the world, lost the ace and broke the army. Thank you Marshal Sengoku for sending me off. Following Buggy's words, at the moment Ace was rescued, everyone who returned to the Moby Dick one after another according to the plan took out their phones and shouted in unison. Sengoku's ingenious plan to secure the world, lost Ace and broke the army. Thank you Marshal Sengoku for seeing him off. Sengoku's ingenious plan to secure the world, lost Ace and broke the army. Thank you Marshal Sengoku for seeing him off. Sengoku's ingenious plan to secure the world, lost Ace and broke the army. Thank you Marshal Sengoku for seeing him off. Ha 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 1. After the yelling, the laughter of all the pirates spread all over Marineford and the whole world from the PA phone bug. Seeing this scene, the Marines who were originally happy were completely dumbfounded. Did that Buggy intentionally take this punch from Marshal Sengoku? In order to escape from the encirclement, this man, is this even in your calculations? Sengoku's ingenious plan to secure the world, lost the ace and lost the army? Do you need a pig's heart to kill someone? It's terrible. Sengoku, who was standing on the execution platform in the distance, saw this scene, heard the voice of thanks spread throughout Marineford in the world, and the punch just now from Buggy was equally powerful, which made him stunned. Suddenly, there was a burst of chi and blood. At this moment, Sengoku finally felt chu. But Sengoku was still furious, and his desire was hard to fill, and then he gnashed his teeth and roared. Buggy the clown. Poof. It's just that Sengoku just yelled halfway, and suddenly couldn't hold back, and was so angry that he spurted out a mouthful of old blood. The world is silent for a while. Sengoku vomited blood from anger. I have to say that watching this scene is really embarrassing. The resourceful General Sengoku got mad at that clown Buggy. People around the world who watched the live broadcast felt aggrieved for Sengoku when they saw this scene. Sabodi Archipelago, Rayleigh, who was sitting on the trunk of the mangrove tree, suddenly laughed when he saw this scene, raised his flagon and said, "Ha ha ha, Buggy really belongs to you. This cup is toast to you." Kid slapped his knees and laughed loudly. Not only is he powerful, he is good at planning, but he also knows how to calculate people's hearts. What a terrifying man. I just didn't expect that Marshal Sengoku would vomit blood from anger. It's so funny. Trafalgar Luo shook his head solemnly. Kid is in charge, don't make sarcastic remarks. How much pressure did Sengoku bear in this war? From the moment the Clown King joined this war, Marine has been at a disadvantage all the time. Marine Admiral went from one-on-one with Whitebeard at the very beginning, to 2 people besieged and even 3 people besieged Whitebeard later. It can be said that it is a big loss of face for Marine. Prestige is falling even more. Now even Firefist Ace is rescued by the Clown King. Even the act of wanting to keep the Clown King was calculated by him, and in the end he was so disgusted by the Clown King, no one can stand it. Hiss Kira and the others gasped when they heard Luo's analysis. They didn't think about it before, but now it seems that just by bringing Sengoku's perspective a little bit, they feel that their blood pressure has begun to soar. It is not easy for Sengoku to endure until now. Wait. Look over there at Whitebeard. At this moment, someone suddenly exclaimed. Apparently something happened to Whitebeard. Everyone looked over subconsciously. After seeing Akainu and Aokiji attacking Whitebeard crazily from left to right, the 3 separated again. At this time, the corners of Baihu's 620 mouth kept bleeding, and the previous peak posture no longer existed. Whitebeard was panting heavily, looking exhausted. If it wasn't for the Kongyenshe pestle in his hand supporting his body on the ground, he might have collapsed. At this moment, Whitebeard's iconic crescent beard is half gone, and his body is covered in damage from the explosion. Flesh rolled, blood dripping. The whole person has almost become a blood man. Terrible. But think about it, he is facing 2 top Marines. And Kizaru's sneak attack from before. Being able to not be killed immediately is already the reason why Buggy cheated on Whitebeard. Seeing this scene, Marco and Diamond Joes in the distance were worried, and immediately approached quickly. But at this moment, Whitebeard suddenly took a deep breath and shouted. Margot, Joes, don't come here. Now you 2 listen up. Next comes the final order from the captain. Wow, since the disbandment of the Roger Pirates, Whitebeard has never used the captain's order on them children. Saying so suddenly at this moment gave Margot and the others a bad feeling. Dad. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates seems to have a bad feeling. Ace, you've been rescued. The strategic goal of our Whitebeard pirates has been achieved. It's time for everyone to retreat. All Whitebeard pirates obey the order. The captain orders you now, turn around and leave Marineford. As soon as Whitebeard's words came out, everyone felt more and more bad. Margot still wanted to struggle, so he spread his wings and shouted. Okay, Dad, I'm here to pick you up, Margot. Whitebeard's angry voice sounded. Are you still willful at this time? Whitebeard pirates, I will leave it to you and Ace from now on. I am a remnant of the old days, and the new world has no ships that can carry me. Alright, set sail. Do not look back. Hearing what Whitebeard said, all the members of the Whitebeard pirates burst into tears and shouted. Dad. Whitebeard roared again. Margot gritted his teeth, flapped his wings and shouted loudly. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates listened to the order, turned around, Yongfan set sail. Hearing Margot's voice, Ace standing on the Moby Dick directly knelt down, bursting into tears and shouting. No. Daddy. At the same time, Akainu, who was also panting heavily opposite Whitebeard, laughed ferociously. Ha 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 ha. Let's go. Whitebeard, are you so naive? None of you Whitebeard pirates will leave today. I want to kill them all. All the pirates should be killed. How could it be possible for you to succeed? Whitebeard opened his eyes that had been closed all the time, let go of Kong Yunki who had been holding him, opened his arms suddenly, lifted the cloak behind him and shouted. Children, set sail boldly and confidently. This is the last farewell gift from Dad. Drink. In the next moment, two white halos appeared above Whitebeard's open fists again, and this time the power on the halos made Akainu and Aokiji's complexions change drastically. Red Dogtooth. Storm Pheasant's Mouth. Almost at the same time, the two immediately used their big moves to attack again. Boom. Click 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 click. But there is no doubt that the two big moves of Akainu and Aokiji were completely shattered by Whitebeard's final shocking force. Boom boom boom. The space is broken, and the earth shakes. Caw 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 caw. In the next moment, under everyone's horrified eyes, the inner and outer squares of the entire Marineford were directly split into two halves. At this moment, the original Marine headquarters was directly divided into two by Whitebeard's fists. With this punch, Whitebeard completely cut off the idea of Marine chasing him. The island was split in two, and a huge crack of hundreds of meters lay in front of Marine. Those members of the Whitebeard pirates, who were all running backwards, burst into tears when they saw this scene. After taking one last deep look at Whitebeard, all of them rushed back with tears and gritted teeth. They knew that they couldn't waste Dad's kindness. After Whitebeard punched these two punches, he stood on the spot holding Kong Yunki, completely motionless. Only a faint gasp remained to prove that he still had a breath. Seeing this scene, Akainu shouted with red eyes. Damn Whitebeard, can't you just die in peace? Dark Hound. Puff. Akainu's punch unsurprisingly hit Whitebeard, melting his chest. Laugh. A puff of blue smoke came out, and Aokiji behind could smell the smell of burnt meat. Dad. Captain Margot, who was running away, saw this scene, his eyes were tearing apart, and he yelled in grief. At this moment Akainu looked up. Whitebeard lowered his eyes and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Sakazuki, to die in the hands of a strong man like you, this trip is not in vain, my life is already complete. Hearing this, Akainu's body shook violently. Originally, he wanted to melt Whitebeard's body directly, but at this moment he still gave the strong man his last respect. Puff. As Akainu withdrew his hand, Whitebeard spat out another mouthful of blood. Aokiji in the distance withdrew the two ice blades condensed in his hands, and looked at the legendary pirate whose fire of life was about to burn out with a complicated expression. Hiss. At this moment, Whitebeard breathed a sigh of relief, as if this blow had exhausted all his strength. Akainu and Aokiji also know that this is Whitebeard's last words. Even if they were hostile, they did not stop them at this moment. But what Whitebeard said next made everyone's expressions change drastically. One Piece, it's real. As Whitebeard's last life-stricken cry echoed, Marineford fell into utter silence. Whether it's Sengoku and Garp, the three admirals, or the many marine pirates. Everyone looked at that stalwart figure in disbelief. One Piece is real. The world is going completely crazy at this very moment. If it is said that Roger alone started the era of great pirates, what he called One Piece is still open to question. So at this moment, the man closest to One Piece said this sentence again, which proves that One Piece, that can buy the whole world, definitely exists. One is One Piece. One is the strongest man in the world. There is no need to say more about the weight of what they say. What's more, both of them chose to disclose this secret to the public before they died, so the credibility is even higher. Isn't there such a saying? When a person is about to die, his words are also good. In any case, Whitebeard's words really stirred up waves. The whole world is crazy about it. The world of One Piece is almost a Sengoku chaos under the enfeoffment system. In addition, there are sea secret treasures like devil fruit, and there are so many treasures buried in the sea, so the group of pirates will be born. This also gives many people who can't live on, and those who don't want to be subjected to the birds of their own country or the world government, have a better choice. Therefore, it is only natural that they set sail to sea after a disagreement. If the world is not fundamentally changed, pirates will never cease to be killed. Buggy, who was standing next to Ace, looked ahead indifferently. Whitebeard takes over Roger's will, the alternation of two kings in two eras. It has to be said that this is a very great spirit. They can be regarded as the pioneers of this era. But if pirates alone want to break the shackles and rules of this world, it is impossible. Pirates are just going to mess up the world. Whether it is the revolution of the Revolutionary Army or the freedom of the pirates, although they are scarce in this world, they are not necessary. A world with a regime, if there is no suitable leadership program and a group of like-minded people to fight together, then in the end, the brave will eventually become a dragon. The current Buggy doesn't want to pay attention to these for the time being, and doesn't want to worry about them. He wouldn't have any such inclinations until he stood on top of the world. He admired people like Roger and Whitebeard, but he would not choose to do this. If he hadn't hung up, Buggy would have found a place to spend his retirement years as a landowner. But even if he had hung up, he would not choose this way. It is not his style to pin his hopes on others. In the sense of knowledge, knowing that, Buggy could feel that the last flame of Whitebeard's life was completely extinguished. The once strongest man in the world fought Marine 3 Admiral at Naval Headquarters Marineford not long ago, and then died of exhaustion. He ended his legendary life in the most dazzling way. Goodbye, Whitebeard. Dad. At this moment, the entire Marineford sounded a series of stern questions. But at this moment, a voice of angry shouting stopped the voice of mourning above Marineford. Very well. Whitebeard is dead. Now it's your turn. Don't even try to run away, you wicked pirates. Akainu shouted with cold eyes. I will send you to hell with my own hands to reunite with your stupid old father. There is no doubt that Akainu's words completely angered everyone in the Whitebeard pirates. But compared to others, Ace was more angry, his eyes were blood red and he roared at Akainu. Akainu. Oh. Isn't this the Firefist Ace who killed Whitebeard and killed so many of his companions? With a contemptuous tone, Akainu's figure flew in the air. Don't worry. Whether it's you, Whitebeard, or your companions, I will send you to hell with your old One Piece father and your sinful blood in the end. Ha ha. Ha ha ha, Akainu, I'm going to kill you. Ace's eyes were blood red, and at this moment Conqueror's Haki burst out from him. Buzz. A powerful momentum swept out, which caused many members of the Whitebeard pirates who were running back to faint due to the impact. Boom. It's just that his Conquerors was just halfway released when Buggy hit him on the head with a fist with emission, smashing his upper body into the Moby Dick. Among the decks. Who are you going to kill, Ace? Can you stop talking without passing the brain test? That's Marine Admiral, the one you said you could kill? Where did you take Whitebeard? Buggy rolled his eyes and said. Look at what you've done. If Whitebeard hadn't divided the battlefield, those who were stunned by your Conquerors before would have been killed by Marines. By this time, haven't you grown up a bit, Ace? It's a good thing I didn't uncuff your seastone handcuffs, otherwise I don't know how much you will be hindered. Ace, who had just pulled his head out of the deck, was shocked when he heard this, and finally lowered his head dejectedly, gritted his teeth and said. I understand. I will remember the shame of today. Sooner or later, I will avenge my father. Tisk. Buggy shook his head, looked at Jabba, who was looking a bit ugly, then patted his shoulder and laughed loudly. Mr. Jabba doesn't have to show that face. In the case of Captain Roger, who can treat him as a father in 4.1. Get used to it. Whitebeard and Garp can do a lot better than Captain Roger. At least teach Ace to be a loving and righteous child. Okay. Let's go here. But I thought in my heart, it's a good thing it's not my son, otherwise I would break his eyes. While speaking, he looked at Garp and Redfield who were still fighting in the sky in the distance and laughed loudly. Mr. Barry Locke, if you don't come back, we'll run away with buckets. You bastard boy. Redfield's shouts came from a distance. The old man helped you block Garp's pervert for so long, so you're going to repay me like this, right? Ha ha ha, how dare you dare. Buggy chuckled and continued. I will never forget our deal, and I will tell you right away when I leave Marineford. HMPH. You still have a conscience. Only then did Redfield show a satisfied smile. Meanwhile, Akainu yelled at Buggy and the others. None of you want to leave. Watch me destroy your ship. See how you block it. Volcanic meteor. Flying at low altitude, Akainu aimed his fists at the sky, and his arms immediately swelled several times and turned into 2 giant arms, and then sprayed hundreds of huge magma hands into the air. Arm. These huge magma arms, as long as they fall on the pirate ship, must be able to smash the ship to pieces. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Whitebeard pirates came up with an idea almost at the same time. It's over. However, Buggy still looked relaxed, raised his finger behind Akainu and said, Aren't you going to kill the pirates? Who are you not killing? Look at the dozen or so people in the corner behind you. Every one of them is a ferocious criminal and impelled down. They don't have to be much more sinful than us? What? After hearing Buggy's words, everyone looked in the direction of his finger almost subconsciously. At this moment, everyone's pupils shrank suddenly. 3 minutes ago. Hey S. Luffy, who had just rushed back, ejected directly from under the Moby Dick, hugged Ace tightly and said excitedly. I knew that Uncle Buggy is so powerful, he must be able to save you. Ha ha ha. I'm glad you're okay. Seeing that you were about to be executed earlier almost scared me to death. Luffy, you are still so headstrong. Although Ace still had tears on his face, he still smiled when he saw Luffy, slapped him hard on the head a few times and sighed. This time we really owe him a big favor. What should we do? Luffy also restrained her smile. Well, I haven't thought about it yet, but it's okay. There will always be a chance to pay it back in the future. Just you 2 little brats to return my favor, in the next life. Buggy pouted disdainfully. If I need your help, I'm afraid I'm not far from death by then. Hey. Uncle Buggy, you're hurting so much by talking like that. Luffy scowled. Ace laughed. Although he didn't say anything, he already kept this kindness in his heart. They came back with Luffy and the others. The sand crocodile who is in a 50-50 fight with Doflamingo is also back, and the two are probably tired of acting. But the current crocodile is naturally impossible to be Doflamingo's opponent, and Doflamingo has no intention of going all out. It can only be said that Lao Sha regained his life, otherwise he would really become the second Capri. On Sunbell's side, when he came back, he was still carrying Gecko Moria, who had been beaten all over his face. This was also the task Buggy gave Sunbell before the battle started. This guy, Moonlight Magic Duck, will be useful in the future. The members on Buggy's side, including Ivankov and those transsexuals, have basically all returned. All that's left now are the members of the various squads of the Whitebeard pirates. At this time, seeing that Akainu was still chasing after him and wanted to kill him, Buggy showed him the way. Looking in the direction of Buggy's finger, everyone couldn't help being stunned. Then, everyone saw the group waiting around the corner in Marineford. Each one is a ferocious criminal who can be named. They were either massacring cities or islands, or they were killing for pleasure, or they were vicious criminals who destroyed half of the kingdom. And standing in front of this group of vicious criminals is Shichibukai Blackbeard Marshal D. Teach. As well as the Black 24 Beard Pirates, and the former Impel-Down Warden Shiryu Yu. After seeing this group of people, Sengoku also realized what Blackbeard did to Impel-Down before. Teach. Sengoku, who was already furious, saw a traitor appearing among his own people, and immediately became even more angry. In an instant, he turned into a golden giant Buddha tens of meters high, looked down at Blackbeard and the others and shouted. You better give me an explanation, thief, ha 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 ha. Blackbeard was covered in black air. He glanced at Sengoku with disdain and said. Explanation? What explanation? Sengoku, can't you see this yet? This Shichibukai, labor and management do not want to be. Do you think why labor and management chose to become Shichibukai in the first place? It was to go to Impel-Down to find stronger partners. It's just that I didn't expect to be taken a step ahead by that man. Clown Buggy. To my surprise, why did you only take away those few people? There are obviously many strong pirates in Eternal Hell. If you release them all and bring them all here, I'm afraid you can easily overturn the Marine headquarters. Still young after all. But then again, I still have to thank you, otherwise how could I have recruited such a good partner? Thief, ha 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 ha. Look at my friends, not bad, Clown Buggy. Oh no, I should call you the Clown King now. By the way, let me tell you, they are the ones who survived after I released everyone in eternal hell to finally fight, not much worse than your group of old men, right? Thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard's words completely shocked the world. Is there an eternal hell in the deep sea prison? Many people don't know this. But just by the name, it is known that it is the kind of place where serious criminals are held. The prisoners in that kind of place are all released like this, and then they fight each other to choose the strongest prisoner? Afraid. It has to be said that Blackbeard's words not only shocked the people watching the live broadcast around the world, but also raised the blood pressure of Sengoku and all Marines. In response, Buggy nodded in satisfaction. Blackbeard's arrogant behavior was exactly what he wanted to see. If Blackbeard wasn't so arrogant, Buggy wouldn't know how to attract Marines' hatred. I just don't know, after I ruined his plan, will he still be smiling so happily? 8-foot Chong Guyu. Just as Buggy thought, Blackbeard was too arrogant, which made Kizaru, who has always clocked out of get off work on time, couldn't help but come up with a first move. Shish. In the next instant, countless golden lasers rained down from the sky and directly bombarded Blackbeard and the others. Oops. You try to hide behind me. Blackbeard, who was still laughing maniacally, lost his smile and immediately roared. Dark water. Hurrah! Following Blackbeard's loud roar, a large cloud of black air shot up from behind him and turned into a black curtain to block the front. Puff puff boom boom boom. Even though this huge black screen absorbs a lot of Kizaru's lasers, a lot of it misses, causing a huge explosion in the direction Blackbeard and the others are heading. Cough cough cough. A few seconds later, Blackbeard and his group ran out of the explosion's smoke in a panic. The others were more or less wounded. Damn it, there's still no way to completely absorb the damage. Blackbeard gritted his rotten teeth and said unwillingly. You can forgive me. Kizaru raised his right hand again and pointed at Blackbeard. You can easily block a Marine Admiral's attack, it's already terrifying. Why are the rookies now as strong as monsters? Shish. While speaking, several laser shots came over. Let me do it. This time Shiryu, who was standing next to Blackbeard, came out biting a cigar. Ha ha ha. Okay, then I'll leave it to you. Blackbeard flicked his black cloak and said. Go. Little ones, now go and complete my plan. Base. As soon as they walked a few steps, Shiryu of the Rain unsheathed the demon sword, and in an instant, 7 or 8 huge slashes 10 meters long were blasted towards the lasers. Boom boom boom. The slash and the laser collided, and a huge explosion occurred immediately. Marine was shocked when he saw this scene. What? This guy took Kizaru Admiral's attack so easily? Who is he? It's not over yet. How come anyone can wrestle with Admiral? Damn it. Where the hell did these monsters come from? It has to be said that at this moment, the mentality of many Marines collapsed. First, Whitebeard, God of God versus Akainu, Kizaru, 1 Hammer 2, vs Akainu, Kizaru, Aokiji, 1 Hammer 3. Then there is Buggy walking in the garden versus Sengoku and Kizaru, 1 against 2. And a Redfield who can play back and forth with Vice Admiral Garp. There's also an armed Jabba. Now the Blackbeard pirates actually have such a terrifying sword pressure besides Blackbeard. What the hell is going on in this world? Some Marines are lost. Thief ha 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 ha. Blackbeard laughed wildly when he saw this scene. As expected of you, Shiryu, but his laughter stopped abruptly in the next moment. No Captain, Whitebeard's body is gone. Poison Q's anxious voice came from the front, making Blackbeard dumbfounded. Crunch. The next second, an air door opened around Buggy, and Blueno stepped out of Whitebeard's body. Buggy took out the speakerphone and grinned at Blackbeard in the distance. Whitebeard's body is on my side. You don't want to use the dark fruit to devour the shock fruit ability that has not disappeared from Whitebeard's body, right? No way, no way. It turns out that dark fruit still has the ability to capture other capable people? It's horrible, Blackbeard. What? This time Blackbeard was completely dumbfounded. He never thought that the clown Buggy knew so clearly about his fruit ability. Even his intentions are clear. Does this man really count for anything? Even if you have mastered the knowledge of future prediction, it is impossible to use it to this extent, right? This is no longer predicting the future for a few seconds, right? This is a direct calculation of what will happen in the future. Shouldn't this man be the awakening of Paramecia Chop Fruit? Blackbeard was dumbfounded. But at this moment, not only Blackbeard, but also Sengoku and others were stunned. What did they hear just now? Can Blackbeard's devil fruit take away other people's devil fruit abilities? Especially from what Buggy said, Blackbeard seems to be able to control 2 devil fruits by himself. Impossible. Sengoku and the others couldn't help feeling a chill in their hearts. But is Buggy the clown necessary to lie to them? Immediately, their eyes on Blackbeard became more and more dangerous. Blackbeard also felt the murderous intent locked on him in an instant, and he couldn't help shivering from the biting chill. Of course, it is impossible for him to admit it now, he can only stare at Buggy with resentment, and then forced a smile. I said, "You high-ranking clown king, can you not use my small role to divert conflicts? I just saw Dad's miserable appearance, and I don't want his body to fall into Marine's hands. Anyway, I used to be a member of the Whitebeard pirates." Before Buggy could speak, Ace yelled at Blackbeard angrily. "Shut up. Teach. Especially you, only you are not part of the Whitebeard pirates. The guy who chooses to kill his companions for just 1 devil fruit. Captain Sarge has such a good relationship with you, if you really need that devil fruit, will he not give it to you if you ask him for it? For Sarge, you are his family, you bastard." Blackbeard couldn't help but falter when he heard Ace's angry growl. Remember the one who always takes care of yourself. For himself, Sachi, who always shared the pressure for himself on the battlefield, actually felt guilty in his heart. After an ugly look flashed across his face, he still laughed loudly. "Thief, ha 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 ha. The words of Captain Sage are indeed my teach, I am sorry for him. But Ace, my ambition is calling me. I can only respect my own ambition, what's wrong? I've waited so many years for this opportunity. Therefore, no matter who stands in my way, I will strike without mercy. I'm so sorry, Captain Ace. You." Ace trembled with anger at his words. Buggy on one side cast a sideways glance at Ace, who was still too young after all, and then took up the conversation with a smile. "Blackbeard, your language skills are really not bad, just a few sentences can break my nephew's defenses. In fact, I first paid attention to you because of the 3 scars you left on Shanks' eyes more than 10 years ago. I haven't seen anyone who can make my brother suffer so much. You are the first. Blackbeard, you have the tomb of the 4 emperors. Heck, you've got your eye on Whitebeard's turf, haven't you? Then I'll be talking. That guy Whitebeard passed away, I still have to watch over his place, teach." Swish. As soon as Buggy said this, the eyes that were originally on Buggy turned to Blackbeard again. The man who was able to hurt the red-haired Shanks 10 years ago. At that time, Hongfa's strength might not have reached the peak it is now, but it won't be too far behind. Did Blackbeard have such terrifying power back then? Is this guy another careerist? I feel that Sengoku, Kizaru, Akainu and Aokiji are looking at me more and more unkindly. Even if Blackbeard has just added a lot of powerful combat power and his confidence is inflated at this time, it is impossible to withstand the killing intent of these big guys. He was already yelling at Buggy in his heart at this moment. I wonder why this man always messes with himself? You guy Blackbeard choked with anger, and immediately quibbled. The king of clowns, why are you taking the blame for me? If you want to annex Whitebeard's territory, annex it. How could I be the opponent of the red-haired Shanks at that time? Even if Shanks' strength hadn't reached its peak more than 10 years ago, he was almost an Admiral-level master at that time. How could I? It's just that before Blackbeard finished speaking, a magnetic voice suddenly came from the other side of Marineford. "Long time no see, teach. I didn't expect you to be so modest. No wonder you have come to where you are today. It seems that Buggy is right, you have the appearance of 4 emperors. Which one did the 4 emperors of the New World see? We are so familiar, it shouldn't be me, ha 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 ha. As for the scar above my eye, it has always been the driving force for me to push myself forward. Teach, you are my goal. Don't be so presumptuous." When this voice appeared, accompanied by the horror conqueror's haki that enveloped the entire Marineford, Sengoku's expressions completely changed. Sengoku gritted his teeth and said, "Red hair, are you still here?" Swish. Almost at the same time, everyone looked in the direction where haki radiated. The warships at the port there are divided into 2 rows. Then the Red Hair's eye-catching Red Force and Red Hair Pirates banners appeared in that harbor. Red Hair Pirates. How did this man come here? It's over. It's all over. Why? Why are there 2 4 emperors? No, 3 4 emperors level combat forces came to the headquarters. Are all intelligence personnel eating shit? If they attack naval headquarters. When seeing the Red Hair Pirates also appear, the mentality of most Marines completely collapsed. Even Garp, who was fighting Redfield, chose to back away, and returned to Sengoku on the execution platform, roaring with a very solemn expression. "Redhead, what are you doing here? Shanks said with a serious look. I'm here to end this war. Puff. It was a pretentious sentence at first, but at this moment, a sudden laughter was heard from the speakerphone bug, making the serious Shanks almost collapse. Subconsciously turned his head to look in the direction of the laughter. Immediately, Shanks saw that familiar yet unfamiliar figure, and then he heard the man laughing loudly. Ha 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 ha, sorry Shanks, I said that before you came. Hearing Buggy's words, Shanks was stunned for a moment and then laughed loudly. Buggy? I didn't expect it was really you, you hide really deep, ha 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 ha, huh? Shanks opened his mouth and laughed halfway, when he suddenly found Jabba, Bullet, Duolingo and Sunbell standing next to Buggy, their eyeballs and tongues protruded. Mr. Jabba, Brother Douglas, Brother Duolingo, and Mr. Sunbell. Are you guys all right? Really good. Shanks raised his hand to press his forehead, with a look of disbelief. Tears were already gushing from his eyes. Everyone in Jabba couldn't help smiling when they heard Shanks' name, even Bullet. You must know that Shanks is already one of the 4 emperors of the New World, the top existence in the world today. Being such a character and being willing to call them this way proves that Shanks is still the same Shanks. This made them all very happy. Shanks, who was halfway through crying, suddenly changed his face as if remembering something, and said with tears in his eyes. By the way, do you want to come to my boat? Shanks, give me almost as much. Buggy's face turned dark immediately. Gouging my corner in front of me. Ha ha ha, don't mind Buggy, I'm just asking casually, what if it works? Shanks shamelessly said. Don't forget, it's because I persuaded you to eat that devil fruit back then that you can have such terrifying strength. Don't do this to me. You shameless fellow. Buggy rolled his eyes. If he hadn't inherited the memory of Buggy the Clown, he would really have been killed by the red-haired guy. Oh, he wouldn't, after all, he had seen the original plot. Thinking of this kind of thing, Buggy's heart moved, and he suddenly thought about it. Logically speaking, Shanks shouldn't have said such things on this occasion. No matter how happy he is to reunite with his old friend, he will not talk about things after hours at this time. Obviously inappropriate. So, is this guy testing himself? Hee, it's really easy for people who can become 4 emperors to do anything. Indeed, after his soul wears Buggy, the changes before and after are too great. Even if Buggy and Shanks separated for more than 10 years, as Buggy's close friend, he would find it hard to believe that Buggy has changed so much, so it is normal to want to try it out. That being the case, Buggy will naturally play along with Shanks. If you didn't scare me by hiding behind me back then, how could I have become a landlubber? Buggy sighed and said, if it wasn't for my chance to develop the fruit ability later, I'm afraid I would have died countless times. I was almost cheated to death by you. Hearing this, Shanks also understood that this Buggy was the Buggy he knew. Because he frightened Buggy and caused him to swallow the paramecia split fruit by mistake and turned him into a landlubber, only he and Buggy knew. Therefore, Shanks stopped probing, and immediately became dejected and said, Buggy, let's talk about our affairs later. Now, as you said before, let's end this war first. It doesn't make any sense to fight anymore. After finishing speaking, Shanks leapt up into the air suddenly, made several airwaves in the air, and then came to the bow of the Moby Dick and stood side by side with Buggy, looked at Garp and Sengoku on the execution platform and said in a deep voice. Marshal Sengoku, Mr. Inzen. Although many people on the battlefield are seriously injured, they can still be rescued and treated. If it continues, it will lead to more deaths. If you still want to fight, well, we red hair pirates don't mind fighting with you again. Finally, we will take Whitebeard's body. Impossible. Just after Shanks finished speaking, the hawk-like ghost spider belonging to Akainu's lineage shouted in a deep voice. Whitebeard was killed by our Sakazuki Admiral, it is our spoil, we can't let you take it away, his head must be left to shock the world. Shut up. After hearing the words of the ghost spider Vice Admiral, Shanks, who was originally kind, turned cold, and a terrifying conqueror swept out directly. That ghost spider, Vice Admiral, didn't even finish his sentence, but rolled his eyes and passed out. Even the ground and rocks around him were shaken to pieces. You know it's Marine Vice Admiral. Not even Whitebeard's Conqueror's Hawkeye was able to affect a Vice Admiral, and Shanks' Conquerors just stunned the ghost spider. Click. Almost at the same time, people watching the live broadcast from all over the world saw the picture suddenly plunged into darkness. With Buggy's sense of knowledge, he immediately discovered this situation. Did the aftermath of Conquerors stun the live phone bugs around? Shanks, what level of Conquerors have you guys reached? Is it one of those super Conquerors? It's not impossible. After all, in the plot that Buggy knew in the previous life, the red hair placed a conquerors dozens of kilometers away, which directly forced the forested state of Marine Admiral's green cow back out. He was so scared that he hurriedly carried the bucket and ran away from Wano-kuni. It was precisely because of that incident that the generals were at the same level as the emperor, and this became a joke. Buggy was amazed in his heart. It is indeed the last 4 emperors to appear. It has to be said that the red-haired conquerors really surprised everyone in Marine. Especially his precise control over the conquerors. Only the ghost spider fainted, and the others just felt the oppression of the red-haired conquerors, but it didn't mean to impact their spiritual consciousness. This made the 3 admirals, and even Garp and Sengoku, have a gloomy look in their eyes. Marine's current situation is really desperate. Especially since they don't know that the live stream has been cut. So, now Marine is very passive. If he voluntarily agrees, then Marine's prestige will drop again and again. If you don't agree, so many Marine soldiers are likely to die on the spot. No, Sakazuki. Akainu was about to choke on this side, that was interrupted by Sengoku on the other side. He. When the atmosphere at the scene was extremely tense, Buggy caressed the drooping hair, and the laughter echoed. Marine, you won. The goal has already been achieved. Whitebeard has also withdrawn from the stage of history, and the New World 4 emperors has been killed by your Marine. Are you still not satisfied? How about this? Give me a face. How about this war end here? As soon as Buggy said this, the noisy Marineford fell into an eerie silence again. Shanks on the side was shocked when he heard the words. Looking at Buggy with an inexplicable look in his eyes, he suddenly had a sense of luck being squeezed. Do me a favor? Buggy, you guys are too good at acting. It makes me so jealous. Shanks gritted his teeth. Not only Shanks thought so, but other people heard Buggy's pretentious words, and they also frantically replayed the game in their hearts, thinking when I can use this sentence to pretend to be 10. After Buggy finished speaking, everyone in Marineford turned their attention to Sengoku standing on the execution platform. After a few seconds of silence, Sengoku let out a long sigh and shouted. All Marines help rescue the wounded immediately, and urge the paramedics to be on the scene. The war is over. As Sengoku's final roar echoed over Marineford. No matter if it was Marine or pirate, this moment was full of cheers. They finally saw the hope of life. The 3 admirals turned their heads to look at Sengoku at the same time. Sengoku. Garp opened his mouth to say something but was stopped by Sengoku raising his hand. I will bear all the responsibilities this time. Sengoku looked around at everyone and said in a deep voice. I will report to the Air Marshal and resign to the 5 elders. The future of Marine is entrusted to you. Marshal Sengoku. Hearing Sengoku's words, everyone in Marine was extremely moved. This is to take all responsibility with his position as Marine Marshal, and spare them all from the punishment of the world government. It has to be said that Sengoku's move really touched all the Marines present who understand the situation. This is the last care of a senior for them. Why? Garp sighed and said nothing more. He knew the nature and ambition of his old friend. Sengoku is definitely not willing to give up the position of marshal. He still has many dreams that have not been realized. At the beginning, they said that they would end the era of great pirates together. Now, Sengoku has made such a choice. How to make Garp not sigh? Kizaru, Akainu and Aokiji are naturally aware of Sengoku's ambitions. But if he doesn't take responsibility this time, if he pushes down layer by layer, wouldn't it make the people below bleed and cry? Therefore, Sengoku's behavior is actually the most appropriate, but also the most human nature test. Clearly, Sengoku didn't disappoint everyone. Even though he has been a marshal for many years, even though he was in a high position, he is still the resourceful General Sengoku who is willing to sacrifice for his subordinates. Now that Sengoku has set the tone, the 3 admirals can only accept in silence. The next step is the process of treating the wounded individually. Moby Dick aboard. Snapped. Shanks suddenly patted Buggy on the shoulder and complained. Buggy, you guys are too good at cupping. What do you mean by, this way? How about giving me a face, and this war ends here? You bastard. If it were me, how could I let you succeed, hey? So you're just a stinky pirate, and Sengoku is the Marine Marshal. Buggy shows no mercy. Don't you have points in your heart? Still trying to compare with Marshal Sengoku. Damn. Buggy, you bastard, aren't you a stinky pirate? Shanks was furious. Don't hurt each other, okay? Wait, I'm sorry. Buggy, how come you bastard is taller than me? When the F*K did you grow a second time, bastard? I just said that I felt weird when I saw you before. Shanks was dumbfounded when he said that. He kept raising his hands to compare the height of himself and Buggy, and he was even more depressed in comparison. He was 2 heads short, and he was so angry. Buggy pouted disdainfully. Don't talk to me if you are a second-degree disabled person who is less than 2 meters. I don't talk to people who are under 2 meters. F*K. Buggy, your mouth is so poisonous, no wonder Sengoku is vomiting blood. Shanks clutched his heart, looking utterly pissed off. Puff. Seeing the state of the 2 of them, Jabba and the others on one side couldn't help laughing. This feeling made them feel like they were still on the Oro Jackson. Feel. Others didn't expect that these 2 4 Emperors-level bigwigs would joke around. Coupled with the relaxation after the war, they all smiled immediately. However, at this moment, Buggy suddenly frowned and said in a deep voice. No. What's wrong? Shanks said subconsciously. But in the next second, his expression became serious. Glancing at Buggy, the 2 shouted almost in unison. Blackbeard. Teach. The 2 of them shouted loudly, making the laughter on the Moby Dick disappear instantly. At this moment, everyone suddenly felt a creepy feeling. Yes. What about Blackbeard? He was obviously still confronting that guy before, so why did he seem to have completely forgotten him all of a sudden? Not only their side, but the Marine side also reacted. Sengoku, Garp, Kizaru, Akainu and Aokiji sat together and looked at each other with gloomy expressions. Without a doubt, this is definitely a devil fruit ability. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to let go of the Blackbeard pirates, the guy who should be removed the most, which is simply unreasonable. Even if they were attracted some attention when the redheads came, with their observation hockey, it is impossible not to catch Blackbeard and so many of them leaving. Movement. Since it was discovered only now, it must be the power of devil fruit. There is only one devil fruit that can do this. Sengoku looked extremely cold. And Buggy told Sengoku the name of the fruit almost at the same time. Paramecia silent fruit, the silent fruit? Shanks frowned. What kind of ability is the Buggy fruit? Can you tell me more about it? Not only can they leave quietly in such a situation where there are so many masters, but the most important thing is that the ability of this silent fruit can make people ignore their existence. Judging from Sengoku's performance, it is obvious that they also forgot the existence of Blackbeard. I have to say that the fruit ability is really too powerful. Sure enough, Teach is not so easy to kill. Buggy was silent for a while, recalled the crumpled devil fruit illustrated book at home in his previous life, and then said. As far as I know, Fruit of Silence, S ability, one of them is the ability to create an invisible sound insulation wall, which can block the transmission of sound inside and outside the wall. There is also the ability to completely eliminate any sound produced by itself. Of course, other abilities cannot be ruled out. Especially at each stage, the abilities that Devil Fruit can develop are different. But as far as I know, in Devil Fruit, it should be the only fruit that is most likely to achieve the previous situation. After Buggy finished speaking, everyone nodded in agreement. The other side. Blackbeard, who had already stolen a warship, looked at Marineford, who could only see the coastline in the distance. After confirming that no one was chasing him, he was relieved, and looked at the man standing beside him. The man patted him on the shoulder and laughed loudly. Thief, ha 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 ha, thanks to you this time, Blazer. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid we would really be wiped out in Marineford. Hearing Blackbeard's words, the man named Blazer opened his mouth and said something to Blackbeard, but there was no sound after talking for a while. Hey. Blazer, you bastard. You forgot to turn off the fruit ability, Blackbeard said speechlessly. After he reminded that Blazer, he suddenly realized. Oh. Get used to, I mean. Before Blazer finished speaking, Shiryu of the Rain interjected. He said, you idiot, don't play like this next time, you almost killed all of us. What about your low-key? What about your forbearance? What about your strategizing? Teach. Blackbeard was furious when he heard the words. Bastard Shiryu, don't you know how to save me some face? I'm the captain. HMPH. I always save face for you. If no one wakes you up, you will regret it. Shiryu didn't like him at all, and slammed the door with a bang, and walked into the cabin. Blackbeard smiled smugly when he saw that, and then grinned his rotten teeth and hugged Blazer's shoulders and began to thank him. After a while, when he heard no sound, he turned his head and saw Blaze opening his mouth frantically again. Bang. Blackbeard slapped his forehead and said helplessly. Blaze. You're tuned to Shizune again. Oh, I'm sorry Captain, I'm used to it. An hour later, outside the Sabodi archipelago. Marco looked at Buggy and the red-haired group with a haggard look. Buggy, Shanks, thank you this time. We, the Whitebeard pirates, will always remember your kindness. Let's part here. Good. Buggy nodded at them and said. Bon voyage. Take care. The redhead also nodded. After hesitating for a moment behind Margao, Ace still took a step forward and said with some difficulty. Uncle Buggy, Uncle Shanks, Uncle Jabba. After Ace called his uncles one by one to thank him, he finally set his eyes on Luffy, and then he bowed to them and said. Next, Luffy will ask you to take care of her. My younger brother is too reckless, and I hope you can help him find his companion. I will always remember your kindness in my heart. Having said that, Ace paused, then knelt down to Buggy and the others, and then gave Buggy and the others a knock. Finally, thank you all for your life-saving grace. Seeing this scene, Jabba and others also smiled. After saying goodbye to Ace, before Buggy could say goodbye, Shanks suddenly jumped out and looked at Blueno and said. Hey. Blueno, do you want to get on my boat and hang out with me? Buggy is boring. Shanks, you bastard. Buggy gritted his teeth. Ha 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 ha. Shanks jumped back from Moby Dick to his red force and made a face at Buggy. Just kidding, Buggy, you're still so narrow-minded. After it was over, Shanks stood at the bow and waved at him with a smile. Although I really want to fight with you, but now is obviously not the time, and then we will see you in New World, Clown King. Goodbye, New World, Redhead. Buggy put his hands in his pockets, and the corners of his mouth with clown makeup slightly raised, revealing a wanton and insolent smile. After watching the redhead leave, Buggy suddenly soared up from the bow of the warship, then turned around and nodded at Redfield with a smile. Mr. Barry Locke, it's time to fulfill my promise to you. After hearing Buggy's words, Redfield froze for a moment, and then a smile appeared on his face. Above the sky. Sleeping in the ancient town. So it's in that place. After Redfield looked at Buggy and was silent for a while, he smiled and said. When I used knowledge color before, I accidentally read the memory of that Straw Hat Luffy. From his memory, I found a guy named Enel. That is, the guy you mentioned to us before. That is a pity. It is really unreasonable for the owner of Logia Thunderfruit to meet the Thunderbuster Rubber Fruit. 413. Buggy frowned in surprise and said. Mr. Berrylock, what do you mean by that? As far as I guess, Enel should be his hometown, Sky Island Burka Hill. Redfield smiled. Buggy frowned. But hasn't Burka been destroyed by Enel? Certainly not, I've been to Burka. Redfield smiled mysteriously. Don't ask why, because I just know, just like I can read the memory of the Straw Hat Kid. Is it another observation Hawkeye similar to predicting the future and listening to everything? Seems like Rayleigh has this similar ability? Buggy understands. So, Mr. Barry Locke declined my invitation in advance, and then recommended another newcomer for me to train. Redfield was stunned for a moment when he heard the words, and then he laughed loudly. You guys are so smart. That's right. If one day I really find the bat fruit, maybe I will go to you. After all, after being able to live forever, Yinhai will become interesting again. What do you say? Ha 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 ha. Buggy also burst into laughter, then split a hand, lifted Blueno up from below and said. Then I'll give Mr. Berrylock a present as well. Snapped. After that, he turned his head to look at Blueno and said with a smile. Blueno, open the door to the space of sleeping ancient town. Yes, Master Buggy. Without hesitation, Blueno raised his hand and slapped the void in front of him. Squeak. Immediately afterwards, a spatial gate appeared in front of the three of them. Seeing this, Ladefield was taken aback again, but when he saw the three words, Sleeping Ancient Town, engraved on the stone tablet on the roadside opposite the gate, he suddenly smiled. Immediately, he walked in without hesitation. In the few seconds when the door of space was about to close, Redfield suddenly said with a smile. Buggy, I'm curious, if I didn't tell you about Enel's whereabouts, would you let me know that Blueno has been to Sleeping Ancient Town? It's inevitable. Buggy was taken aback for a moment, then his smile faded away, and he said in a deep voice. A man is chivalrous, making friends with Wu Dushang. Liver and gallbladder whole, hair towering. In the middle of a conversation, life and death are connected. A promise is worth $1,000. Senior Barry Locke, I hope everything will come true, and there will be a period of time. Hearing this, Redfield on the opposite side was stunned for a few seconds before he laughed loudly and said. Ha 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 ha. What if one promise is worth it, Buggy, there will be a time later. After finishing speaking, Boldfield turned and left. Looking at his back, Buggy can vaguely hear Redfield shaking his head and muttering the few words he just said. Back on the warship, Buggy looked at Luffy and said, "Luffy, do you want me to ask Blueno to send you to meet your other companions?" Luffy was silent all the way. After hearing Buggy's words at this time, he shook his head heavily, looked at the familiar Saboti archipelago in front of him and said, "Uncle Buggy, Shanks and Ace are right, I'm too weak. If I go to New World with the same mentality as before, I'm afraid I will encounter the same thing in the future. If I didn't have the strength to protect my friends at that time, I don't want to experience that despair again. So, I would like to ask Uncle Rayleigh to teach me how to practice." "Uncle Buggy, aren't you going to meet Uncle Rayleigh? Can you take me for a ride?" Hearing Luffy's words, Buggy smiled, raised his hand and patted Luffy's head and said with a smile, "No problem at all." Ding. At this moment, the panel prompt sounded again. Ding. Congratulations to the host for changing the Summit War plot, starting the task settlement, and the rewards have been issued. 27. Ding. Reward. Fruit ability, Split and Peel. When an ability user does not make any resistance, and the host's own overall strength is higher than the opponent's, it can split the ability in demon fruit power from the ability user itself, and then strip the ability separately, and ensure that the ability user will not suffer any harm, and can re-implant it into the fruit to turn it into a devil fruit. Hiss. After seeing the ability of Split and Peel, Buggy couldn't help being startled. "I am super. Dark fruit. Is this the reward for changing the plot of Summit War? I have to say that this reward is really heaven-defying. No, it should be said that it is even more heaven-defying than Dark Fruit's ability. After stripping the devil fruit ability from the human body, can it be reinserted into a fruit so that it can directly generate a devil fruit? If the world government knows that he possesses such abilities, why not go all out to hunt him down? You must know that with this ability, Buggy can hunt and kill all kinds of ability users, and use their abilities to strengthen his subordinates. That way, it won't be long before Buggy has a terrifying army of demon fruit power that can turn the world upside down. In contrast, Kaido's man-made devil fruit is much more hip, especially with various side effects. As for the Split and Peel skills, those restrictions are nothing, at least for Buggy. With this ability, Buggy suddenly had various thoughts in his mind. For example, the first thing to change is Bullet's fruit ability. What the hell? Bullet, a person who is so strong in physique and hockey, what's the deal with eating a fruit of that combination? Even eating a zone's increase is not comparable to that of a combined fruit. Become a Godzilla and get beat up and beat up. Becoming the biggest monster, being beaten by the most venomous one belongs to that. In the theatrical version, if Bullet is replaced with Zone's devil fruit, he can blow up everyone with body skills alone. There is no need to become such a big Godzilla, not to mention wasting hockey. The speed is still slow, and the accuracy is still low. What a waste of his hockey talents. You know, that's just the strength that Bullet has honed after being released from prison for about 2 years. If he was allowed to exercise for a longer period of time and eat the right fruit, the result would be unimaginable. Various thoughts popped up in Buggy's mind at this moment. Anyway, the first one must be exchanged for a fruit for Bullet. And, this fruit Buggy already has a target. Right here at New World. Thinking of this, Buggy thought of the Momo fruit from Burndy World again. It's a pity, it would be nice to have this ability sooner. This fruit ability is actually very suitable for Bullet. But it seems to be very suitable for Jabba. Jabba is still a fruitless ability user. Tisk. It seems that my team still has a lot of room for improvement. King of the world, is it normal to have several 4 emperors under his command? It has to be said that this Split and Peel made Buggy very excited, and it is no wonder that Blackbeard would have such great ambitions after discovering dark fruit. After calming down a bit, Buggy had a headache. There are so many excellent abilities in one body, but he cannot last due to physical problems. Men can't last. This is a big problem. If it really doesn't work, when the power stabilizes, go to the Boeing Islands to exercise. Just as Buggy was thinking about the follow-up practice, Duolingo descended from the sky. The Buggy Saboti archipelago has arrived. What do we say now? Well, according to the original plan, let's go to Mr. Rayleigh first. After Buggy thought for a while, he looked at Ivankov and his party to one side and said, "Ivan Sauce, where do you play in Saboti archipelago?" "Just ahead, Iha." Ivankov excitedly made a golden rooster independent pose. "I have contacted people in our kingdom come to pick us up, then comrades in arms. Let's say goodbye here, and you must come to Kamabaka Kingdom as a guest if you have the opportunity in the future. Goodbye. Lord Shemale King, I will definitely go to the Kingdom of Kamabaka when I stabilize with Lord Buggy. Goodbye, little Ivan. Luffy and Xiao Feng held onto the side of the boat and waved at Ivankov below. After seeing off Ivankov, Buggy and the others passed the ship to Luffy's and the others' Sunshine Storm. The appearance of this large warship almost frightened Dibaru and the others who were guarding the ship. After they saw the group of people at the bow in the eye-catching straw hat, he immediately waved excitedly. Brother Luffy, it's you. Why are you back again? It shocked me. Sanji? Luffy was startled when he saw Dibalu. Hearing the words, the latter immediately yelled and pointed at himself. It's me, Dibalu. After speaking, he gave Luffy a wink. What, it's not Sanji, what are you doing here? Luffy said disappointedly. What? Are you calling me handsome? Before Dibalu finished speaking, the younger brother beside him pointed to Dibalu who was wearing a bandage and said. Of course it is to help brother Luffy guard the Sunny. Brother Luffy, look, our brother's hand was injured in fighting with those who wanted to come to the Sunny's attention. Hearing this, Luffy was taken aback for a moment, then immediately bowed to Dibaru. Ah. Thank you so much, Sunny is indebted to you for taking care of me. Seeing this, Dibaru's subordinates also smiled. Dibaru waved his hand casually and said with a smile. It should be me repaying brother Luffy's kindness, so why are you back, brother Luffy? And who are they? Oh, they are my uncle's friends, we are going to find Uncle Rayleigh. Do you know where he is? Luffy said honestly. Of course, I saw Uncle Rayleigh coating someone today, which should be resting in the shop. Dibalu waved his hand and said, Go, I'll take you there. Thank you so much then, Luffy said with a smile. With Dibaru leading the way, they quickly found Shaki Ripoff Bar, and then everyone walked in without hesitation. Squeak, the door of the bar was pushed open, and Rayleigh and Shaki, who were originally solemn, were stunned for a moment when they saw the people at the door, and then gradually smiled. Jabba. Rayleigh, Mr. Rayleigh. Vice Captain. Jabba was the first to have a bear hug with Rayleigh. The others were also very excited, and even had tears in their eyes. This group of old friends hadn't seen each other for decades, and at this moment Endao really felt like a world away. After some conversations, Rayleigh also understood Buggy's next purpose. That's to head to the New World and take over Whitebeard's territory. There must be no way to let that Blackbeard guy get ahead of him. If you want to change the plot, you have to grab Blackbeard and squeeze it to death. In this case, then leave your ship plating shop to me. Rayleigh slapped his chest cheerfully and opened his mouth. Buggy nodded, then looked at Lu Chi and said, Then Lu Chi, you guys go to replenish supplies and food for the ship first. Remember to save a little more meat. This guy Juan likes it. Juan, who hadn't appeared in several chapters, suddenly grinned and said with a smile. Mr. Buggy is so kind. On Lu Chi's side, he seemed hesitant to speak, but hesitant to speak. Buggy raised his eyebrows and said, Lu Chi, you are a big man, speak your mind straight. Seeing everyone's eyes, Lu Chi gritted his teeth and said, Master Buggy, we have no money. Huh? This time it was Buggy's turn to be confused, for one thing he really hadn't thought about it. Puff Shaki on the other side giggled. Buggy's complexion didn't change at all, and he said calmly. It doesn't matter, I will make a move, give me half a day, money is nothing. As he said that, he looked to the side of Bluno and said. Bluno, let's go, take me to Magic Valley Town. Can you get rich by going to Magic Valley Town? Everyone is puzzled, is there any treasure there? It seems that there is no one else in that place except for a few descendants of Rolando who are there to prove the existence of the Golden Country. Could it be that there really is a Golden Country there? Everyone was curious. But Buggy has already caught Bluno and directly opened any door to leave, and everything can only be seen when Buggy comes back. Master Buggy, Magic Valley Town is here, but where are we going to get money? This place is an illegal area. I never heard of any rich places when I was doing missions here. After walking out of the door, Bluno scratched his head in doubt. Don't worry, let the bullet fly for a while. Immediately, Buggy split one hand and flew directly to the tavern in Magic Valley Town with Bluno in his hand. Squeak as the door of the Buggy Tavern opened, the noisy atmosphere inside suddenly fell into an eerie silence. Almost everyone immediately set their sights on Buggy. Buggy turned a blind eye, walked straight to the boss who forgot to wipe the wine glass and smiled. Boss, I want to ask, do you know where Mont Blanc Coolie Guy lives? The owner of the tavern trembled when he heard the words, and quickly spoke, pointing in a direction. Oh, you said the diving guy. He sits on the west side of the island. You can see it if you walk along the coastline. Okay, thank you. After Buggy finished speaking, he put 1,000 Baileys on the seat, and then said to Bluno. Bluno, let's go. Ah, good Mr. Buggy. Bluno nodded and followed immediately. He had barely reached the door when he was spiraled up into the sky by Buggy's hand. After they left, there was a complete commotion in the entire tavern. Didn't I read it wrong just now, did I? It's that man. Blue hair, long ponytail, clown makeup, white suit, and can fly. Who else but a hot guy? But wasn't he still in Marineford before? Why did he cross half the Grand Line to get here? Impossible. How is this distance impossible for such a strong man? By the way, didn't you find out? He also went to find that Mont Blanc coolie guy. Didn't Bellamy also go to him 2 days ago? Have you guys forgotten that Monkey D. Luffy, who once offered a bounty of 100 million, is now 300 million, also went to find coolie guy? How could it be possible to forget? That scary guy took out Bellamy with one punch. Hey, you don't think Bellamy will suffer again this time? Hiss, everyone in the tavern gasped. Magic Valley Town, to the west. When Buggy was carrying Bluno and just flew over Coolie Guy's house, he saw that the Mountain Monkey United Army in his memory was helping a ship to transform. The modified appearance was similar to the previous modified appearance of the Mary in his memory. The head of the rooster is equipped with wings on both sides of the ship's side and a tail fin at the stern. At the same time, he also heard the conversation coming from below. Bellamy, are you sure you want to find Sky Island? Does such a place really exist? Shut up. Since the Straw Hat Boy can find it, why can't I find it? That man will not allow his dreams to be tarnished. I want to follow the route he walked to have a look. Ha ha ha, Bellamy, do you really admire the Straw Hat Kid so much? If you said it earlier, we wouldn't charge you. Stop talking nonsense. Will I, Bellamy, be short of that little money? Coolie Guy. Do you think the Straw Hat Guy really went to Sky Island? Hearing Bellamy's inquiry, almost everyone temporarily stopped what they were doing and turned to look at him. Coolie Guy didn't speak, but made a silent gesture, then pointed to the sky with a cigarette in his mouth and smiled. Boom. Boom. Boom, it's the Golden Bell. The Golden Bell is striking again. Ha ha ha. This is the second time I heard it this month, right? You guys are so lucky, Bellamy, that you were able to hear the bells of Sky Island before sailing. Sky Island bells? You. are. Hearing the words of the two apes, Bellamy also looked up subconsciously, his pupils shrank suddenly, and subconsciously exclaimed. Small. Little. Clown King? Bellamy's stuttering stuttered everyone. King Clown. Who is this? How could Bellamy be so shocked? Almost at the same time, everyone looked up following Bellamy's gaze, and the next second everyone exclaimed like Bellamy. Small. Little. Clown King. Yo. Buggy in the sky waved and smiled at them. I heard that you were going to Sky Island. Can you give me a ride? I have a gangster going to Sky Island. Seeing Buggy in the sky, the smoke from Coolie Guy's mouth fell to the ground, and he murmured. Oh, this time I really saw a remarkable person. After an hour, Buggy and Bluno boarded Bellamy's remodeled ship, and then, escorted by the mountain monkeys, came to the center of the rising current. At this time, Bellamy walked up to Buggy not far away cautiously and said. Master Buggy, have you been to Sky Island too? I haven't been there, but my little nephew, oh that's the Luffy who punched you out. Buggy said with a smile. If you haven't been there, then you haven't been there, you don't need to bring up the punchco or something. Bellamy showed an awkward yet polite smile. He, so it turns out that a man like Monkey D. Luffy is your nephew, no wonder. By the way, is Mr. Buggy going to Sky Island this time? Buggy didn't hide either. Go to Sky Island to get the gold. Those people couldn't take away the gold they gave Luffy before, so this time I'm going to take the gold away and find someone by the way. Bellamy's body froze. Boy, be my ship and take my gold? Isn't this bullying honest people? Clay Bodhisattva is also a bit angry, right? Bellamy immediately brought a bottle of wine from her companion and handed it to Buggy. That's how it is. Lord Buggy, take a sip of wine and wait for a while. Easy to say. Buggy nodded with a smile. At the same time, the Mountain Ape United Army in the distance shouted at Bellamy and the others. Master Buggy, Bellamy, the upwelling current is coming soon, so worry. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Buggy didn't sit still, but got up to watch the spectacle. 2 minutes later. I saw a huge current hundreds of meters in diameter soaring into the sky, directly rushing the ship under their feet into the sky. Ah! It really flew up. Damn it, won't the ship be destroyed and the people killed? It's horrible. I'm about to go into the clouds. Seeing the clouds above his head, Buggy used the shattering magic without any hesitation. Under the shocked eyes of everyone, a white beam of light shot up into the sky in his hand, smashing all the nearby clouds and making the ships and rising currents fly upwards faster. Rising currents are extremely fast. In just a few minutes, Buggy's observation Hawkeye has detected the island of gods, Akainu, and Gaia Island above the sea of clouds. Puff. A few seconds later, the pirate ship completely broke through the blockade of the sea of clouds and flew out, and finally landed on the sea of clouds. Oh my god. Look over there, there is actually a sky island. Simply a miracle. Ha ha ha, that man is indeed right, Sky Island really exists. Bellamy was shaking with excitement. Buggy rose to heaven with a chuckle, looked down at Bellamy and said, "As long as you believe, it exists naturally. People's dreams never end. It's been a pleasant journey, so, Bellamy, I'll go ahead." After speaking, Buggy took Bluno into the sky and flew straight to the island of gods. Seeing Buggy flying away with Bluno, Sarkis whispered in Bellamy's ear, "Bellamy, that man said he came for gold, and we." Bellamy shook her head indifferently and said with a smile, "Just take it as a tourist." At this time, he couldn't help but think of the Summit War. That man, everyone under him could fight Doflamingo back and forth. Several other top combat powers are facing Admiral directly. After that, he was actually shattered for Doflamingo. Especially seeing the picture of Doflamingo being punched by that Murloc and spitting blood. Think about that man's attitude towards his subordinates, and then think about Doflamingo's attitude towards him. It is simply worse than a dog. Tisk. Just as Bellamy was thinking about this, a crew member suddenly exclaimed, "Bellamy, someone is flying over from the sea of clouds." The other side. When Buggy and the others had just come up from the rising current, their whereabouts had been discovered by the guards of the Island of the Gods, and they had already reported to the supreme ruler of Akainu at this time. In the shrine, Gamfer and the high priest of the Shandians were pouring water on the pumpkins and chatting together, when the gate of the shrine was suddenly knocked open by the guards, who hurriedly shouted, "No, Gumfer God, Qinghai people have invaded. There is also a very powerful Qinghai native who can lead people to fly, and he seems to be coming towards us. Lord Ganford, what shall we do now? Should the guards be summoned to drive off the trespassers?" When the guard was speaking, Ganfer looked behind him solemnly, then slowly shook his head and said, "I don't think it's necessary. If you're sorry to interrupt, you can call me Buggy, he's my subordinate, Bluno." Hearing the sudden voice behind him, the guard screamed and fell to the ground in fright. Buggy nodded at him, and then smiled mischievously. "Thank you for leading the way, otherwise I would not know the location of the shrine." Swish. The guard turned pale when he heard that. Ha 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 ha. Buggy's smile became more and more wanton, and his clown's smiling face made people feel extremely unfavorable, but at this moment he blinked at the guard. "Just kidding. I detected the location of the shrine right after I arrived at Sky Island. It has nothing to do with you, don't be nervous, sir." Hearing Buggy's words, Ganfer picked up the long spear placed in the pavilion in no hurry, then winked at the high priest and motioned him to hide behind him, looked at Buggy and said, "Mr. Buggy, then what is your business at our Sky Island?" 2 purposes. Buggy is also straight to the point. 1. Take away the gold that you gave Luffy back then, but that kid couldn't take it away. 2. I want Enel's golden staff. He should have melted it into a trident by now? Well, that's it. The originally tense atmosphere suddenly eased after Buggy said that he was Luffy's uncle. With Buggy's detailed description, Ganfer and the high priest immediately believed Buggy's words, and then they. Under the strong request, Buggy had no choice but to stay and have a banquet. It is worth mentioning that Bellamy and Weber became good friends without knowing each other. It's just that the entire Bellamy pirates became restless when they saw the huge golden stick nearly 100 meters long that the Sandia people and the Sky Island people gave Buggy. But when they saw Buggy dismantling such a huge golden stick and turning it into a golden boat, the entire Bellamy pirates fell silent. Even gold can be easily decomposed, so killing them is not an easy task. After holding a banquet at the invitation of Ganford, Buggy did not take their gold worth at least tens of billions in vain, but simply told the big events that happened in Qinghai in recent years. One time. Then I told them the cultivation method of observation Hawkeye and the cultivation method of armament Hawkeye. This made Ganfer and the others very grateful, and then they found a batch of gold from nowhere and gave it to Buggy. Naturally, Ba Jin would not refuse anyone who came. This made Bellamy's mouth water with envy, but he dared not say that he had other thoughts. Especially after Buggy told them the two-color hockey cultivation method last night, this made Bellamy admire him even more. Naturally, it is inevitable to fight against each other when teaching methods. Then Bellamy and the others understood the gap between them in the top powerhouses. They couldn't even beat Bluno and were beaten bloody. Bluno made them feel the powerlessness that Luffy felt when they met CP9 for the first time and were beaten by them. Early the next morning, Buggy said goodbye to Gamfort and Bellamy. After Bluno held Enel's golden trident for a few minutes, he opened his eyes and smiled at Buggy. Lord Buggy, I have noticed the location of the owner of this golden trident. It should be as you said, he may be in the direction of Burka next door. Gamfer and the others were shocked when they learned of Buggy's true purpose. Especially knowing that Enel not only did not die, but returned to Sky Island Burka, it made them even more frightened. Because they were afraid of Enel going back and returning. After seeing their looks, Buggy smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry, everyone. I'm going this time to take Enel away. From now on, don't worry about him coming back." "Then please Mr. Buggy." Gamfor sincerely thanked Buggy. Buggy laughed, pointed to the huge golden spaceship and said with a smile, "I should thank you all. Then, everyone will meet again in the future." After finishing speaking, Buggy controlled the huge gold flying boat and approached the space door opened by Bluno. Crunch. As the door of space closed, Ganfer wrote this, the members of the Bellamy Pirates, who seemed to be relieved, said doubtfully, "Everyone, I see that you are so nervous. Is that Mr. Buggy a very important figure in Qinghai? It's more than a big shot." Hearing his words, Bellamy and the others smiled wryly, and then told Ganfort the details. After learning about the whole story of the Summit War, Ganfort and the others felt shocked even though they didn't understand it. Buggy came directly to Burka through the gate of space. When Buggy just walked out from the inside and saw the scene in front of him, he was so shocked that he almost wondered if his eyes were wrong. That Enel is farming? Shocked Buggy all year long. In fact, after seeing the scene in front of him, Buggy couldn't help being shocked. After all, Enel's character, Buggy, how could an old sea fan not know about it? But the Enel in the scene ahead is really far from the self-proclaimed god in his impression. In front of the hut, an open space was cleared out. On the open space was a piece of land less than 1 mu. At this time, the land was full of various fruits and vegetables. Ai Lu was wearing a white cloth scarf and a set of linen short-sleeved shorts, and was watering the pumpkins with an iron bucket. The reclusive version of Thanos, right? This made the corner of Buggy's mouth twitch slightly. Master Buggy, wouldn't that person be the one you mentioned before, the self-proclaimed god who wants to fly into the universe? Bluno scratched the bull's horns, feeling a little puzzled for a while. He was right. Buggy is also a little dumbfounded. I didn't expect that Enel to be pulled like this. Was he defeated by that guy Luffy, or was he overwhelmed by anger? In fact, after seeing the scene in front of him, Buggy couldn't help being shocked. Because the Enel in the scene ahead is really far from the self-proclaimed god in his impression. I saw a 2-story hut made of clouds between a pile of collapsed and broken houses in front of me. In front of the hut, an open space was cleared out. On the open space was a piece of land less than 1 mu. At this time, the land was full of various fruits and vegetables. The standout is the hard Sky Island pumpkin drink. Ai Lu was wearing a white cloth towel on his head and a set of flaxen short-sleeved shorts, holding an iron bucket and watering the south. The reclusive version of Thanos, right? This feeling of déjà vu made Buggy's mouth twitch. The most noticeable thing is actually the huge Ark proverb, parked not far from the ruins. At this time, the Ark proverb has been covered with countless green vines, like a green vine cage. If it weren't for the gold that shone with golden light in the sun, it would be really difficult to identify for a while. Master Buggy, isn't that person the one you mentioned earlier, the self-proclaimed god who wants to fly into the universe? Bluno scratched the bull's horns, feeling a little puzzled for a while. He was right. Buggy is also a little dumbfounded. I didn't expect that Enel to be pulled like this. Was he beaten by that guy Luffy, or was he stunned? The two of them didn't intend to restrain their voices. Enel naturally noticed them very quickly. Seeing 2 strangers suddenly appear not far from his residence, Enel was also puzzled. Who are you waiting for? Come here just to find you. Buggy cuts to the chase. You said that you were completely desperate after being beaten up by someone fat, and you didn't even yearn for the infinite land. So, is this the life you yearn for? Straw Hat Luffy. The corners of Enel's eyes twitched, and he immediately thought of the guy who couldn't die from the 170 shock. This made his original recluse heart agitated again. The DNA has moved, yes. No way, he can understand that Thunderfruit's lightning is useless to rubber, but why is it useless to generate heat from lightning? Even if all of this can be understood, then why can't I avoid the attack of someone who doesn't even know the observation Haki? Outrageous. Are you polite since the world is so unreasonable? Then Enel said to open it directly. It's better to go home and farm than to go to the infinite land. Who the hell are you guys? Enel frowned slightly. I'm the uncle of the Straw Hat Luffy who beat you up. I heard that you can't shock people to death, so I came to see. Buggy showed a smirk. Originally, Enel felt his blood pressure surge when he heard the Straw Hat Luffy. Now when he heard the other party say that his Thunderbolt can't kill anyone, and he came to Sky Island to take a look, Enel directly jumped at him, and couldn't hold back his anger anymore. He was not the kind of person who would endure anger. Naturally, he was hit by Buggy twice casually. You guy. I now understand that kid is rubber and does not conduct electricity, but he is the only devil fruit in the world. The more Enel talked, the more the electric lights around him became more and more shining. At the end of the talk, there was only a Zila electric light flashing in the air. He had already appeared in front of Buggy, and said with a sneer. What right do you have? You want to blaspheme the dignity of God? Court death. So fast. Bluno, who didn't care about it at first, was startled suddenly and subconsciously exhaled. It's almost here. It seems that Enel hasn't seen people shocked for a long time, and suddenly he smiled triumphantly, and his figure flashed, Zilazila, in front, back, left, and right of Buggy, and then began to enter the mode of laughing in the middle too. Ha 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 ha, stupid humans, why do you want to offend the gods? Could it be that you can't even see the shadow of God? In order to punish you for your previous rudeness, I decided to let you feel the pain first. Discharge. 20 million volts. While speaking, Enel appeared in front of Buggy in a flash again, raised his blue-white finger and pointed towards his chest. Scoff. In the next moment, a huge lightning pillar passed through Buggy's body. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, Enel laughed wildly, but his laughter stopped abruptly in the next moment. Because Buggy standing in front of him looked at him with a mocking smile as if he was okay. Huh. You really have some strength, no wonder you dare to challenge God. But, I won't stay. Enel sneered. His body flickered hundreds of meters away again, but just as he was about to raise his hand to discharge the discharge in the middle of his words, he saw the man appear in front of him again. This surprised Enel. 3. How can it be? Enel couldn't believe that Buggy could keep up with him. In fact, it is really impossible for Buggy to keep up with Enel's speed. After all, it is lightning and light. This kind of near teleportation speed is okay once or twice, but after many times, it can't keep up at all. The reason why Buggy can clearly keep up with Enel's pace is naturally observation Hawkeye who can predict the future. With this ability, no matter how Enel blinks or evades next, it is impossible to escape Buggy's knowledgeable capture. Unless Enel's observation Hawkeye is better than Buggy. But there are not many people in this world who want to beat Buggy in observation Hawkeye. At least not currently with Enel. Kyla. Then Enel began to keep trying to get rid of Buggy, but no matter how he teleported and flickered, he was still accurately captured by Buggy, and he followed closely behind him. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Enel felt like he was going crazy. First a Straw Hat Luffy who is not afraid of electricity, and now a weirdo who is as fast as him. For a moment, he thought he might be right in retiring. But Enel still didn't give up. After another flash, he stood still and just stared at Buggy with gritted teeth. Just when Buggy thought he was completely screwed, Enel sneered and said, Your speed is very fast, you must have eaten some devil fruit with similar speed, right? No wonder you dare to come here to find me. But what's the use of your speed? I am Thunderbolt, I am invincible, any attack is to me, vomit. Boom. Before Enel finished speaking, Buggy punched him directly in the stomach. The force made him open his mouth wide and vomit a mouthful of sour water. His eyeballs were almost protruding, and he looked at Buggy in disbelief. One strike. With just one blow, this man completely lost his resistance. Straw Hat Luffy's uncle. What kind of monsters is this family? But. It's God. Enel was drooling and screaming hysterically, looking broken. He's devastated. A god toyed with Blueno stretched out his palm to make up for the knife. Under Captain Buggy, there are at least 5 people who can play with you, and there are countless people who can defeat you in New World. 5 more? Countless. Who do you think lousy is? Vomit. Enel was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of acid water, clutching his stomach and grabbing the ground with his head. Enel's mentality completely collapsed. He was even a little desperate. Could it be that he was just a waste? How can anyone bully themselves? At this moment, out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly found a hand reaching out to him. Subconsciously looking up, I saw the man who casually beat himself up, with his back to the light, looking at him with a warm smile, and stretched out a hand to him. Enel, are you willing? Your talents should not be buried here. You don't know how talented you are. In my opinion, as long as you master the systematic cultivation methods, yours may not be weaker than mine. Don't you want to see a wider infinite land? If you still have the ambition and dignity to be a god, then come with me. From now on, you will be called Enel of God, the right-hand man of the king of the world. Who else can be worthy of you besides God? At this moment Enel saw the light. Perhaps it was the appearance of light that made Enel subconsciously proud. Of course, as a god, I will be invincible in the future. If that's the case, why don't you become my side? Snapped. Before the word hand behind Enel could be finished, Buggy directly slapped Enel on the head with a slap attached to emission, slapping half of his body into the clouds. It was directly photographed until it passed out, making Enel stand upside down in the courtyard. Immediately, Buggy's understatement sounded. Okay. Blueno writes down the coordinates and drags him away. I'll pack the Arc Proverbs and leave this place. A few minutes later, Buggy manipulated the large clouds and dragged Arc Proverbs and a golden boat into the space door opened by Blueno. Opposite the door of space, Rayleigh and his group who were chatting in the dock were shocked at first when they saw a huge door of space suddenly appearing on the sea ahead, and then they were even more shocked. It's really Arc Proverbs and that golden boat that are too eye-catching. So much so that they automatically ignored Buggy and Blueno, who stepped on the moonwalk and dragged Enel out. Swish swish swish. Almost in an instant, Rayleigh and his group, who were chatting on the shore of the dock, jumped onto the golden boat, all tisk tisk in surprise. Hiss. This boat is not made of gold, is it? Don't be silly, Duolingo. How much is this worth if it's all gold? Wait. It seems to be made of all gold. Hiss. I suddenly don't want to give you free coding. I said, Lao Lei, you are not being kind. Our decades of friendship, love for relatives and friends, Brother Yuding is nothing more than that. That's right, so I have to pay more. Don't overdo it. Old Lei, you look too ugly. After a commotion from the crowd, they all sat on the Arc Proverbs and began to focus on Enel, who was unconscious on the ground. Crash Lu Chi directly poured a basin of ice water on Enel. This made Enel shiver and slowly opened his eyes. After seeing dozens of pairs of malicious eyes in front of him, he subconsciously flashed lightning all over his body, and immediately teleported tens of meters away. This is Thunderfruit? Guys, Buggy you're looking for. Here comes a great guy. The Thunderfruit that claims to be the strongest Logia. Let me try this guy's orange first. Wait, bullet, don't, boom. Vomit. Call out boom. Before Buggy could finish his words, Enel was directly blown away by Bullet with a shaved flash and a high-level armament hockey punch, which made him vomit acid water again, and his whole body went straight. Then it was hammered and affixed to the golden statue of the Arc motto. Rayleigh. Jabba. 11 Everyone. Bullet looked down at the straight hands, making him look at Buggy in a daze for a while and said, Buggy, have I actually improved in strength? The Admiral level Logia fruit was knocked out by my punch? Admiral ass. Buggy said dumbfoundingly. This guy is a guy who eats thunderfruit and knows a little bit about it, but he doesn't have much knowledge. His knowledge level is not too low, maybe even better than yours. But this guy has some problems with his mentality now, and I brought him back to prepare to train him well. Hearing Buggy's words, everyone suddenly realized. Crash Lu Chi was very skilled and poured a basin of ice water on Enel's head. Huh. Who am I? Where am I? Enel feebly opened his eyes. Obviously befooled. After he saw the familiar clown makeup, he immediately raised his hand and said, Don't fight, don't fight. I will join you and become your right and left hand, can't you? Before Buggy could speak, Jabba on the other side was not happy, and walked up to Enel with the breathtaking armament hockey, grinning wide, revealing a mouthful. White Fang said, Discharge boy, you're going to be Buggy's right-hand man, have you ever asked me? Wait until you win bullet, and then think about it. Saying that, Jabba raised his finger and pointed to the bullet on the side. The latter turned his head cooperatively and bared his teeth at Enel. Hiss. Seeing this ghost-like face, Enel shivered subconsciously, and he still remembered it clearly. It was this guy who knocked himself out with a punch before. Thunderfruit should be the power of the gods. Why does it feel like anyone can hit him? Obviously in a Payado, when he was in Burka, he stood there and let thousands of people beat him, and it didn't matter at all. Why? Enel's eyes were full of confusion. Seeing through his thoughts, Rayleigh on the side took a sip of wine and laughed loudly. Enel, right? Well, so you're from Burka? No wonder then. Sky Island doesn't have the concept of armed color 2.1 hockey, so it's normal that you don't know that armament hockey is the nemesis of devil fruit. Your ability is called Logia Devil Fruit in Qinghai, and the one you ate is undoubtedly the strongest, Thunder Fruit, among the Logia Devil Fruits. Wrong. But both your fruit development ability and your body cultivation are too poor. Otherwise, with Logia's resistance to beatings, it is impossible for anyone who has exercised to be stunned by Bullet's blow. If you follow Buggy to New World like this, I am afraid that there will still not be a few people who can beat you. How about this? I will take Luffy to start practicing in a few days, so you can come too. Quote. Hearing Rayleigh's words, Enel looked at him blankly. Snapped. Buggy on one side went up and slapped Enel on the head, hitting him straight to the street, and scolded with a smile. Don't hurry to thank Mr. Rayleigh, you can get the teaching of his old man, you are lucky to step on shit. Although Enel is a bit out of secondary school, he is at least much smarter than Luffy. From the tone of the man who recruited him, he could hear the respect the man had for the old man. Even other people. Especially when I heard that this old man actually wants to teach that fellow Straw Hat Luffy. Thinking of this, Enel felt his DNA move again. Immediately, he stood up and bowed to Rayleigh. Mr. Rayleigh after that. Rayleigh smiled and waved. It's destined that I can't teach you for too long, and I heard from Buggy that your knowledge is not weaker than Bullet. It seems that your foundation is very good and you just need to teach a little bit. Before Enel could speak, Buggy smiled and said. Mr. Rayleigh, please. Ha ha ha. Why do we have to be so polite? Seeing that you have a junior with such potential on board, I'm too happy. Rayleigh took another sip of his drink happily. After solving Enel's matter, Buggy and the others began to deal with the ship arc proverbs. After thinking for a while, Buggy came up with a solution. First let Bluno put this arc proverb on Moria's Devil's Spinnaker, and wait until they find a site in New World to settle down and then send the Devil's Spinnaker over through the space gate. Moria was captured by Sunbel during the Summit War. In order to keep it secret, Buggy has been hiding him in a prison among the warships. For this guy, Buggy can't think of any effect for the time being, so I gave it away first. However, his Devil's Triangle sail is a very good place, which can just become the rear base of his power base. With Bluno's space gate, they can go to the Devil's Spinnaker to trim at any time. For this reason, Buggy also specially spent half a day to use decomposition control to repair the buildings that were collapsed by Luffy and Moria's battle. In addition, the Devil's Sea area where the Devil's Spinnaker is located is very hidden. A perfect rear base. Then Buggy arranged for the three teams to exchange some of the gold for some needed cash. Basically, the gold amount of 1 billion Pele for each team. Naturally, he was in a group with Khalifa, the only beauty in the team. In addition, Jabba led a group, and Bullet led a group, and went to 3 directions to exchange for gold. Then purchase some daily necessities, which is basically complete. Just now they lack a cook on board, not perfect. However, there are already candidates for the chef, and even the target has been locked on the opponent through the power of the Whitebeard team. Now he is cooking for ordinary people on Whitebeard's land to earn a living. According to the memory of Buggy in the previous life, the chef also had a daughter named Lily Ernst Mark who ate the mini-fruit. It's just that in this life, the mini-fruit capable user didn't die in the Eternal Hell prisoner fight, so she might not be able to eat the mini-fruit. That's right, Buggy's next recruiting target is the giant chef known as Pirate Hero, Pansfree, with a bounty of 320 million Baileys. Because he is keen to snatch food from the government, marine, and pirates to cook for those who are hungry, especially for ordinary people who often live in hardship in the Whitebeard land, he was rewarded by the world government. Ba 24 Key will not let such a man go, especially with the San Juan Wolf in his team. With Pansfree, the so-called heavenly cuisine, giant chef on board, there is no doubt that Buggy's food problem has been completely solved. But before that, Buggy still has to go to the Fishman Island first, make this place his own, and then invite Jinbei to board the boat. If there is no accident, after Jinbei boards the ship, he can get another reward for plot change. Buggy is thinking about these things as he walks, and Khalifa will hand over the purchase of supplies. At this time, there were already a dozen guys lying behind them who wanted to snatch Bailey from them. These are the people who kept following after they came out of the Tesoro gold exchange. Buggy didn't care about it at all, and just let Khalifa handle it. Enough for Khalifa to handle these guys now. After the baptism of the Summit War, everyone in the CP9 team has undergone some transformation and their strength is growing steadily. After they learn the two-color hockey, their strength will have a qualitative leap. Because of mastering the 6 styles, armed color and observation hockey are actually not too difficult for them. After all, armed color is an extension of iron body, and knowledge color is also an extension of paper arts. As long as they master the cultivation method and continue to exercise for a long time, these supermen who have mastered the 6 forms of physical fitness will soon be able to master the two-color hockey. These days, not only Lu Qi and the others are learning the two-color hockey, Bullet and the others are actually also learning from Lu Qi about the 6 styles and the 6 King Spear. You must know that although they have mastered the 2 skills of Shaved and Moonwalk, there are also skills such as Tempest Kick, Finger Pistol, Life Return, and even the 6 King's Spear, which are government secret skills. They didn't have the chance to master it before, but now that they have Lu Qi, a genius of the 6 styles, they have the opportunity to improve their strength, and they will naturally not let it go. It is precisely because of this reason that Lu Qi and the others quickly integrated into the team and got along very well. Coupled with the ability of Blue Nose Spacegate, they can go to an uninhabited desert island for training at any time, without any estimation at all. Even Juan joined them. It can be said that so far, the team divisions are extremely harmonious, and the prototype of my 4 Emperors group has also begun to see scale. Sea, land and air teams have gradually formed. Sky has Bullet and Enel. There are Sunbel and Jinbei in the sea. The land battle was led by Juan. Just when Buggy was thinking about this, he suddenly felt the noisy atmosphere around him suddenly quiet down. At the same time, he noticed that someone pulled the corner of his clothes. Turning around subconsciously, I saw Khalifa with a pale face tugging at the hem of his clothes, a little at a loss. Khalifa. What's the matter? Buggy frowned, thinking that something went wrong in the past 2 days. Just at this moment, a sharp and excited voice suddenly came from the front. I want that woman. She defeated so many people by herself, and she is much stronger than you trash. I want her to be my 50th wife. Yes. Lord Charmarco. Hurry up and grab that woman for me. But. The man next to that woman. What happened to that man? Kill me. Many civilians who were kneeling on the ground and shivering quietly raised their heads when they heard the words. Immediately, they saw a handsome man in a white suit, a blue ponytail and clown makeup standing opposite the Celestial Dragons group, and a woman with blonde hair in a short suit and black silk high heels. The woman's face was pale and terrified, but the man's face was calm, and even the corner of his mouth raised a curve, looking at Tianlong opposite him playfully. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. This face is too familiar. It's a hot man. King Clown, Buggy, hiss. Many people inhaled the bubbles from Sabodi lightly, and the attributes of lazy people were awakened immediately. Here's a good show to watch. Bah. Master Buggy. Yes, it's Celestial Dragons. Khalifa stuttered. Although they have broken away from the CP organization now, there is no doubt that the CP organization has not been able to completely get rid of the things they have instilled in the past 10 years. For them, Celestial Dragons are supreme, absolutely. That's why Khalifa was so terrified after seeing the Celestial Dragons at this moment. However, after hearing her words, Buggy became more and more excited inside. I'm coming. Finally coming? Chance to beat Celestial Dragons. A must-have cupholder for every traveler. It seems that I have finally waited for such an opportunity. Let Khalifa accompany me to go shopping these few days, not for anything else, just to wait for an opportunity. Wait for your chance to smash the Celestial Dragons. Untouchable. You don't kneel down when you see this god. By the way, it's so right. Buggy gradually became excited. The Celestial Dragons on the opposite side saw that the clown on the opposite side saw that he not only knelt but showed that mocking smile, which made him very angry. Those agents around are dogs of Celestial Dragons, but they are not stupid. The man in front of him showed up at Summit War 2 days ago. First defeat Hawkeye, then fight Kizaru, and finally fight against Marshal Sengoku and still have the upper hand. and in Marine always failed to rescue the son of the One Piece. Isn't it no different from rushing forward to such a terrifying person? But the roar of the master is still in my ears. Why are you still hesitating? If you dare not listen to me, then go to hell. Charmarco Saint noticed that an agent was hesitating, but without the slightest hesitation, he took out a gun and shot the agent in the head. Boom. In this unprepared situation, the agent was naturally headshot. Brains spilled all over the floor. Ah! The surrounding people screamed in fright when they saw this scene, but they immediately covered their mouths and knocked their heads on the ground tightly, for fear of being seen by the Fulong people. Kill. When the dozen or so agents saw this scene, they could only grit their teeth while pulling out their guns and shooting at Buggy, while rushing towards him. Buggy didn't show any sympathy for these agents. He raised his hand blankly, and several arm-thick beams of light shot straight out. Puff puff. As soon as these agents took a few steps, their chests were directly penetrated by white light, and then they were smashed into dust. Hiss. The occurrence of this scene made the pirates who were observing in the dark, and the supernovas who hadn't left all gasp. Hey, isn't it? Do you really dare to do it? What's so strange about that man daring to do it? What scares me is his ability. Decompose people directly. Is this the terrifying power of chop fruit after awakening? It's terrible. It seems that the new world will be surging again soon. While the pirates who were secretly watching were whispering, the celestial dragons also recovered from the shock. You untouchable, how dare you resist? Saint Charmarco pointed at Buggy angrily and cursed. Blah blah. Buggy didn't realize it. He took a few meters at a step, soared into the air, and within a breath, he came to Saint Charmarco. Hey, isn't it? Could it be? If this continues, Admiral will come again. Hey, I'm stupid, run away. Snapped. While everyone was covering their mouths, Buggy slapped Saint Charmarco's mask without hesitation, smashed the mask easily, and slapped half of Saint Charmarco's face until it swelled up. Puff. With this slap, he who was sitting on the slave's back was directly thrown 2 or 3 meters away. Saint Charmarco spit out a mouthful of blood and half of his teeth. Saint Charmarco, who was lying on the ground, hadn't reacted yet. It wasn't until the severe pain in his mouth that he came back to his senses. He covered his face with one hand, pointed at Buggy with a trembling hand, and roared ferociously. You untouchable, dare to rebel against God. I am going to kill you. No, I want to torture you. I want you to watch that woman be played to death. Just wait for me, a Marine Admiral will come over soon. Die untouchables. Boom, boom, boom. Buggy walked in the air, as if there were steps under his feet, and he walked up to the sky above Saint Charmarco with a playful smile and looked down at him. There was a curve on the clown's makeup, and then the smile gradually widened. Admiral? Ha 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 ha. One Admiral is not enough to kill me. You have to call Marine, Admiral, Sengoku and Garp and maybe it will work. But you know what? Even if they come, what can I do? What the F*K celestial dragons, labor is fighting celestial dragons. Snapped. Ah. Untouchables, it's called Admiral. Snapped. Ah. You scream. Even if you scream, no one will come to rescue you. Celestial dragons? God? Native chicken wagon. Hee ha 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 ha. For a moment, only the sound of Buggy standing in the air and laughing maniacally remained in the number 1 mangrove area. Countless people who followed this scene were silent. This clown Buggy is crazier than that Straw Hat kid. Simply incredible. Does the world government really allow such a powerful character to exist? But at the moment they didn't have the slightest resentment. Looking at the Saint Charmarco who has been stunned on the ground in the distance, and whose face is swollen like a pig's head, countless people suddenly feel a kind of joy in their hearts at this moment. It turns out that celestial dragons will scream, cry, and fall into a coma when they are beaten. It turns out that the so-called God is really what the man said, but it's just a chicken wag. Click. At this moment, a filter was broken in the hearts of everyone watching 010 to this scene. At the same time a new seed begins to sprout in their hearts. Although that man is gone, his majestic figure still remains in the hearts of everyone in Sabodi Archipelago. Especially when this man left, he even took celestial dragons with him. Watch as the celestial dragons, tied to a cross, float behind the man like dead dogs. Just like that, he paraded through the downtown all the way, staring at everyone in a daze, until finally his figure disappeared into the sight of everyone in Sabodi Archipelago, and they realized it. Celestial dragons were paraded in the streets. Hiss, Marineford, Marine Marshal's office. Blue blue blue. What? You said that celestial dragons was beaten up and paraded through the streets. Damn it, what audacious fellow. Sengoku grabbed the phone bug and roared. The Clown King Buggy. That's all right. Sengoku hangs up the phone calmly. Then he looked at Garp, who was sitting in the office with a blank expression and his eyes moved. Aokiji, who is wearing a blindfold, looks away again. Akainu, who was bundled into rice dumplings, moved his eyes again. Kizaru, who cuts nails. It's up to you. Golden Flash, please take a walk. Sengoku spoke blankly. Kizaru, who lowered his head and cut his nails, froze, pouted and said. Marshal Sengoku, please spare me. With this salary, let me die? Can't it be? Kizaru, you bastard. Sengoku was angry from the heart. Then you ask 5 elders to ask the new marshal to give you a salary increase. The labor and management have already handed in their resignations. It's none of my business. Do you want me to go? Do you love to go or not? Puff. Garp, who was picking his nose, suddenly couldn't help laughing. For a while, the office was filled with cheerful air. Half an hour later. Sabodi Archipelago. Sir, Kizaru Admiral is here, with the sound of exclamation sounded. Call out. In a flash of gold, Kizaru appears. He appeared in the number 1 area where Saint Charmarco was beaten up before. Those pirates who hadn't gone far were so frightened that their hearts trembled when they saw Kizaru, and hated themselves why they didn't leave sooner. However, what happened next left everyone dumbfounded. Kizaru in midair glanced at Marine below and said. Where's the Clown King? Sir, he has been gone for an hour, and Saint Charmarco has been taken away by him. Not here? That's okay. Let's say goodbye. Call out. With a flash of golden light, Huang exited the stage. Marine. Pirates. No, boss, even if you want to be perfunctory, don't be so perfunctory. The celestial dragons have been captured. Now how to do? Everyone was dumbfounded. Why did Admiral come and leave within a minute? Shaki Rayleigh's private dock. At this time, Rayleigh, Jabba, Shaki, Bullet, Crocodile and others all looked at the pig-headed man who was tied to the cross-stake floating behind Buggy with dazed and shocked faces. Gudong, after being quiet for a while, the sound of swallowing saliva from Lu Chi and other CP9s came from the side. Hiss. If I'm not mistaken, these guys are celestial dragons. Shocked. Shaki quickly took a deep drag on his cigarette to suppress his shock. Absolutely. Rayleigh said after 2 seconds of silence. Jabba looked at Charmarco Street, then at Buggy, then smiled wryly and said. Buggy, it seems we underestimated your guts. What do you guys want to do with the celestial dragons here? The road to becoming a king is doomed to countless bones. Buggy's smile is getting colder. In that case, let this celestial dragons be the first stepping stone of my kingly foundation. Hiss. Hearing Buggy's words, Lu Chi and the others gasped. Bullet grinned and looked at Buggy and said, Buggy, you are crazier than me. Ha ha ha. But yes, if you don't even have the guts, why would you ask me, Bullet, to do things for you? Tell me about your next plan. I'm happy to be the king's forerunner. Crocodile's eyes were full of excitement. Being able to witness the legend by the side of a man like you, it seems that I have chosen the right path. Eh? What are celestial dragons? Can't they be eaten? Juan quietly moved his head, and said in a very loud voice. Ah. Khalifa was different from Luffy and the others at this time. She had already calmed down on the way back. Seeing their appearance now, she could not help but support her forehead and said. You guys are all lunatics. No, we are normal people. In the corner, Mr. 3 and Xiao Feng embraced each other in horror. Ha 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 ha. Rayleigh and the others burst out laughing. Little Buggy is an amazing guy, Shaki chuckled. So, what do you want to do with these celestial dragons? If you need anything, I can help. Swish. At this time, the others also turned their attention to Buggy, and they wanted to know what Buggy wanted to do with the celestial dragons. Doesn't Marine like executions? Buggy's big mouth with scarlet clown makeup pulled upward slightly. Hearing Buggy's words, everyone's eyes widened. Could it be? No way? Buggy, you bastard. Jabba and the others looked at Buggy in disbelief. What's wrong? Buggy shrugged. Celestial dragons are people too. When people are killed, they die. I'd love to see how long the celestial dragons can stay on the altar if they're executed on the execution stand, live on world broadcast. That's right. My first step on the summit is to pull the celestial dragons down from the altar. Everyone. Having said that, Buggy paused, looked around the crowd, and showed a wanton and insolent smile. Do you dare to join me and fight against the world? Wow. As soon as Buggy's words came out, there was an uproar among the people present. Even Sunbel, who had been lying in the water on the bank, jumped onto the bank directly. At this moment, the vigor exuded by Buggy made them see the figure of the man. He is not Roger. Rather, Rocks. In this way, they still feel a rush of blood rushing to their hearts at this time. Why don't you dare? Bullet was the first to growl. He was surrounded by Hawkeye, and every muscle in his body was trembling with excitement. Why don't you dare? Why don't you dare? Why don't you dare? Almost after Bullet finished his low growl, Jabba and the others also recovered from the shock, and they all blushed and roared with thick necks. The eyes in Shocky's mouth next to him were so shocked that they fell to the ground. Call. Rayleigh also let out a long breath of surprise. Buggy. In terms of a single round of courage, you have surpassed that guy Roger. You did something he never dared to do from the beginning to the end. Having said that, Rayleigh paused, and suddenly changed his tone and said in a deep voice. But, you know what your actions mean, right? Killing God. Fight against the world. Such characters have appeared before. His name is Rox D. Zebek. But now he has disappeared in the long river of history. You should understand this point. Backquote. Rayleigh's words shocked everyone. The group of people here can be said to have experienced that era. It can even be said that the era of the Rocks was ended by their Roger pirates. Now that Rayleigh said this, Buggy's behavior is really a bit like Rocks. Feeling the eyes of everyone on him, Buggy smiled disdainfully. Seeing this, Rayleigh said in surprise, Buggy, what do you do for hair selection? I laughed at that Rocks, who lacked resourcefulness and wisdom, and was not strict with his subordinates. Apart from bravery, there was only cruelty left. Those who do not plan for the overall situation are not enough to plan for a region, and those who do not plan for the eternity are not enough to plan for a moment. This is the fruit of his Rock's downfall. Buggy smiled proudly. He wants to be the king of the world just because of his insignificance? Unless he possesses the power above this dimension and can break all laws with one force, otherwise everything is empty talk. But if he has power above this dimension, why would his subordinates charge for him in the battle of the Valley of the Gods? Insufficient strength, no planning. Self-awareness is not clear, and if the strength is not enough, they want to break the rules of the world. How dare you go against the world just like that? No difference to me. As soon as Buggy's words came out, everyone present fell into deep thought. I have to say that Buggy's summary of Rocks is very good, and even some of the words in the words can be said to hit the nail on the head. As long as Rocks can make up for half of what Buggy said, I am afraid that the battle in the Valley of the Gods was really hard to say. So Buggy, you are fully prepared? Rayleigh looked at Buggy in surprise. 10 steps and 1 calculation have always been my style. Buggy chuckled, his expression full of confidence. First of all, I have nothing for the time being that threatens the fundamentals of world government. Second, my team is strong enough. Just 1 or 2 Marine admirals is not a threat to me at all. To fight with my team, world government must at least let Garp take the lead, with 3 admirals as assistants, in order to achieve the possibility of eliminating me. But if this is the case, it is equivalent to a full-scale war. If there is a full-scale war, I will not play positional warfare with the world government at all. The enemy retreats and advances, the enemy camps and we harass, the enemy is tired and we attack, the enemy retreats and we pursue. With Blueno's ability, what does Marine have to play with me? In the end, it is impossible for the world government to turn against me because of 1 celestial dragons. At most, it will send 1 or 2 reasons to make a show in the future. That's exactly what I was aiming for. Hiss. Shaki also understood Buggy's intentions and admired Buggy's ingenious plan. Little Buggy, you not only have to step on the celestial dragons, but you also have to step on the Marine to reach the top of the new world. Being emperor is not my will. Buggy chuckled. Naturally he didn't tell all of his plans. The real backer is the remarks made on the day Celestial Dragons was executed. By then, neither the Marine nor the world government will have enough time to respond. Even if they send 3 admirals, it won't help. If you want to destroy their pirate group with all your strength, you must, as he said, send out all the combat power of the car from the beginning. And without much fanfare for Buggy to discover. Otherwise, he would be stupid to face such a terrifying team. All he needs to do now is to inform the team members of part of the plan, so that they can have confidence and rest assured of him. After the execution of the Celestial Dragons, all of this team will be truly bound together. That way, Buggy will be able to tell the whole story about his plan. It can be said that all the team members, including Jabba, have been encouraged by him, and they all look at him eagerly. Then when will we start broadcasting the execution? Sunbel scratched the fins above his head and looked at Buggy expectantly. For celestial dragons most disgusted, their murlocs are definitely one of them. After all, it was the celestial dragons who started the murloc slave movement. Coupled with the subsequent Princess Otahime incident and the Fisher Tiger incident, they all made the murlocs even more disgusted with celestial dragons. Snapped. Buggy snapped his fingers and laughed. Don't worry, before that, we have to go to the Fishman Island first. This place used to be Whitebeard's turf. Now that Whitebeard is dead, the Whitebeard pirates will basically face a large number of attrition. In this case, it's only fitting that we, the Buggy pirates, take over Whitebeard's territory. I had a conversation with Margot before he left. As the actual helm of the Whitebeard pirates today, he also agreed to my plan. Hearing Buggy's words, Jabba's eyes flashed and said, Margot didn't give up the territory so easily, did he? Right. Buggy smiled and said, he hopes that I can maintain the old rules of the Whitebeard pirates site, not to treat and abuse the site personnel of my affiliated forces, and not let the peace guarded by Whitebeard be destroyed. You agreed? Crocodile looked at Buggy in surprise. Why didn't I say yes? Buggy looked at him strangely. Are we short of money? Crocodile took a look at the golden ship that flashed and blinded him, and that almost half of the big ship was made of gold. Arc Proverbs. The amount of gold alone might not be less than tens of billions of Bailey. So, Crocodile didn't speak. So, why do we have to increase the taxes of those affiliated forces? Buggy holds up a finger. As long as we can keep the peace going, even if we only collect 10% of the tax, we will have more money than we can spend. How is this possible? Crocodile said in shock. I used to be a man who managed half of the country. Captain Buggy, don't try to fool me. You call it management? Buggy gave him a disdainful look. Alabasta is going bankrupt for you. Having the best infrastructure results and being able to play the country like that, you are also a talent, and you are ashamed to say that you have managed half of the country. What about your face? You have to understand that peace will attract people. Buggy's words are like a knife. One stroke poked on Lao Sha's heart. Crocodile blushed with embarrassment at Buggy's rebuke. Ha ha ha! The entire Buggy pirates burst into laughter when they saw this, and the whole dock exuded a happy atmosphere for a while. After the fun is over, Buggy and the others are ready to go to the Fishman Island. The Fishman Island is Buggy's first and most important stop on his way to New World. Poseidon. This is why Buggy must accept the Fishman Island. The whole plan has been planned in Buggy's mind. Gululu as the coded warship began to descend, Buggy and his party also waved goodbye to Rayleigh and Suan Chi. After standing for a long time, Shaki suddenly said, You, a former trainee crew member, are such an amazing guy. Between the words, the spirit of a hero is fully revealed. On this point alone, even the original rocks are inferior to him. Yes. Rayleigh narrowed his eyes slightly and murmured. Maybe it's blue out of blue and better than blue. Buggy, let me see where your end is. Half a day later, the seabed. Buggy and others were led by Sunbel, and the warship arrived at the Fishman Island under 10,000 meters without any disturbance. The sunlight brought by the giant tree eve and the duck eggs made the 10,000-meter deep seabed look like a sunny day. There is a ray of light in this dark world, illuminating millions of lives on the Fishman Island. Looking at the two sun-shrouded islands suspended under the 10,000-meter seabed ahead, it was like being in a fairy tale world. Incredibly beautiful. The Fishman Island. I didn't expect to come back in my lifetime. Tears welled up in Sunbel's eyes. Buggy's knowledgeable color sensed something. What's wrong, Buggy? Jabba looked at him suspiciously. Something went wrong on the Fishman Island. Buggy didn't hide either. What? It should be impossible with Jinbei here, Sunbel said in astonishment. Let's go in and talk. Buggy didn't say much. As far as the current situation is concerned, I'm afraid Jinbei can only cast a trap. Minutes later, with Buggy and their ship inside the Fishman Island, they were quick to pinpoint the source of the chaos. Near the Mermaid Cafe. Jinbei, and you, get out of the way. We only need to take away a female mermaid. If you don't get out of the way, don't blame me for attacking your prince. Scumbag. Damn. Can't let them go. All these slave traders should be killed. What about Prince Crasher? Damn it. After hearing the threat from the group of human traffickers opposite, Jinbei's expression was also extremely ugly at this time. The other Murloc guards were also at a loss. Seeing this scene, the headed horse-faced trafficker showed a smug smile on his face. Jinbei, get out of the way. Whitebeard is utterly dead. No one will bless you again the Fishman Island. If you don't let me, I'll cut off one arm of your prince rolling car. Don't think about it, as long as any of you dare to move, these collars will explode immediately. Even if I die, I will drag all of you to be buried with me. As for the key, don't even think about it, the key for this collar is in our auction house. Ha 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 underscore, you. Jinbei really didn't know what to do at this time. Without these collars, he would be able to kill these slave traders in 2 or 3 strokes. The current situation really made him a little helpless. Already 5 Miss Mermaids have been collared, plus Prince Crasher, there are 6 people. If these slave traders were allowed to take away a mermaid lady, the safety of the 5 of them actually seemed to be a good deal. But does it count? The scene was deadlocked, and the surroundings fell silent for a while. All the mermaids and murlocs looked at Jinbei, expecting him to resolve this matter. Blah blah. At this moment, a series of clear footsteps sounded from behind. Everyone subconsciously turned their heads to look, and then they saw the leader's face with clown makeup that was imprinted in the hearts of people all over the world a few days ago. Yo, Jinbei, it looks like you need help? Buggy's mouth curved slightly. You. Before Buggy could speak, the group of traffickers panicked completely. It's just that before he finished speaking, he rolled his eyes and foamed, and all the dozens of human traffickers around him were so soft that they fell to the ground to stop them. At this moment, even the abducted mermaid ladies and the crashing star prince didn't react. Everyone was also taken aback. That solves it. Mermaid Cafe. Jinbei said excitedly, Mr. Buggy, I didn't expect you to come so fast. I really appreciate your help, otherwise I really don't know what to do. It's okay, we are all our own people, so why not be polite? Buggy smiled and waved his hands casually. Boss Jinbei, what should we do with the collar around our necks? That's right, Boss Jinbei, I just heard these traffickers say they don't have a key. Hey, what should we do? Are we going to wear this ring for the rest of our lives? Jinbei, who was originally smiling, immediately turned his head and said to the murloc guards beside him. Go and check the group of traffickers for keys, and then the others go to their boats to look for them. Yes. The 2 murloc guards separated immediately. Crocodile on one side bit his cigar and shook his head. I'm afraid they really don't have the key. Because this kind of slave collar is not something that ordinary people can own, it is definitely a big auction house in Sabodi Archipelago, they cannot give the key of the collar to these slave traders. But looking at the marks on the back of their clothes, it reminds me of a person. Hearing Crocodile's words, everyone turned their heads to look. I saw him squatting next to a slave trader and staring at the pattern behind him. Old Shaw. Do you recognize this mark? Buggy looked at Crocodile. He also has no impression of this mark. Jinbei and the others also walked over. Well, if my guess is correct, this mark should be a guy who specializes in arms business in the underground world. This guy's influence spreads all over the world, and he is the intermediary of the underground world. Name. Joker. Hearing the name, Buggy didn't respond, and Mr. 3 and Zhaofeng quit. Tisk. He deserves to be called Joker? HMPH. Does this kind of person dare to come to the Fishman Island to arrest people blatantly? Joker means clown. That's why Zhaofeng and the others are so excited. Buggy didn't care. After hearing the name, he knew who was behind this organization, and immediately chuckled and said. A Joker is a Doflamingo. It doesn't matter, a little guy, let's clean it up when I have time. Now let me take off the collar for you first. As soon as Buggy said this, everyone was surprised. Eh? The Joker is Doflamingo. It's really possible for this guy. By the way, Lord Buggy, how can we solve this circle without a key? Yes, 587, this kind of collar will explode if you touch it hard. The Rolling Star Prince was a little worried, but he glanced at the 5 mermaid girls, and he stepped forward and said. Master Buggy, let me test it first. If it can be solved, then help these girls. My Lord Prince. Rolling Star. Hearing this, the mermaid girls on the side were all moved. Jinbei wanted to stop it, but he still didn't say it. Seeing this, Buggy couldn't help laughing and crying. I don't need to look like I'm parting from life and death. I have several ways to remove the collars around your necks. It can be easily done by mastering the knowledge of predicting the future. But compared to observation hockey, my ability is more convenient. Shish. While speaking, Buggy had already shot 6 shattering magic white lights, and in the blink of an eye, the 6 paths white light precisely landed on the collars around their necks. Chi. In the next second, under the shocked eyes of everyone, the bomb collars turned into fine dust and scattered in the air. Seeing this scene, everyone burst into cheers. The cute little mermaid sisters hugged each other excitedly. Crashing Star is holding Buggy's hand tightly. My lord, thank you very much, please promise me that we will be guests in Dragon Palace City. Dragon Palace City. King Neptune held Buggy's hand excitedly. Thank you very much, Mr. Buggy. If you hadn't acted out of righteousness, we, the Fishman Island, would have suffered heavy losses this time. Although Margot had already talked to me, I was hesitant. It now appears that Margot was right. The Fishman Island can only prosper with the blessing of Mr. Buggy. Mr. Buggy is here, the blue sky of the Fishman Island is here. Mr. Buggy is here, the Fishman Island will be peaceful. Seeing King Neptune so excited, Buggy couldn't laugh or cry. But Bullet and Jabba looked at Neptune with half smiles. The latter seemed to notice the gaze and turned his head subconsciously. When they saw Jabba and the others, they were stunned for a moment, and then Neptune shouted excitedly. You, Ja Dian, Bullet, and Bong Bell, really you? Margot said before that there will be surprises, ha 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 ha, now I know what surprises are. Old friend, I didn't expect that after decades, we still have the chance to meet again. King Neptune was in tears at the end. Jabba and the others also went up to hug Neptune. As early as 20 years ago when they and Roger came here, they became good friends. When we meet again now, things are different. Buggy tactfully did not disturb their old friend reunion, but began to tour Dragon Palace City under the leadership of Crashstar, and the other two Prince Sharkstar and Huang Xing. Something invaded Dragon Palace City. Buggy, who was halfway there, immediately felt something, opened his mouth suddenly, and then raised his finger and pointed in another direction. After the three princes Sha Xing, Huang Xing, and Crashing Star looked in that direction, their expressions were not very good looking. Boom. At this moment, a huge sound sounded. Come on. Let's go and have a look. Shirahoshi must be terrified right now. Sharkstar hesitated for 2 seconds before speaking immediately. But Huang Xing looked at Buggy with some hesitation. Second brother, Master Buggy is not an outsider, it's fine. Crashing Star said immediately. That's right. Huang Xing felt relieved when he thought that the Fishman Island would be blessed by Buggy's pirate flag in the future. Buggy also understood what happened in that direction at this time. When they came to the place where all kinds of huge weapons were planted on the gate, there were 2 huge axes flying from a distance with the sound of destruction. Careful. Sharkstar saw that Buggy went directly to the huge stone gate, and couldn't help but exclaimed. No problem. Buggy threw out 2 shattering spells casually, smashing the 1 or 2 meter wide giant axe into pieces with ease. Bang. 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 Seeing this scene, the 3 princes couldn't help but exclaimed in shock. Although they knew that Buggy was very strong, they didn't expect that he could defuse this kind of attack so lightly. Squeak. At this moment, the huge stone door was suddenly opened with a gap, and then Shirahoshi's weak voice came from inside. Brother, are you outside? Ah, there is a stranger. Shirahoshi poked out half of his head to see his 3 older brothers first showing sweet smiles, and then his eyes became tense when he saw Buggy. Shish. Shirahoshi, don't worry, he's Lord Buggy, from the Fishman Island. Not good. Before the big Prince Shark finished speaking, he saw several huge weapons that were even more powerful than before flying over from outside, which made his complexion change drastically. Master Buggy. Please. Compared to Sharkstar and Huang Xing who were in a hurry, Crashing Star immediately asked for help. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Buggy raised his eyes and looked at the several amazingly powerful weapons flying in the distance, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, thinking to Vander Dyken, you guys are really cooperative. Whoosh whoosh. The next moment, Buggy raised his right hand, and several white rays of light shot out between his 10 fingers. The speed of these white lights was much faster than those flying weapons, and they were broken into pieces by Buggy's ability 1 kilometer away from Shirahoshi's room, and there was no chance to get closer. Seeing this scene, Shirahoshi clasped his hands full of admiration and looked at Buggy and said, Wow. Master Buggy is so annoying. Shirahoshi is also very brave. If it weren't for a beautiful girl like you standing behind me, it might be difficult for me to perform well. Buggy smiled at Shirahoshi. Everything is good, but it is too big. I just don't know if it will become smaller after going ashore. He. Mr. Buggy is really gentle. Shirahoshi still didn't know the filth in this man's heart, so he still looked at Buggy with admiration. The 3 princes also smiled at this time. After some chatting, they finally agreed to Shirahoshi's request and let her join the banquet. After all, with Buggy's guarantee, they are also assured of Shirahoshi's safety. Shirahoshi, why are you so rude? Neptune, who was still drinking with his old friends, was shocked when he saw Shirahoshi, and immediately turned into a daughter's slave and flew over. After getting the explanation from the three princes, Neptune cried and said sorry to Shirahoshi, and thanked Buggy crazily while holding Buggy's hand. Buggy just smiled at that. There is no need to say thank you, please marry Shirahoshi to me. From the time I met you, daughter-in-law, I have recognized you as the father-in-law. Neptune, why didn't you tell us about your difficulties? Jabba on the side waited for him and said, old friends for decades, are you still polite to us? That's right. What about Vanderdaken Ix, we will help you solve it, Bullet also said proudly. Neptune hesitated for a moment and then sighed. Old friends, it's not that I'm being polite to you, but that Vanderdaken Ix, he's hiding too deep, it's impossible to come out. Coupled with his ability to target fruit, it will be even more convenient. He hid in the depths of the sea, and Newgate couldn't find him that year. At the end he sighed again. Jabba and the others fell silent after hearing the words. This is true. If the Murlocs were hiding in the deep sea, or below 10,000 meters, they would really be helpless. Don't worry. Leave it to Captain Buggy, he will definitely have a solution. Our Captain Buggy possesses ghostly schemes, the kind that the resourceful General Sengoku would be vomited blood by him. Mr. 3 slapped his chest and opened his mouth firmly. While tasting the wine silently, Buggy secretly gave Mr. 3 a thumbs up. Brother 3, he is indeed my brother 3. I am very satisfied with your assist. I have to say that Mr. 3's words really reminded everyone. Even that Marshal Sengoku is in the hands of Buggy. Swish. Hearing this, everyone in the banquet hall looked at him. Especially Shirahoshi, looking expectantly at Buggy. I do have a way, and it can be done once and for all. Buggy shook the wine glass in his hand, then looked at Neptune and said. It's up to you to choose whether to do it or not. Master Buggy, please speak. Neptune and the three princes spoke eagerly almost at the same time. Seeing this, Buggy no longer hesitates. Vanderdaken wanted Shirahoshi, even at the risk of death. That being the case, when he finds out that the person he loves the most is going to marry, no matter how deep he hides, he will definitely show up at this time. As long as he appears inside the Fishman Island, he won't have the chance to leave again. That's right. The plan is, Shirahoshi and I get married. The reason is that I protected her, and then took her out of the hard shell tower, so that she was safe and free. Spread the word, and I took Shirahoshi out for a walk. In this case, it won't take long for the news to reach Vanderdaken. When he found out that the groom was human, Vanderdaken would go crazy. Not only is he unable to love, but the object of his beloved is also the human being he hates the most. This is sure to drive him crazy. Afterwards, it will be up to us to solve it on the day. Quiet. When Buggy finished talking about the plan, the entire hall fell completely silent. It's not that the plan is bad, it's just great. Especially since Buggy has broken up the plan and told them, even if they are stupid, they will understand. But no man can bear this kind of grievance. Vanderdaken would absolutely go crazy. So here comes the problem. The plan is good, but as Buggy said, the choice lies with Neptune. After all, it's Shirahoshi's reputation at stake. Father, just do it. While Neptune, Sharkstar, and Huang Xing were still hesitating, Crashing Star said firmly. Is there anything more important than Shirahoshi's life? Hello you Flipstar. Uncle, I did not save you in vain. Buggy gave a thumbs up to the car Crash Star. The words of Crashing Star also completely awakened Neptune, Sharkstar and Emperor Star Triangle. Okay. That's it. As soon as Neptune said this, he seemed to think of something, looked around, and found that Shirahoshi was lying on the side table, not daring to look up, so he smiled and said. Shirahoshi, what do you think of this plan? Only then did they realize that the consent of the parties was still required. Although Shirahoshi is timid, she is very sensible, and she also knows that this matter is about her own comfort. Although she was still embarrassed to raise her head, the soft voice still came out. Fake marriage. If it's Master Buggy, there's nothing wrong with him. The plan is set. After the banquet, Buggy took Shirahoshi out of Dragon Palace with great fanfare, and then started to go to the sea forest under the surprised gaze of most people in the Fishman Island. Along the way, the Murlocs from the Fishman Island greeted and waved excitedly when they saw Shirahoshi. When they learned that Buggy was the man who had rescued the lady from the Mermaid Cafe and the third prince, their attitude towards Buggy immediately became friendly. When Buggy accompanied Shirahoshi to visit Princess Otohime's tomb in the sea forest, the Murloc Street in the depths of the Fishman Island also took action. Huh? Shirahoshi is swimming hand in hand with a human man? Interesting, tell Vander Dyken about it. Captain Hodi, what are we going to do? That man is Emperor Oda Buggy. Hee. So what about the Clown King? Demon fruit power has reached the bottom of the sea. He is a tiger lying down for me, and a dragon has to be coiled for me. Let's see what Vander Dyken is going to do first. The next day. It's no good, Captain Hodi, that guy Neptune is going to marry Princess Shirahoshi to that Clown King. What? Damn Neptune. Doesn't he know what the mermaid princess represents? Marrying an ugly human. Where is Vander Dyken? That guy must be dead. Squeak. At this moment, the door of Hodi Jones' residence was pushed open, and Vander Dyken walked in covered with a bubble, looked at Hodi Jones with a gloomy expression and screamed. Hodi. I agreed to the cooperation you mentioned earlier. I want the Clown King, no, and that Neptune thief. I even married my favorite princess Shirahoshi to a human. And the bitch Shirahoshi. I want her to watch me tear that man, and Neptune, and her brothers to pieces. I'm going to make them guys feel the pain. The Fishman Island. In the depths of Murloc Street. At this time, Hodi Jones and Vander Dyken's subordinates were all in a large room, looking at the announcement in their hands with ugly expressions. Damn it. 3 days later. Did that stupid Neptune want to marry his daughter off in such a hurry? The guy who sells girls for glory. HMPH. Since you are so impatient to die, I will fulfill you. Capture the Fishman Island in 3 days and bite the Dragon Palace City. Damn Shirahoshi, are you so eager to marry that human? How can I be worse than that clown? I want you to understand how expensive it is to reject me. Kill Buggy and grab Shirahoshi. After Vander Dyken looked at the wedding photo of Shirahoshi and Buggy in his hand, he was so angry that his eyes burst into tears, and he let out a scream. This made Hodi Jones and the others on the other side look disgusted. How ugly are you? Do you have no points in your heart? Even if they are human beings, they are much better than you. Damn it. Princess Shirahoshi really followed you. Why not just use it to behead her to stand up? Hodi Jones sneered disdainfully in his heart, then looked at the little Murloc beside him and said. Dharma, go tonight and steal all the evil drugs, out. After we take the poisonous medicine, we will be able to easily defeat the guards of Dragon Palace City in Jinbei in 3 days. With evil drug, the name of our new Murloc pirates will definitely resound throughout the world. I want all humans to prostrate at the feet of our Murlocs. As soon as Hodi Jones said this, hundreds of Murloc cadres in the hall immediately raised their hands and cheered wildly. Captain Hodi, Captain Hodi, Captain Hodi. At the same time, Dragon Palace City. All humans? Oh, the frog in the well. Enel, who was sitting cross-legged on the highest point of Dragon Palace City, suddenly opened his eyes at this moment, with a sneer at the corner of his mouth. Scoff. In the next moment, his figure flashed and he disappeared in place. The reappearance is already in the hall of Dragon Palace City. Seeing the sudden appearance of Enel, Neptune and other officials of Dragon Palace City were slightly startled. They have controlled the top floor of the Fishman Island for so many years, so they naturally have excellent knowledge of devil fruit. After seeing the abilities displayed by Enel, they almost exhaled subconsciously. Logia Thunder Fruit? They didn't expect that such a horrible guy existed in the Buggy team. This gave them a little more confidence in Buggy. Enel didn't pay attention to Neptune. In his opinion, there were only a few people in his team that deserved his attention. As for the king of this little the Fishman Island? His evaluation. Not as good as Sky Island. Lord Buggy, I heard the plans of those new Murloc pirates in Murloc Street. I have to say, with the method you provided, Mr. Buggy, coupled with Mr. Rayleigh's cultivation method, my observation hockey has progressed rapidly these days. I feel like it won't be long before my observation hockey can easily cover something like the Saboti archipelago. Good. Buggy's eyes lit up and said, it seems that your guy's fruit ability has an excellent auxiliary effect on the cultivation of knowledge and knowledge. Tell me the details and continue to monitor them. Yes. Enel used observation hockey and thunder fruit's electromagnetic wave ability to hear the information from the depths of Murloc Street. After listening, Neptune said with a gloomy expression. No, we can't let them steal the poisonous medicine. That kind of medicine is too dangerous. Once it spreads, the consequences will be disastrous. No problem. Buggy chuckled and shook his head. Just let them take it. If you don't clear Hodi Jones, who is considered invincible by other Murlocs, it will be meaningless. In this battle, I will resolve the internal conflicts of the Fishman Island and make the Fishman Island completely peaceful. As for the poison, let them eat whatever they want. It just happened to take this opportunity to completely break the minds of those who still think about this medicine. Don't worry, Neptune. Whatever they eat is nothing but dust to me. Neptune, who was still a little hesitant, finally nodded slowly. Don't you have to be Buggy to brag? A man who can face monsters of the level of Sengoku and Kizaru Admiral alone on the top battlefield without losing the slightest bit of wind, such a man knows that Hodi Jones can't touch porcelain. What he was worried about was the restriction and suppression of ability users on the bottom of the sea. But considering that there are Jabba and Sunbell in Buggy's team, now there is another Logia's Thunderfruit. Totally exceeded expectations. On the other hand, Shirahoshi looked at Buggy with admiration in his eyes. In fact, it's not just her, even the three princes are like this. Hodi Jones is already a strong monster for them. Especially those cadres from Murloc Street, and even guys like Van der Daken who have made them helpless for 10 years. But these people are like chickens and dogs in the eyes of Buggy. For Hodi Jones and his group, Buggy really doesn't need any preparation. Especially with Enel's monitoring method, which can always use electromagnetic waves and knowledge, it is easier for them. 3 days passed quickly. The days of not being able to pretend are gone. When the agreed wedding date came, Shirahoshi and Buggy began to float slowly over the Fishman Island in a huge hairtail cart. Only left and right were accompanied by a few teams of Longcheng City's guards. At the same time, more and more Murlocs followed their team to Jelongkod Square. Because it was announced before, in order to show the closeness to the people of Dragon Palace City, they decided to put the wedding ceremony in Jelongkod Square. It's something that people on the Fishman Island are talking about these days. I have to say that although Buggy's method has been used badly on Earth in previous lives, it is undoubtedly the most effective in this era when bloodlines, rank, identity and status are all closer to class. Just as Buggy's fish cart swims to Jelongkod Square. On the entrance street near the square, a huge number of Murlocs with weapons poured in from all directions. Ha 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 ha. Neptune, I didn't expect you to marry the mermaid princess to a human. Today I will get rid of you, the royal family who sell the island for glory, for the Fishman Island. In the next instant, Hodi Jones' insane laughter came from behind the crowd. Wow. As soon as Hodi Jones made this statement, the entire Jelongkod Square was in an uproar. At this time, Hodi Jones was sitting on top of a huge lion sea kings, his black hair had turned white, he was holding a red trident, his eyes were extremely scarlet, and his whole body exuded an extremely fierce aura. This breath is particularly stimulating for sea kings and Murlocs, making them feel terrified. It was a kind of suppression similar to the upper blood, which made the surrounding Murlocs let out a horrified exclamation. Especially around Hodi Jones, the same is true of other cadres. The whole body exudes a ferocious aura that makes even sea kings admire. However, before those the Fishman Island people exclaimed, there was another burst of angry laughter not far away. Doug ha 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 ha, Shirahoshi. You slut dared to marry someone behind my back. Do you know how painful it is for me? Say, why don't you marry me? Van der Daken sat on a 100-meter long sharp coral reef and flew over. Behind him was a huge Murloc with a height of 80 meters, and the cadres of the flying pirates. When Shirahoshi, who was originally nervous and frightened, felt a hand pressed against her cheek, she suddenly summoned up courage, hugged her head and screamed. I'm so sorry, Mr. Van der Daken, but you're not my type. Ugly rejection. Click. At this moment, all the Murlocs who heard Shirahoshi's voice seemed to hear a heartbreaking voice sounding on Van der Daken. You are not the type one like. All the Murlocs and mermaid ladies from the Fishman Island were dumbfounded. Heart said Princess Shirahoshi, is it time to say this? Ha 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 ha. Buggy didn't expect that he could experience this famous animation scene, which made him laugh out loud. As Buggy's laughter sounded, Jabba and the others standing around also couldn't stop laughing. And the laughter gradually spread, causing many Murlocs who were secretly watching above the square couldn't help but burst out laughing. Good guy, this smile has stabbed a hornet's nest. Van der Daken, who was already so heartbroken that he couldn't hold his breath, turned red, but at this moment, he raised his head to the sky and roared loudly. Since I can't get it, no one else can get it. Shirahoshi, feel the pain, feel the pain. Understand the pain. From now on, I'm going to make you all feel the pain. Destroy it. Noah. Following Van der Daken's roar, he swung his hands forward violently. However, a few seconds passed, and nothing happened. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, The fun fish finally couldn't hold back, and burst out laughing again. For a time, the entire Geelong Cod Square was filled with cheerful air. However, anyone with a better observation hockey will have a changed face at this moment. Lord Buggy. Up there. Enel was the first to exclaim. Then Jabba and Bullet looked up at the same time, and even their expressions changed. Seeing this scene, Neptune and Shirahoshi raised their heads subconsciously. I don't know if I don't look at it, but when I saw it, they all turned pale with fright. Ah. Not good. Is that something? It's Noah. Vanderdaken, you bastard, are you trying to destroy the Fishman Island? Even Neptune couldn't help holding his head and yelling again and again at this time. I saw a huge black shadow approaching slowly over the Fishman Island. The laughter of the Murlocs who were still laughing gradually stopped, and many of them raised their heads subconsciously. Swish upon seeing this, everyone's faces were pale, and the next second, the entire Geelong Cod Square fell into a strange dead silence. Dig ha 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 ha. Vanderdaken was extremely excited at this moment, and he opened his hands and shouted. Laugh. Have the ability to continue. Neptune, if you don't marry Shirahoshi to me today, I'll let Noah crash the Fishman Island. Ha 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 no, I've changed my mind now. You not only want to marry Shirahoshi to me, but also kill her fiancé. Otherwise, the Fishman Island will still be destroyed. Neptune, you don't want the Fishman Island to be destroyed by your hands, do you? As soon as Vanderdaken's words came out, there was an uproar in the entire Geelong Code Square. Despicable and shameless guy. How could you marry Princess Shirahoshi to you? It's over. It's over. The Fishman Island is going to be destroyed. What should we do now? Or let King Neptune agree to his request? Isn't it worth it to trade a human and Princess Shirahoshi for the continuation of the Fishman Island? Are you out of your mind? That Mr. Buggy is our benefactor of the Fishman Island. He is also a friend of the Whitebeard pirates. How could we do this? Can you just watch the Fishman Island be destroyed like this? All of a sudden, the Murlocs started discussing in horror. That is, within this short period of time, Hodi Jones's 100,000 Murloc subordinates have already rushed into Geelong Cod Square and surrounded Neptune and the others. Ha ha ha. Vanderdaken, you're doing a great job. Hodi Jones laughed triumphantly and said, do these idiots really think we want to destroy the Fishman Island? This is nothing but delaying tactics. Take it easy, Daken. With our 100,000 Murloc brothers, are you still afraid that Shirahoshi will not be in your hands? 100,000 against 1,000, the advantage is mine. The Murlocs in the surrounding square felt relieved when they heard what Hodi Jones said. However, Hodi Jones at this time did not know the pain of a man who was NTR face to face. Although it's just his unrequited love, but this kind of pain is incomprehensible to Hodi Jones and others. At this time, Vanderdaken was already on top, his eyes were red, he laughed strangely, because he roared. No. If Neptune doesn't marry Shirahoshi to me, if Shirahoshi doesn't promise me, if Neptune doesn't kill that human, I'm going to destroy the Fishman Island. I'm going to make you all feel the pain. Da-da. Swish poof. Before Vanderdaken finished speaking, a mouthful of blood spewed out of his mouth in the next second. He subconsciously looked down and saw a scarlet trident appearing on his chest, dripping with drops. Blood. Hodi. Vanderdaken looked at Hodi Jones in disbelief. He didn't expect this good brother to give himself a heart attack. Seeing Vanderdaken's expression, Hodi Jones grinned and showed his fangs and said coldly. Daken, you actually want to disobey my orders. Did you know that my word is absolute? You're just a piece of trash. If it wasn't for your fruit ability, do you think you deserve to be on an equal footing with me? Since you are courting death, then I'll give you a ride. Puff puff. While speaking, Hodi Jones directly pulled out the trident, and quickly poked Vanderdaken's body several times, directly poking out more than a dozen holes in his body. Captain seeing this scene, the red-finned tacky pufferfish Mionjimi, who was slowly following behind, let out a mournful howl. But in the next moment, Mianzu met Hodi Jones's fierce eyes that made even sea kings feel horrified. Shut up. Howl again, I'll kill you too. Mianjin Jian, who was not very old, was suddenly frightened, his 80-meter body was trembling non-stop. Not only Mianjin Jian, but even the hundreds of thousands of Murlocs watching around were silent. It has to be said that at this time, Hodi Jones' fierce power is really like the master of the Fishman Island. Ha 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 ha. Hodi Jones in the sky laughed loudly, pointed the red trident in Buggy's direction and shouted. Humans, Neptune, it's time to execute you. The Fishman Island, from now on, only I can say, ha ha ha. All the Murlocs turned pale when they heard the words. And Van der Daken's side also fell down with the huge coral tree under him. But at the same time as it fell, Van der Daken suddenly opened his eyes, staring at the sky, and Diggins roared mournfully. Hodi Jones, how dare you do this to me? That being the case, you will perish with the Fishman Island. Aren't you crazy? Let's see how you resist this move. Noah. Smash me. Ah. Ha 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 ha. Hodi Jones, I want all of you to be buried with me. As Van der Daken's last mournful roar echoed above Jelangkod Square, the nose arc, which was originally far away from the Fishman Island, slowly smashed down towards the Fishman Island. Hodi Jones, who was originally complacent, looked extremely ugly at this time. He never thought that the situation would become like this. This time it's really fun. Master Buggy. Seeing this scene, Shirahoshi immediately held Buggy nervously. Buggy waved his hand calmly. No hurry, let Noah fly for a while. Enel glanced at Noah, hesitated for a few seconds and then said, I just used electromagnetic waves to sense it. At Noah's current falling speed, we still have at least half an hour. Having said that, Enel looked at Buggy, wondering. Captain Buggy, there are 100,000 people here, can I really solve it in half an hour? Half an hour. Enel, how do you know? Crocodile glanced at Enel suspiciously. You guys are not talking nonsense in a serious manner, are you? Even if you become more knowledgeable, it is impossible to measure the time. Old Shaw, don't compare me with you. Enel smiled triumphantly. Who do you think lousy is? Who do you think built Arc Proverbs? Those Apeado guys are just providing labor for me, and all the details on the proverbs are done by me myself. Everyone was shocked when they heard the words, and only then did they realize that the Arc Proverb is a ship that can fly by electricity. This level of technology seems to be a bit awesome. Hiss. Crocodile bit the cigar and took a light breath. You guy is a scientist. What scientist? Please call me Enel of God, okay. Enel held a golden stick and folded his arms, looking like a fart. Caw caw caw. At this moment, Bullet suddenly braced his knuckles and made a crisp sound. Enel immediately looked at Bullet with a flattering smile and said, Brother Lay, you have something to say. There's no way Enel isn't obsequious. After Rayleigh gave him the basics of hockey, he was not allowed to train with Luffy again. Bullet helped him complete the rest of the training. During this period of time, Enel was beaten to death by Bullet every day, that is, his Logia Thunderfruit's recovery ability pervert. This means Enel can't get out of bed now. Ha 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 ha, 120. Seeing this scene, Jabba and Duolingo burst into laughter. Neptune and the others around were astonished when they saw this scene. No brother, there are 100,000 enemies facing us. Can we be more serious? Neptune admitted that he panicked at this moment. However, Crashing Star is still full of confidence in Buggy, admiring. Lord Buggy's team is different. Faced with such a huge gap in numbers, they are still so relaxed and freehand. He is indeed the man I admire. Master Buggy is so annoying. Shirahoshi also looked admiring. Neptune looked at Buggy and said worriedly, Mr. Buggy, how are we going to fight this time? We only have 1,000 people here including the guards. 1,000 versus 100,000. The gap is really too big. Snapped. Jabba patted Neptune's arm and said, Ha ha ha, don't worry Neptune, it doesn't mean anything to us. I can handle 30,000 people by myself. Then I have 30,000. Duolingo laughed. Then I have 50,000. Bullet was not to be outdone. Enel hesitated to speak. Lao Sha exposed it unceremoniously. It's 110,000 here, it's almost enough. Bullet, Jabba, and Duolingo all stared at him simultaneously. Lao Sha said immediately from the heart, What you say has the final say. Buggy shook his head, stepped forward and said, You are so troublesome. Let me do it. As it happens, I feel that my Conqueror's hockey seems to be enhanced these days. Now is a good time to test the effect. What? Hearing Buggy's words, Bullet on one side was the most sensitive, looked at Buggy in shock and said, Buggy, did your Conquerors really get buffed again? How did it happen so fast? I'm not too sure about this, but I have a vague feeling that things started to change after I decided on that plan. Buggy was referring, of course, to the plan to execute the Celestial Dragons. It was just a few days before I came down to the Fishman Island. That feeling was mysterious, but he looked at his personal panel. Conqueror's level was still intermediate. Therefore, he was not sure whether the Conqueror's breakthrough was related to the goal he had set. Blah blah. With these in mind, Buggy stepped forward step by step, as if there were invisible air stairs under his feet. After walking a few meters, he was floating in the air 2 or 3 meters ahead, looking straight ahead. At this time, Hodi Jones, who was arrogant, saw Buggy walking out of the crowd suddenly, pointed at Buggy with his trident and laughed wildly. Clown Buggy. I know you. Steal the show at Summit War, maybe you can be tough on land. But still the same sentence, at the bottom of the sea at a depth of 10,000 meters, even if you are a dragon, you have to be coiled by me. Otherwise, none of you will leave the bottom of the sea alive. Have you seen the disparity in our military strength? 100,000 versus 1,000, the advantage lies with me. Now I give you 2 options. Kill Neptune and the others and join my new Murloc pirates. Or, die. At the end, Hodi Jones grinned, looked at Shirahoshi and Neptune with a ferocious smile, and said, "Oh, Neptune, Shirahoshi, there is one thing I forgot to tell you. Princess Otahime was shot by me, ha ha ha. That stupid woman wants me to beg for mercy from humans? Damn her. Ha ha ha." At this moment, Hodi Jones was insanely crazy, but his words caused an uproar in the entire Geelong Cowed Square again. What? Neptune's eyes widened, full of shock and disbelief, and after a while he yelled angrily. Hodi Jones! Hodi Jones! The 3 princes also roared. Only Shirahoshi burst into tears and gritted his teeth. Just when Neptune and the 3 princes were about to rush forward, Shirahoshi finally said, "Father, the 3 elder brothers, I actually know it, I have always known it." What? Everyone looked at Shirahoshi in disbelief. Before my mother died, she also found out that I knew who the murderer was. Maybe my mother already knew it herself. Shirahoshi broke down in tears. But my mother asked me to keep it a secret, she said, don't let the hatred expand again. The mother said that this is the responsibility that the royal family should shoulder. Father, brother, sorry, did Shirahoshi do something wrong? No, Shirahoshi, you are not wrong. Before Neptune and the others spoke, Buggy looked at her with a smile and said, kindness is never wrong, it's only wrong to guide kind people. In a way, your mother was right, but she ignored the evil of human nature. It is too early to place such a heavy responsibility on you. But our Shirahoshi is great, even at such a young age, he still keeps this responsibility very well. Let us protect your bravery, strength and kindness. Ha ha ha. Hearing Shirahoshi's words, Hodi Jones laughed out loud after being stunned for a moment. Stupid. If you had told the story, the Fishman Island would have killed a lot of people. Self-righteous kindness is the most pathetic. When Shirahoshi heard this, his body trembled violently. At this moment, she felt a hand pat on her big head, looked up and found that it was Buggy. She bit her lower lip and looked at Buggy in pain. Shirahoshi. Neptune and the others also looked complicated. Buggy smiled at Shirahoshi, turned to Hodi Jones and said, the conflict between the Fishman Island and human beings has been going on for a long time. Murloc Street is a breeding ground for crimes. Even if you were killed in the first place, there will be other dark sides to breed. If it weren't for this, there wouldn't be 100,000 people from Murloc Street in front of you coming to die with you. You Hodi Jones were never more than a tentacle of this dark side of the Fishman Island. Your actions are under my control from beginning to end. I let you steal the poison. I let you gather secretly. I leave you to work with Van der Decken. Why do you think it is? For the sake of nature is to catch everything. I solved you once and for all. From now on the Fishman Island will usher in a new life. Hearing Buggy's words, Neptune and the others were shocked. Hodi Jones and others couldn't accept it, and immediately yelled. Impossible, absolutely impossible. How could you possibly know our actions? Yes, you guys are lying. Are you frightened by my 100,000 troops? Cunning humans. Still trying to lie to me? Ha 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 ha. The cadres of Hodi Jones also laughed wildly at this time. But after they laughed for a while, they found that the man opposite was still expressionless, but looked at them with a trace of pity. Without waiting for them to continue speaking, Buggy's voice echoed in the ministers in Geelong Cod Square. Whether it's 100,000 or one person, it doesn't make any difference to me. A frog in a well does not know the heights of the sky and the depths of the earth. Sad weakling, let me feel the difference in the world now. Buggy's words were like a sharp knife stabbing the hearts of Hodi Jones and others. It's just that before Hodi Jones could speak, he felt a terrifying aura emanating from Buggy 1 kilometer away. Buzz. In the next moment, blue and black intersecting lightning burst out from Buggy, like a lightning hurricane sweeping the entire Geelong Cod Square. Just in a breath, under the terrified eyes of Hodi Jones and others, his 100,000 murlocs, starting from the front, fell to the ground row after row, rolling their eyes and foaming like wheat. Bang bang bang. For a moment, there was only the muffled sound of a person falling to the ground on the entire Jelangkod square. Like a domino, it's out of control, after a few breaths. Apart from Buggy and his party, only Hodi Jones and a few of his cadres can stand in the entire Jelangkod square. Even Hodi Jones and the Sea Kings riding under his cadres are the same as those subordinates at this moment, all rolled their eyes and smeared white foam and fainted to the ground. At the top of Jelangkod square, the hundreds of thousands of murlocs and mermaids who watched this scene were completely dumbfounded. They all opened their mouths wide, and couldn't believe what happened before them. Obviously nothing happened, and all the 100,000 murlocs fainted and fell to the ground? What is happening? Just when everyone was shocked, Buggy's unwavering voice sounded. Hodi Jones, tell me now, where is the gap in strength? Hodi Jones was completely awakened at this time, but he was still in disbelief at this time, shaking his head crazily. No, possibly, absolutely impossible. Obviously 100,000 against 1,000. Obviously 100,000 against 1,000. Obviously I have the advantage. At the end, Hodi Jones yelled hysterically. Sad. The Buggy clown's makeup rose slightly, and a hint of unruly color emerged, and then he put his hand in his pocket, and when he turned around, he stretched his right hand forward, turned his thumb down, and said indifferently. Enel, I leave it to you, give them a second. Yes, Captain. Enel didn't expect that the first person to receive the task would be himself. He is also very excited. A few days ago, Buggy gave him a lot of advice on fruit development, which benefited him a lot. Now it's finally time to use it. Scoff as Enel finished speaking. The extremely dazzling thunderlight around him instantly attracted the attention of hundreds of thousands of murlocs and merfolk around Jelangkod square. 80 million volt discharge Wanlei heavenly prison sighted. Whoosh. The next moment, as Enel finished speaking, his figure turned into a blue thunder and disappeared in a flash. Swish. When he reappeared, he was already among Hodi Jones and the others. When? So fast. Damn it, kill him. This abrupt scene immediately made Hodi Jones and the others look horrified. Boom. It's just that Enel didn't give them a chance to react at all. Endless thunder and lightning erupted from his body, forming a circular lightning field with a diameter of hundreds of meters, like a thunderbolt. Like an electric cage, Hodi Jones and his party were firmly locked in it. Zzz. In this field of thunder and lightning, countless thunders exploded and roared, like flying thunder snakes wandering back and forth in it. The power are terrifying. Ah. Hodi Jones and the others who were in it were engulfed by countless lightning entanglements almost instantly. When the lightning flashed, people could vaguely see their skeletons reflected by the lightning. Soon, the voices of Hodi Jones and his party became weaker and weaker, until none of them stood still. Sitting cross-legged with his legs in the air, Enel, who had a long golden stick on his knees, slowly opened his eyes and absorbed the thunder field into his body. Scoff. In the next second, his figure turned into a flash of lightning, and he had already arrived at Buggy's side. Captain Buggy, mission accomplished. Good job. Buggy patted Enel on the shoulder and nodded in satisfaction. Neptune and the others were still staring blankly at the murlocs lying on the ground in front of the square, and Hodi Jones and his party who were about to be electrocuted into charcoal. So the terrifying Hodi Jones and his party were easily killed in a flash? How long has this been? In the eyes of all the murlocs, it should have been the most terrifying riot in the history of the Fishman Island, but it was easily resolved within a few minutes. Is this the strength of the Buggy pirates? This dramatic reversal has hardly recovered the murlocs from the shock 0.3. But at this moment, the sound of the trumpet from the Dragon Palace brought all the murlocs and mermaids back to reality. Lord Neptune. Oh no. Noah is close to the Fishman Island, it won't take long for it to come down. Then the Fishman Island will be completely destroyed. Wow. At this time, everyone realized that the truly terrible crisis was still hanging over their heads. If, as the broadcast said, Noah smashed it down, then the Fishman Island would definitely be destroyed. At this moment, everyone looked at the center of the square in Jelangkod Square. Master Buggy, please help the Fishman Island. Following Shirahoshi's words, all the people in Jelangkod Plaza seemed to have a tacit understanding, and everyone also looked at Buggy and shouted in unison. Master Buggy, please help the Fishman Island. Master Buggy, please help the Fishman Island. Hearing the shouts of everyone on the Fishman Island, even Jabba and the others looked serious at the moment. Because they also know that this huge Noah is really not easy to solve in a short time. Mainly in the 10,000-meter deep sea. Otherwise, they all have a lot of ways to deal with it. But at the bottom of the sea, no matter whether it is a person with abilities or a person with strong physical skills, they will also be greatly restricted. How to deal with it at this time? Swish. Almost at the same time, Jabba and the others also set their sights on Ba. The latter stepped forward in one step, and in the next moment, he appeared in the sky above Jilong Cod Square, raising his hand to press down. The shouts of hundreds of thousands of Murlocs and mermaids calmed down in an instant. At this moment, everyone looked at the man, expecting a response. And the hot guy didn't disappoint them either. Noah, dust. Buggy's voice is full of confidence and calmness. It can be destroyed by raising your hand. Noah, a dust particle, you can destroy it with your hand. As soon as Buggy's words came out, the Murlocs and merfolk in the entire Jilong Cod Square cheered excitedly. They believe that since such a man can speak like this, he can definitely do it. At this moment, everyone is looking forward to it. How will this man deal with Noah? There was no delay on Buggy's side either. He soared straight into the sky, and his figure quickly reached the top of the Fishman Island amidst the shock of everyone below. Came under the bubble wrap. In the next moment, Buggy's body was shining with white gold, like a small sun suddenly appeared in the sky above the Fishman Island. Dazzling. Call out immediately. A white beam of light with a diameter of 1 meter shot up from Buggy's body, directly penetrated the bubble membrane of the Fishman Island and rushed to the slowly falling Noah. The white light that soared into the sky looked from a distance, especially compared with Noah, it was like a mayfly shaking a tree. But when the white light accurately hit Noah, a shocking scene appeared. Crash! I saw that Noah's ark, which was not much smaller than the Fishman Island, was torn apart directly above the Fishman Island, and then disintegrated. In just a few breaths, the huge Noah's ark turned into countless fragments and floated in the sea above the Fishman Island, like thousands of fish schools, and like a sky full of stars. There is a different kind of beauty. Wow. After seeing this scene, the entire the Fishman Island resounded with appalling cheers. Are we saved? Too strong, that man. Is this the strength of the Clown King Buggy? Ah. Long live Master Buggy. Long live Master Buggy. Cheers of "Long live Mr. Buggy" sounded throughout the Fishman Island in no particular order. After that, the Fishman Island returned home. After Buggy, came to this world, he gained the first territory power, and it was completely stabilized. It can be said that at this moment, except for Neptune and Shirahoshi, all the mermaids and mermaids on the Fishman Island are cheering. Neptune knew the importance of Noah, so he kept murmuring. It's over, Noah is ruined, Joey Boy's promise can't be completed by 24. Shirahoshi didn't know why, but her tears couldn't stop flowing at the moment Noah was destroyed. It seems that not only Shirahoshi is also crying, but also certain figures watching Mermaid Island in the deep sea. It can be said that Shirahoshi's tears are more of hearing their voices. Father, Shirahoshi, what's wrong with you? The big prince, Sha Xing, who was still cheering with the crowd, noticed something was wrong between the two of them. Crashing Star said heartlessly and cheerfully. Surely weeping with joy because the Fishman Island was saved. It's just that when they heard Neptune's voice, they were a little astonished. And what Shirahoshi said surprised them even more. Woo. I don't know why, it seems that the moment Noah was destroyed, I heard a lot of people crying. Shirahoshi shook his head in a daze, tears were still flowing in those big eyes. Because I heard their cries, they cried very sadly, so I cried too. This. The three princes were full of doubts. Why? Neptune sighed heavily, his brows and eyes full of melancholy. Call out at this moment. Buggy's figure suddenly appeared in front of Shirahoshi, looking at Shirahoshi who couldn't help crying, plus what she said before, he immediately understood in his heart. Poseidon has the power of Poseidon awakened? Doesn't Shirahoshi want Noah to be destroyed? Buggy looked at Shirahoshi with a smile. The latter nodded, shook his head again and said. Although Shirahoshi does not want Noah to be destroyed, if Noah is not destroyed, the Fishman Island will be destroyed. Even if Shirahoshi is sad, it is Shirahoshi who is sad alone. Everyone is more important, well known. Buggy is a man with his own speakerphone bug. Therefore, Shirahoshi's words naturally spread throughout the Fishman Island through the broadcast of the Fishman Island. This made many Murlocs startled, and some didn't understand why. But they quickly attributed Shirahoshi's meaning to the fact that Noah, a large ship of historical significance to the Fishman Island, was destroyed, which caused Shirahoshi to feel sad. Buggy pretended not to know, chuckled and said, "So, does Shirahoshi want Noah intact and not a threat to the Fishman Island?" "Uh-huh." Shirahoshi nodded heavily, then said sadly, "Although I want to, I also know that Noah is ruined. As long as Shirahoshi wants, I can give you even the stars in the sky, let alone a Noah." While speaking, Buggy winked at Shirahoshi and said, "So, Shirahoshi, look up, don't blink, it's time to witness the miracle. Resurrect, my Kiki, Noah from the Fishman Island." Hearing Buggy's words, Shirahoshi's still teary eyes stopped the tears instantly. Subconsciously, she began to believe this man's words. Can Noah, who has been shattered like that, really be restored? But Master Buggy said yes. At this moment, not only Shirahoshi, but even Neptune and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. Jabba and others on the side thought of Buggy's previous ability and suddenly realized. The conversation between Buggy and Shirahoshi is also broadcast throughout the Fishman Island at this moment. At this moment, everyone looked up almost simultaneously. They looked at the wreckage of Noah that had been broken into countless pieces over the Fishman Island in disbelief. With Buggy's raised right hand gently clenched, the nose wreckage that was broken into countless pieces over the Fishman Island began to gather together at a speed visible to the naked eye. Immediately afterwards, under everyone's shocking eyes, Noah's appearance gradually took shape among the countless fragments. There are fewer and fewer pieces of Noah, and the hull is getting more and more perfect. Until a minute later, an intact Noah's Ark floated above the Fishman Island. Wow! After seeing this scene, the whole the Fishman Island burst into unbelievable cheers. Ah, can this kind of thing be done? Master Buggy is really too strong. Shirahoshi, who was in shock, was also awakened by the countless cheers above Geelong Cod Square at this time, and then she immediately reached out and hugged Buggy, and buried him in her huge snow ditch. Master Buggy, you are amazing. You are amazing. Shirahoshi loves you. The corners of Buggy's mouth turned up as he sank into the Shirahoshi snow ditch. This wave of Shirahoshi's favorability has been pulled to at least 90, right? It seems that his plan to train Poseidon has been more than half successful. Ahem. After a few dry coughs, Buggy broke free from Shirahoshi's 2 petals of snow, coughed dryly, winked at Shirahoshi and pretended to be joking. How do you like it? Shirahoshi, this is your wedding present. Swish. Hearing Buggy's words, Shirahoshi's pretty face instantly turned red, and she immediately lay down on the ground, buried her head in her arms, and then her muffled voice came out. As for the wedding present, as long as it is given by Mr. Buggy, people like it. Neptune, who was originally looking at this scene cheerfully, felt a thump in his heart, secretly screaming that it's not good. What's the situation? Did the fake show really happen? I was just dumbfounded. Why did Shirahoshi look like he was captured by Buggy? Seeing his daughter talking and laughing with Buggy, it was hard for him to go up and stop him for a while. He is the hero who saved you the Fishman Island. Even the shattered Noah was restored to perfection. And it has such a strong strength, so many powerful partners. Huh? Etc. If that's the case, doesn't the son-in-law seem to be unacceptable? As for married life, it's simple. As long as Shirahoshi becomes an adult, she can transform her fishtail into legs and become a human female about the height of Buggy. Snapped. Neptune slapped himself with a backhand. What are you thinking about? At this moment, the car-turning star came to Neptune's side with treacherous eyebrows, hugged him and said in a low voice. Father, should we hold this wedding as scheduled? I think Mrs. Buggy is a very clever brother-in-law. What should I say? Neptune's heart skipped a beat. Hiss. This method is not wrong. But at this moment, Shirahoshi, who was lying on the ground, suddenly raised his head, looked at the sky above the Fishman Island in surprise and said, Are you calling me? Oh. Are you going to take Noah? Bring it back to Sea Forest? Thank you so much. While speaking, Shirahoshi also bowed to the sky. At first, everyone didn't realize what Shirahoshi meant, but soon the terrified screams of the Ryugu castle guards came from the radio. Ah. Tell King Neptune, we found giant sea kings around the Fishman Island. No, they are approaching fast. So big. Huh. They took Noah. It can be said that many of the Murlocs in the Fishman Island saw this giant sea kings for the first time. The body is several kilometers long. Even they couldn't see where the end of these sea kings' bodies was in the Fishman Island. That horrible sense of oppression really makes people feel a little suffocated. In contrast, The sea kings that Hodi Jones and the others rode before were a bit like whales and small shrimps. I have to say, this visual impact is still great. Even Enel and Lu Chi's eyes widened in shock at this moment. Jabba, Sunbel, Duolingo and Bullet looked at each other, and they all saw the surprise in each other's eyes. They followed Roger on the whole adventure, saw many incredible things, and heard many secrets of the world. Among them, Poseidon known as Ancient Weapon is one of them. And that Poseidon's ability is to be able to talk to giant sea kings. Looking at the Shirahoshi in front of me now, it should be. At this time, Jabba, who already knew Buggy's character quite well, finally understood Buggy's real purpose. Also learn why Buggy takes the Fishman Island so seriously. So the real reason is because of this mermaid princess? It really is your style. Was that what you expected too, Buggy? At this moment, Jabba, the old crew on Roger's ship, admired Buggy even more. Buggy really did what he said, 10 moves counts. With such a plan, even if he wants to execute the celestial dragons, they really don't have to worry too much. Things have come to an end here. Naturally, Buggy will not embarrass Shirahoshi and Neptune. With his emotional intelligence, he can naturally see the entanglement of Neptune and the others. What's more, the current Shirahoshi is only 16 years old and has not yet reached the legal age for marriage. Unless he doesn't want the book anymore, he can't do this kind of copper smelting business. Reject juvenile aesthetics, start from you and him. Also, Buggy doesn't want Shirahoshi talking to the Sea Kings to be noticed. Therefore, in order to prevent this matter from being investigated, it is natural to cover it with another more eye-catching matter. Then Buggy flew to the center of Calder Square in Geelong, and under the puzzled eyes of Shirahoshi and Neptune, he spoke to the loudspeaker bug. Sorry, folks of the Fishman Island. Actually, my wedding with Shirahoshi was not real. The purpose is to lure out Van der Daken Ix, who has been hiding in the dark for 10 years and coveted Shirahoshi's copper pervert. This guy has been throwing huge knives and axes and other sharp weapons at Shirahoshi's residence for 10 years. To get revenge on Shirahoshi for not agreeing to marry him. As a result, Shirahoshi's childhood, which should have been innocent and playful, could only hide in a hard-shell tower in Ryugu City. There are no murlocs and mermaid children, only cold rock walls. Van der Daken Ix, who has been trying to assassinate Shirahoshi for 10 years, has left her with a bleak and helpless childhood. If Shirahoshi hadn't been strong and brave since she was a child, she would have gone crazy long ago. Now the Fishman Island has become my Buggy 183 territory. Do you think I just watched Shirahoshi being wronged like this? Cannot. At this moment, all the murlocs and mermaids in the Fishman Island understood why Princess Shirahoshi hadn't gone out all these years, and there was a reason for that, which made them completely angry. The mermaid princess is a symbol of the Fishman Island, and is the belief of many murlocs and mermaids. That Van der Daken Ix did such a despicable thing. It doesn't make them angry. At the same time, Buggy's righteous voice sounded again. So I said, I can't stand by. Then I made such a plan with King Neptune. It's just that I didn't expect that not only Van der Daken, but also the uneasy factors like Hodi Jones were caught. But you don't have to worry about it from now on. The Fishman Island, now I have my protection, not to mention ordinary pirates, even the 4 emperors, come to the Fishman Island, they dare not make mistakes. I said. Ooh, as soon as Buggy said this, the entire the Fishman Island suddenly set off a shocking cheer. For a while, the cheers of "Long live Mr. Buggy" sounded again. Neptune and the others below not only did not feel disgusted, but had some regrets. In fact, they all know that with Buggy's reputation now, as long as he wants to, no one will say anything if the wedding is faked. You know, Shirahoshi's beauty is the most beautiful woman in the world alongside that pirate empress. Faced with such beauty, I was not tempted. It can only be said that this man is really charming. It was not only Neptune who could think of this, everyone in the Fishman Island could also think of this after listening to Buggy's plan. It is precisely because they can think of it that they admire it even more. That's the mermaid princess, the most beautiful woman in the world. Who will not be scratched? Looking at Shirahoshi's almost fallen eyes, the corners of Buggy's mouth raised slightly. Oh, my damned, nowhere placed charm. After dealing with the Fishman Island, Buggy wasn't planning to stay on the Fishman Island for too long. But there was an accident along the way, so it was extended for another week. The reason for the accident was that when Buggy asked Bluno to open the door of space to find a deserted island to practice, he accidentally came to the kingdom on the bridge. With Buggy's temperament, it is natural to come to such a place to obtain the maximum benefit. So, after killing all the guards of the kingdom on the bridge, he contacted the Revolutionary Army. Even when CP9 was in the team, it was very easy to contact the Revolutionary Army. And the member of the Revolutionary Army contacted was Bello Betty, one of the commanders of the Eastern Army of the Revolutionary Army. After some conversation, Buggy told her the status quo. Even Bello Betty did not expect such a sudden situation. However, what Buggy didn't expect, or was pleasantly surprised, was that he saw his favorite female character in the previous Pirates, Nico Robin.